We can hear it.
I cannot hear it.
Twitch can hear it. I know that. But it's okay. We'll just talk over it on Restream. It's fine. It's fine.
So if I'm going to hear their commentary, though, I need to hear.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear it. It's just that it's a media source on OBS.
Okay.
Yeah. What does it say? It says encoding overloaded. Okay, cool.
So the title screen on this video is going to be like
We're live.
45 seconds.
Okay. Hey everybody! Hello. Welcome to another episode of Adex at Night Live. I'm Adex, joined by Catherine, and I'm reacting. I guess tonight we are reacting to the Gymnastics World Cup in Birmingham, not Alabama. Not Alabama. It's across the pond. This is a meet with Riley and Mustafina and Maggie Haney.
Famous for being in the dark.
Yes, the dramatic lighting that we all love and adore so much. So, there's that. Anything else you want to add before we get started?
No, I mean the only sort of remotely gymnasticsy news is Michelle Yeoh is now on the International Olympic Committee, which I find really amusing.
International treasure, Michelle Yeoh. International treasure. Truly.
Yeah.
I love her so much. Who else would you pick other than Michelle Yeoh? I don't know how that happened. I don't know why that happened, but I'm here for it.
She's representing Malaysia, and apparently her speech was all about fighting discrimination. There were a few votes against her, which is kind of rare in those votes. But who knows?
Yeah. Just a reminder, y'all, that we are, we're now accepting category submissions for the elite Jimmies. So if you want to submit a category, just tweet me at Adex2491. And yeah, whatever category you have in your little heart that you want to, submit, go ahead and submit those. If not, then we're just going to go off based off the ones we did last time and just kind of rejudge them up. And we'll be launching polls in the next week or so to get votes for these awards. And just, I guess more so just submit athletes you want, nominated or something. We'll do a whole nomination show. It'll be fun. So, okay, here we go. Without further ado, this is the Gymnastics World Cup in Birmingham, not Alabama.
That's 2019.
That's so long ago. I mean, it's really not, but it is a long time ago.
And it's pre-COVID.
A different time, honestly, now, if you think about it. A completely different time. It's so crazy. Okay, here we go. And play. Oh. Can you hear it?
I cannot hear it.
You cannot. Oh, okay. Oh, right. I can bring that in. Save. Now I can hear it.
I still cannot hear it. Now I can hear it. Hey, dude.
Now?
So we're watching the World Cup in the dark?
Yes, because why not?
We've got 9 gymnasts working.
We're watching the 2019 Birmingham World Cup. It has Mustafina and Riley McCusker.
You can see
hey, dude.
that we've got a spotlight on the apparatus being worked tonight. Usually the whole arena is a bit, but tonight we've just got a spotlight.
Christina's so upset.
It's not starting us off.
I don't think she's upset. I think they, like the BBC team here thinks that this is going to be fine. So it's super staticky to me. Is that something you can fix?
I think so. Is that better?
No, it's still garbage to me.
Okay. Better?
Quite a fast-paced.
It's still unintelligible to me.
Okay, 1 second.
And unlike the vault final, the gymnasts only perform 1 vault in the all-around competition. So absolutely, it is quite fast-paced competition. You can see the gym's just taking their warm-up 5 ladies of competition.
Yes, this is that exact competition, dude.
Goof knows.
And this is the start list.
What if I just close this?
First 5. Tyus Fidelis.
That's much better.
From
Thank
Brazil.
you.
Victoria
Yeah.
Wu from Canada.
This is also Mustafa No's last competition.
Ever?
And Ellie Downey from Great Britain.
Ever.
That's the first 5. They'll warm up now and compete.
Crazy.
Then Leah Grisia from Germany. And Naji Kajita from Japan, Alia Mustafina from Russia, and Riley McCusker in the second half.
This is Riley's last international meet too, right?
Yep,
wasn't she at Pan Am's?
1 vote for all around.
Yeah, she was. Never mind.
Yeah,
she
so
was.
Pan Am's was after this.
And there you can see the first 5 gymnasts.
Pan Am starts this weekend, y'all.
Interesting field of gymnasts there, Christine. Great to see Mustafina back. She'll be last up on this piece of apparatus. McCusker from the USA, traditionally very powerful on vault to lead. Nagi Kajita of Japan will be in second, and the replacement for Dos Santos from France is Caroline Heduit, a junior. What we'll be looking forward to seeing how she fares in this competition, and Liu Jiu of China.
Yes, it's basically the World Cup series.
So
is
Riley
for the top 8
McCusker
nations in the
says
world.
that she
You
could
have
not
to be
see the
in
vault from the end of the
top 8
runway.
countries at World
That's crazy.
Championships at the end of 2018, and then you get an invite to the World Cup event.
I
so
think
it's
Jordan's
very
not going to
strong.
fly. I think Jordan's going to show up and show out. She has to. She has no choice.
And
If
very
Jordan doesn't
exciting
show up,
gymnast
she's
from
in trouble
USA.
for the coming year.
Was
Yeah.
part of the gold medal
She may as
winning
well just, like,
team in
pack it up and just stay at
2018 for
UCLA.
USA.
I don't know if it's that extreme, but she really needs to show up. I'm really curious about Lincoln.
Yeah, me too. I want to see how
Riley
Hustle scored
McCusker,
internationally.
third at the American Championships, opens this competition for us.
Riley looks so unhealthy here, and we know from what she says she was
Already at 1 World
really
Championship.
unhealthy.
Such a powerful vaulter. Watch this. The Yurchenko wraps into the double twist, and unfortunately, she just didn't block
Looks
off
pale
the
as hell.
top there, hands down. What a very costly mistake. First apparatus.
Yeah,
Hi,
it's such a
Klaus.
shame, especially first apparatus. You can see there she came onto the vaulting table with bent arms. Ideally, you'd lay your arms straight onto there so you can really
So
propel
I'll warn you, this is
vertically
Kristen
into
Thomas,
the air. She didn't really get the
and
connection that she
I
wanted, which
want
meant
to
then
punch
that she was
him
trying to fit
through
in the
much of
2
this
twists
commentary.
in
He's not a great
smaller
commentator.
amount of air time, so
He's
it's
so
makes it a lot
condescending
more
to the
difficult
women on
for
the
her.
floor
As you can
during
see,
this.
having to land short and put
That's
the,
very
the
British,
arms in.
you know.
She was struggling a little bit with it
No,
in
but,
warm-up
like,
actually as well. So
once
perhaps just
the
not quite
lighting
comfortable
problems
with the
start
vault setup.
becoming manifest,
Yeah,
he
it's
says some
unusual. The
real
Americans are
wild
usually
things.
very forceful gymnasts. We're used to seeing them absolutely rocket through
Oh,
the
it
air.
is trash on
But
YouTube.
they're-
I'm so sorry,
I
YouTube.
think they do find the equipment in Europe quite difficult to adjust to.
I have no idea why he
And
does
that
it like that.
certainly we saw an
So
identical
she's
warm-up.
Christine is now blaming Riley's vault crash on the Americans not being used to European equipment.
Yeah, and unlike...
If you're watching
going
YouTube, I'm
for
so
a
sorry. The
final,
quality is garbage. Because Restream
one vault,
sucks
so one
sometimes.
opportunity at that.
See the
Oh,
judges
look,
there.
Cheryl Hamilton.
We've heard that
Hey,
they will
Cheryl.
have to look at the vaulting
Shocked Queen.
table.
She's like the
Check
Where's
that it's all
Waldo
right.
gymnastics judges.
She is. Or like when we play with Find
Because
Emily.
there was 8 in
very
the
big.
all-around in the World Championships, but due to the countback rule of 2 per nation, she was unable to compete in the all-around. And what I think she'll be trying to do in the World Cup series is to to establish a place on that American team, but she'll certainly have to vault a lot better than that if she wants to get into the ranks, because they are phenomenal vaulters.
They are indeed, and there we've got the score, 13.133. So that was one whole mark off for not landing properly, and also for lack of height.
I mean, her hair looked pretty though.
So
Let's
that's,
you can give her that at least.
a sobering start for her.
I really like the braid in her hair.
Yeah. No, she was. Oh no, she was still with Maggie here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, she's still with Maggie here, and you'll see Maggie. And
So
this is where a British
Kajita
coach
from Japan steps
complained
to the
about
vault.
her treatment of
Quite a tall
Riley.
gymnast.
Yeah. If you're
18
watching
years
on
of age.
anything other than Twitch,
See if
I'm
she can
sorry if the
attack,
quality is
and
garbage.
she does just a very simple full twist Yurchenko. Almost looked like it
And
was
she's
lacking a bit
also
of
landing
block off the
super
top,
low
actually.
because,
It
you
just
know,
sort
they
of
can't see the
dropped
vault.
from the air.
Yeah.
And obviously a
If
lower
you can't see the
tariff
vault, you
vault, so
can't
won't
don't know where you're
score as
gonna
high as well.
you're gonna hit the table at. That's where they're all hitting
Again,
really
you can
far
see
back
it
on it.
wasn't really the contact that she was perhaps looking for to try and get herself a little bit more higher in the air. You can see there the knees really having to come forward on that landing. So she did well.
Yeah, so
actually
we're
to
going
try
to see a lot
control
of
it.
falls. They're going to turn up the lights about halfway through.
Contact didn't really
And
propel
the thing
her
is, like,
the way that she wanted
people don't realize like
to.
how
That makes it a lot more
important,
difficult.
like, truly
Yeah, she
important,
looked like she
spotting and
slid a
seeing
little
where
bit on
you're
the-
like
on
you're
top of the,
placing your hands
on
at
top of the vaulting
is to
platform.
your
Maybe her
gymnastics.
feet wasn't really in the correct position initially on the springboard, and then obviously the domino effect. Then you come onto the vaulting table in a slightly
Because
compromised
there are like the million things that
position.
can go wrong with your
Well,
gymnastics.
quite unusual, really, to
You
see
can
a
kind
couple
of,
of gymnasts
if you're
struggle
more experienced, you can
immediately.
kind of like
It's quite
circumvent a
difficult
couple of
format
those.
to come
Like if
out
you're
into
like
actually
drifting or
a
whatever, you
pitch
can
black
kind of
arena
pull those back
virtually
in.
with just
But
the
when
vault
you are
run,
from the get go, your hands are way
linked.
further
It
back on the
wouldn't
board
be
than you're
something
used
they're
to.
very
You're
used
fucked.
to at all.
Certainly not. We seem to be more adept at World Cup events within Europe, and when people come from outside of Europe, they find it a bit difficult to the format.
So
have water.
13.033
Yeah, like what is he saying here about how it's difficult to the format? But there's
Heavily
been World
penalised
Cups
for
in
that very
Japan
deep
at this
landing.
point forever, and like Riley has done World Cups at the American Cup. Like, what is he talking about?
I don't know. Like, I've always had a problem with Kristen Thomas. Not for nothing.
No, so that was Craigie. And
Oh, that was
I'm
Craig?
just gonna.
And off she goes. There in the vault run.
Christine is murdering
And Yurchenko
Caroline
approach,
Hedwig's
much better on
name.
the top, full twist the same as the Japanese gymnast. Just a little step on the landing there, looked slightly
Yeah, so
surprised.
Caroline is a really great vaulter too, and you can see that she's like, I'm glad I survived that.
A cleaner vault of the two that we've seen previously.
Yeah, a lot better vault there, but you could see the floor hit her and she looked really surprised
Yeah,
there.
this is really dangerous.
She hasn't prepared for the landing at all. She was obviously a little bit...
But no one
just
gets
a
hurt
lack
here,
of
which is why we
concentration or
can
something,
watch
but it's
it.
like the floor
Yeah, she's
hit
the first
her
year
rather
senior
than she
here.
hit the floor, and you've got to really
Too.
strike the top. That was pretty good, but then it was just a little bit soft in the legs. Interesting, the first three vaulters, really, we've not had really one good vault out of the three.
She was quite offline on the approach
She really
as
was, she
well,
was off.
which is
It's like Martin heard herself
unusual,
off the
right
vault.
over to one side. But that was a very unusual sort of landing, because usually the gymnast is
Right, class,
twisting
I have to
with
focus.
the body on
Go there,
a
go there now.
dish position, so they see the floor as they come down. She almost seemed unsighted. And
I can't imagine why she was
13.366,
unsighted.
So you were right, Craig. The best of the vaults so far.
Class, it's so
Yeah, I'm going to
bad.
be really snarky because I find this infuriating.
And just no one did anything. That's the weird part. You know, until like halfway through the competition. Like,
So Liu Jiayu from China.
you would think like, you know, if your athlete says, I can't really see the vault, that's a problem.
So again, another gymnast that will use
From
the
the get-go.
Yurchenko approach onto the vault. A bit more of a laboured run up, but good contact. And again, Yurchenko full twist there. Not lots of height and had to jump out to the side.
I think she actually landed in the red zone, didn't she? Let's have a look here.
Oh no, she landed just like with a little toe on the line and then jumped into that. Looked good entry, but you could see there,
What's that?
reached over to one side, which put her out of line.
Oh,
Good
it's
in the
really
air.
I mean, that looks kind of normal for a Chinese vault to me.
Take some deductions. Look
Yeah,
there, you can
it's one of
see
those
she
like,
was sort of
they
in
look
the
fine.
round off, went across to one side, landed right on the line, and then jumped
that.
in
Yeah, that's better.
to
Okay, cool. We're done.
that deduction zone.
I was fixing the subtitle size.
A little bit of a laboured run, actually.
Keeping it for like, you know, differently capable watchers and
I
viewers,
was quite surprised
listeners
how
and
the vault
viewers.
it ended up.
You know, it's trying to make it accessible for
I always
everybody.
felt with Yuchenko vaults that the run-up had to be perhaps a little bit slower than a handspring or a round-off approach. I think it's slightly more technical that you have to get right, and sometimes a fast run-up can compromise that a little bit. But that was definitely a lot slower than what I was expecting, to be honest.
I think when you've watched a couple of other gymnasts before, yep, there's the score, 13.033.
And that very much reflects the direction, the fact that she ended up jumping into that red zone.
Is that better? Ooh, perfect.
Oh, now the gymnast that everyone's been waiting to see, Alia Mustafina.
You know
Such a
what?
dominant
I don't blame
performer
Mustafina
so
for gaining
many
weight.
years.
She gave that country everything.
Has in fact
She gave this
completed
sport everything.
Yuchenko
I feel like
2.5
it's
twist
not
many,
no
many
one's
years ago.
business if she's gained weight.
It's
Well,
not.
We'll be opting for the double twist
I've seen some
today.
really ugly comments, and I'm just like,
Lots
what
of
is that
height in a
for?
warm attempt, so off she goes. A much faster run up. Good contact into the double twist. That's much more like it there.
Great vault from Mustafina.
It almost feels like if she's going to take over for Valentina, she
First
kind of had
world
to.
champion back in 2011.
It's like you can't be Santa Claus if you're not Santa Claus. You can't be Valentina if you're not Valentina.
Yeah, you can see the experience.
Well, she got, like, cut her hair shorter so it's
confidence to go
bob.
down
You know
and
what I mean?
actually knowing
I
I'm going to hit this
think
double
that
twist where
weight
a
is
couple of
why
vaults
people
before,
don't
they did look
realize
a
that
little bit
Tanya
tempted
Chapman,
approaching
the
the vaulting
head
table,
coach at
but we often
Oregon,
see this,
was a really
and,
great gymnast.
Yeah.
Women in sport that have gone away and had children and
Because
come
they
back
don't look
like
at her
she
and think
has,
gymnast.
with this air
Just
of
like, what's her
confidence.
face?
She looked really measured, really in control.
Oh,
Like you say,
God, what's her
Kristen, she
face?
could do this
She
in
didn't
a
make the
2.5. So in theory, the double twist should be a lot easier for her. Straight down the middle.
Olympian.
Great
Oh, well,
start.
she should have been an Olympian.
Sorry, she was
We love her.
first world champion in 2010.
Although I do love how
so
they're
anything 9
invoking the
years
fact that
ago,
she
and
can
she's
do an
been at the
M&R
top of the sport,
to talk about her double twist and like,
battled through injury.
guys,
That-
when was the last time Miss Josephina did an
months ago, had a
M&R?
When she
great
blew
day.
her knee out.
And here is
Yeah,
the
I
score,
know, I'm like-
14.366.
So like 8 years before this. I always just find it weird when commentators say she's capable of doing X. I'm like, yeah, almost a decade ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you said earlier, it's kind of that risk reward and by going for the double twist.
I'm very
So
thankful
there
about
we
the fact
see
that I'm
Mustafina
getting
at
like
the
more
top of the
freelance work, but
standings,
just like
quite emphatically a mark
a lot
ahead
sometimes.
of Carol Ann Hedowit. Riley McClusker down in third, Liu Jiu in
So
fourth.
Riley's
equal
in a good
with
position here
Emily
despite the fall.
Fujita.
13-1-3-3. That's I mean for a fall. That's not bad. I would have gone lower,
The
honestly.
second little group, the second
I
group
am
will
fan of these
warm up now.
graphics,
So
though.
we
I
have
like a
Leah
yellow,
Grisier
like,
first, followed by
scoring
Victoria
bug.
Wu. Ellie Downey from Great Britain in 8th.
I kind of want to do a
and
Jimmy's
then
just for
Tia
graphics.
Fidelis for Brazil is our final vaulter of the evening.
Because I do feel like a lot of programs do actually have
Probably
fantastic
have time
graphics, and
to
their
do
graphics team should be shouted
2
out.
volts maximum. Get themselves prepared.
I think I'm gonna do that actually.
Focus.
Kind of unique.
The first
Yeah.
5 competitors
Ideal.
will prepare for the next piece of apparatus.
One of the things I always found kind of funny about these all-around World Cups was the like seating area that some of them had.
No, Europeans was gaggy.
Especially for
They were in the middle.
female gymnasts who are a little bit younger than the male gymnasts as well.
So isn't
Perhaps not quite that exposure to
Victoria
international
Wu
events
on
on
the
male
Pan Am's
side.
team?
So I think for this
This
it's
year?
I think
definitely
she
going to play a
is.
part,
She was
especially
injured for a
considering
while,
Yvonne really
and
had
she just
one
I think she returned to competition, and now
just
she's
to the
I think
arena
she's
and
the
just
Pan
to
Am
the
team.
light, and it is very, very difficult to do that in such a
She did
short
not go to
space
Worlds.
of
I know
time.
that.
Yeah, and we came in and watched training last night, and they just lit one piece of apparatus, and it was lit for about 20 minutes. So it wasn't possible to stay and train a bit longer.
No, it's her
because the
sister.
lights went off that
Her sister
Oh,
is on the-
Rosewu, yeah.
So I think it
Uh,
is quite taxing.
I mean,
Oh.
And there you can see
I have
our
trouble
first look
keeping
at
them apart
Ellie
because they're
Downey for
always
Great Britain.
injured, but at different times.
Yeah.
In one of her
So it always
warm-up
feels like
vaults.
there is a Wu, but
watched her last night.
You
a
know
little
which
bit
one.
in podium, and
And Victoria
I was asking
Rose
Ashley about
Wu
the
sounds like
lights, and she
a
said
full
actually
name.
once you've done a couple of volts, you sort of
I
just
think
get used to it.
Victoria.
And
I think
that's the
actually it might
experience
be
thing.
Victoria
Christian, you
Rose
were talking
Wu.
about.
Let me
Is
check
she-
We've
her
seen the
big
first 5
database.
volts.
Yeah.
4 of them were a little bit shaky, but Mustafina, with
Oh,
all
missing
those
Ellie
years of
Downey hours,
experience,
please.
just came
Always.
out of that. And I guess it's a real learning experience for some of these younger gymnasts to try and emulate that confidence.
Okay,
'cause that's
so
really
yeah,
key in this
one of
competition.
them is Victoria, one of
And I
them is
think
Rose.
especially on the first piece of that vault, you want
Slay!
to
At
set
least,
yourself off
you know,
in
at least
the
we knew that.
best possible position.
So together we
Vault's
kinda
sometimes a
can
little
kill
bit
them apart
easier
now.
perhaps to
Cool.
do that. You can
If our
lose some
powers
of that
combined.
adrenaline, lose some of those competition nerves, but we know Ellie's coming into it in very good shape. British champion just
If you're just joining us right now, we are reacting to the 2019
defeated 2 days in a
Birmingham
row, so we
World
know that
Gymnastics
she's
Cup.
got some,
We are like,
some
we're not even
very
that far
interesting
into
and
it
some
actually.
very
We're like,
exciting routines to come later on in the
We're
Yeah, we-
halfway
competition.
through rotation 1.
yeah. So you're
Leah
if you're listening
Grieser
here, girl.
for
Oh, I said that
Germany
all wrong.
on the
If you're
vault
just now getting here,
opens up
girl,
this
settle
second
in, grab a
subdivision.
snack, come back, join us. It's gonna be. It's not a very long one. It's not a very long one tonight. It's gonna hop on and do something fun. For the one
So
time.
this is my favorite German Leo of like the last many
Leah
years.
will be one of the only gymnasts
By the way.
not actually performing a
You like that?
Yurchenko-style vault.
Yeah.
I don't.
Then the vault run. There's handspring into the pipe front.
I think it's just that I just don't get it.
The steps just on the landing.
Like, what
That's
is-
not
what is all
most
this?
difficult, but very clean nonetheless.
I mean, it's better
Yeah,
than
nice and flighty.
random
We're
highlighted
used to
colors.
often seeing these with
You're
a
right.
half turn out.
It's
or
the
a full
actual
turn.
national
It was
colors.
The
very
pink
clean
ones were just a
performed.
choice.
It'll be interesting to see how that scores in this field of competition. It's a 4.2.
What's with the
I
American ones?
personally, having seen their personal Leos, blame
It was very clean as
the
well. This is what
goddess
we're gonna look from the springboard. Good block from the top.
Kim
Plenty
Bowie
of time
for
to
the
extend.
neon.
And that's the thing. If
Isn't
you're
it
gonna
par
do
for the
a
course? Like a
simple
lot of
vault,
intellectuals
you
just
have
don't
to
have.
execute
Well, much
it
like a lot of very rich people just
otherwise
don't have good
You
taste.
can forget it.
And
So the
she,
judges have
like,
10 marks for
although
execution.
Schaefer also
They can
wears
deduct
weird
from the
amounts
10
of
marks
neon, and
only a
Schaefer's
few tenths
definitely
of
the
those
one who
in
is
steps.
bringing the illusion
Possibly a
mesh
little bit of
to the
lack of
party
height and maybe
when
a
you
Yeah.
bit
look
of
at their
length.
personal Leos.
Yeah.
But legs were together. It was very neat.
Something about like the illusion mesh just being like a little too white always sends me. I'm like,
Seems happy with that. And I think
why is the
we'll
vault table
put,
so low? So it's not that the
real,
vault table's so low;
slightly,
it's that
I wanna
the
say
spotlight,
pressurised, but it's a bit warmer.
you're like hitting the vault like
competition.
this,
So
makes it look
13.133.
weird.
She's done well with that.
Lighting does a lot. You'd be surprised. It was like up to her hips.
I mean, they might have a.
That could be a thing too. I don't know.
She also
Oh.
might be tall.
It's true. But all we heard about the vault table here is that they just couldn't see it well. And not, I mean, you could see the vault, but it's like see where you're like going to place your hands on,
Experienced gymnast.
or where you're
Member
like,
of
put your
the-
hands.
Well, I think Riley
2014
wears
Commonwealth
glasses
team.
too, so she literally couldn't see the vault.
In her Rebecca Andrade era.
Nice and fast approach. Good vault there.
Well, yeah, but apparently Rebecca can never see the vault and is fine with that.
Yeah, she prefers not to see the beam at all.
Lots of height and good solid
Isn't that
landing
crazy?
as well for
I mean, I
her.
guess if you just train like that, you get used to it. But like,
Yeah,
I
it
would,
seemed quite easy for
that would drive
vault
me
for her.
crazy. If I can't
I would
even,
say probably
if I
one
have,
of the
don't
best
have,
vault
I
twists
couldn't find my
we've
glasses
seen.
earlier,
If you
so
look,
I
the
had to put my
height,
contacts
plenty
on.
of length away
I was
from the
pissed.
table. She'd really strike back and block.
They were like,
A little bit of a crossing
little
of the
cover.
feet,
I was
but
like,
that'd
wow.
be difficult for the
And I put
judges
them
to
there
pick
for a
up
reason.
at that speed.
par for the course.
Down the middle.
So at least,
Solid,
Wu has
clean,
gotten through
opening
vault without a weird landing
She
or a
lifted up
fall.
off the platform.
A
The
little
judges have a
whoopsie
sort
daisy.
of table of how
How's the
high
weather over
they
there, Catherine?
expect to see you lift off the platform.
It's fine.
To not
It's
have
sort of cooling
deductions,
down.
And,
Yeah.
that
Um,
was quite a lot higher than some of the other
So
vaults we've seen.
the worst rotation
Score
of this
reflected,
whole thing to me is
13.66.
bars, because of the spotlight made apparently catching release moves really hard.
That just does not look safe at all. Like, who in the right mind was like, that's the move. That's it. Looks fantastic, folks.
So, just proves if
Looks
you
great.
do
So
a vault, but execute
apparently,
it
sometime
well,
in this commentary, they're going to tell us
you'll
that
be rewarded.
they only got 20 minutes where on each apparatus where the lights were turned on during podium training.
Yeah, they said that like 5 minutes ago. I heard him say that. It just blows my mind. I mean, like, again, to be a fly on the wall, But there's never
Well,
someone
watch
in there
this
that
if she
you know
can
has
hit. She's
reason.
such a powerful gymnast. Look,
Well,
wraps in
and
the
the
double twist.
at some point they're gonna like justify this by
Struggled to control
saying
that power
that
there, Christine. I mean, she
they do
blocked up
this
the
at
top before
British
on that jump
Nationals, but
back.
I've watched a bunch of British
Fantastic vaulting.
Nationals and it's never this
Well,
bad.
fabulous vaulting,
Yeah, they don't
but
do
she
that.
really had to work
Um,
hard not to fall back. She generated such a lot of power that she really had to take a massive bounce back.
Missing Ellie Downey hours,
She
man.
actually can go a lot higher. She went for a lot of rotation and was still
Yeah, so
rotating when she
that
hit the
seems
floor.
like unlike
Hence the almost
Ellie
long jump backwards.
in her sort of bounce back
Well,
is.
she saved it. We'll take a jump back. That's much better than a fall. But you could see
And then
there
like
the
if you have, I
difference
can
in
imagine
power
like if you have a
from,
spotlight
Ellie compared to
and
the
it's
smaller
like in your
gymnasts that we've
eyes,
seen
yeah,
so
you're
far.
gonna
She
you're not gonna know where you put your
has
hands.
got
Yeah,
such
that
a
makes no sense.
powerful frame for this piece
This
of
was
apparatus.
it was a
She
cute
can pop
idea.
that off the top. There's probably another
Perhaps
half
just
twist
for
in there in
dressage,
training at
but not for
least.
gymnastics.
Oh yes, she's a
So
very
Miss
powerful
Leo
vaulter and has
bothers
been
me
able to
because of
compete
the
that for a
collar.
long time now. But
I feel like it wants to be
good
like illusion
performance.
mesh,
There
but
we
it's
are,
not.
14.3.
It's the like
Great score for Ellie Downey.
pretend at illusion mesh plus solid collar
Yeah.
that is bothering me.
If it at least like match your skin tone at the top, and then I guess fit into that
But
ombre,
it's nowhere near her skin
it's
tone.
not. Yeah, no, at all. Remember when we thought she was
So
gonna be the
final
biggest
competitor
the next
on
big
the
thing?
vault, Thais Fidelis from Brazil.
I love this
one of the
Brazilian Leo.
nations that
Yeah, it's
impressed
really pretty.
so much.
Missing
at the
Thais
back
Fidelis
end of
hours
last
as
year.
well. All these gymnasts.
And off she goes. Flips on the full twist in the Yurchenko. Good landing.
I
A
don't
lot
think
of
we've
them
seen her in a
One of the most
while.
difficult vaults,
We
but
haven't. No, she's been. I know she's
executed
been
very
hurt
well.
or she got hurt.
So I think that'll score into the 13s, won't go into the 14s, but great vault.
I'm a little cold now.
Really good pop up off the top, a little weight, and then wraps the full twist in. You could have almost thought she was just going to do a straight vault.
But yeah, I remember when
Then
everybody thought she was gonna be like the
lifts
next
high
like
before
big
she
thing out
wraps
of
the
Brazil,
twist. Lovely
and then
discipline to
she
the
just
vault.
faded out.
Right down the middle.
I mean, if she's still training and just hurt, then we might still see her again. Think about Rebecca.
True. Did you see
That was
Jessica's
definitely
injury post?
well
Yeah,
within
we
her
haven't talked about that on
capabilities,
here, have we?
Christine.
We did.
She's a double
Oh, we did?
twister,
Yeah.
I would say
On
most
the-
of the time.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we
it
did.
was an
Yeah, we did.
actual
You're right.
fact,
Yeah.
We
the
did.
approach run was
We
really
we
quite
did a
leisurely,
like
as though she
preview
didn't
of the
want to
next year, and we
overdo
talked
it.
about it. It's really horrific. I don't think she can make it back to Paris.
Brought the team at the World
At least on the
Championship
all-around.
2018, that finished
Well,
7th.
definitely not in the all around, but I
There's
have.
a score 13.566.
If she could get it back, she could go on bars and beam. But the problem is that you don't take her as a bars and beam specialist.
Unless she turns into a bars and beam specialist.
Yeah, but the competition there is Georgia May Fenton and Becky
A
Downey.
bit of attention to the
Well,
hands.
she had a what? She had a
Of course, one of the hazards of being
6
a
or 5'8"
gymnast is
on bars.
Your hands get ripped when you work on the bars.
Give me a second and I will look it up.
Yeah. How does Jessica Gadarova get to
And
Paris?
there you can see confirmation after the first apparatus. Mustafina leads the field. Downey in second. Wu.
So in worlds qualifying,
Fourth. Heduit. Fifth.
she had a
Risha,
5'6".
Sixth. Makusta.
5'6". Okay.
Six.
And
That's a lot
already,
to.
And
That's a lot
Nikita
to try
in
and.
equal 8th position.
yeah, and that's already looking hard for her. Well, not hard, but just like at the peak of what she can do on bars. Well,
Right.
listen, Mama's has
So-
what? A year?
So her bars scores were like a 13.6 and a 13.7 at Worlds.
Yeah, that's difficult.
And so we
Yeah, I
move
just-
our
I just
attention
can't-
to the uneven bars.
I mean,
And, the new working order
When
this
you're
time.
looking at a like
Naji Kajita will
world,
start us
she's
with
got-
Caroline
but-
Heduit second, Yu Zhou third,
Yeah, but
Aya Mustafina
the,
fourth,
an
and
ACL
Alia
recovery is
Grisha
generally a
fifth.
year.
So those first 5 will warm up.
Yeah, 6
compete,
months, you're
and
able
then
to
the
like
second half will
finally
warm
like
up.
put full weight on it, and it's fine, and you can
Riley
like start
McCusker,
doing things
who
again. But like
started the
skip back,
competition
and then it
off,
takes
got
6.
right to the
Well,
end.
if you're in
So
level
she
gymnast, I would
worked
say
in
3
ninth
months.
place.
But that's typically like yeah, no, she's gonna get close, and yeah, I don't see it.
Some of
A
these
4 months is
gymnasts
way
have come
short.
straight from the World Cup last
That's
You're
like a
thinking-
Hercule
Germany.
Galoyan.
Yeah, you're thinking
Tell
of
you that Mustafina
an
was at a
Achilles,
great
not an
competition,
ACL.
But then fell off the beam.
And you know
Three
what?
times,
Maybe, you know,
think, so she'll
I'm
certainly
biased,
get
or
to
not
the
biased. I
next
have a
for
different
that. She's got off to a good
perspective because
start
mine was
already.
what,
And of
2008,
course, the uneven
2009,
bars are
no
her
wait,
piece. She's been
2008.
Olympic
So
champion
you know, a different
on
time.
the
So
uneven bars.
modern
It's
medicine has
very much
advanced since
the
then. Who
apparatus
knows?
she
But it still
stars
takes
on.
about a year.
To get back to full force, yeah,
It completely switches your
yeah.
kind of awareness.
And it's just a matter of the other people on the British team
Coach is busy
are strong in those events.
adjusting the tension and the
Yeah.
mats.
And her best events are
Obviously
floor and
pretty
falls.
decent on the bars. Christine,
And those
she
are
was
the-
gold medalist
those
in
pound your
2012
knees.
at the Olympics and retained
So
the title with
look
another
where
gold
the light
in
is.
Rio.
The
I
light
think
source
the
is on these
sights will be
bars.
firmly set on the triple, but it'll be a lot harder in Tokyo, don't you think?
I think so, but obviously, you know, she's already back in great shape. Just 18 months after becoming
that's why
a
they
mum.
have podium training. But that's just,
is obviously
you
enjoying
train your dismount
competing.
to like you release. You find like a point, right? When you're doing podium training,
Well,
you
as
find
a
like a
relatively
point
new
where
parent
you can kind of
myself, I'll be
relatively like
saying
that's
it's
where I need to
sensible
like release like I
quite
do in the
enjoy the
gym.
peace and
And when
quiet.
you have lights that
I
coming
think
straight at
I'd
you like
rather be
this,
training.
that throws everything off.
Well, yes, there is that to it.
Ugh. Put him a hood up. I hate this for them. Very hetero, please.
Although I do love the Chinese gymnast just starting to spray the bars while head weight is still on the bars.
She's like, you're taking too long. I'm just gonna go ahead. Just gonna
I'm
slide
just
them right
going
here,
to
girl.
miss you.
I would have sprayed her too. Like, you're still on the bars.
Here you see the
But
gymnast
it's like a
putting
cat.
hand guards on.
Yeah, just like
They
you're still on the
always
bar.
wear wristbands under the guards.
I mean, I think in terms of the ACLs,
This is a piece of apparatus that just
Asia
seems to
should
take
be
its
back
time
by
for the gymnast
Euros
to
this
prepare.
year.
This is so much to change. Choke on bars,
Should she be back?
flying
No.
water.
No, but
So you can see
I
the water in the
suspect she will
left
be.
hand there. Hang guards.
Kovacs, I think, is cutting it close, and I think we may see her on beam and bars, but I think
So what we're
that's
looking for,
unlikely.
Christine, for a good
Yeah.
bar routine, what do you say?
And
Well,
she
there's
had a few more
several
weeks on Jessica.
requirements you have to have. You have to move from
It's just
the
it's
high
it's
bar
very
down to the
dicey
low
when it
bar.
comes
So
to
if you
injuries
just do
like
a
that
repeat
because
on the high bar you lose quite a lot of marks.
So-
first your surgeon has to
Aaliyah
be
does-
fantastic.
Aaliyah does really great on bars here, and the BBC uses that as an excuse to say that the others aren't experienced.
You have to have more than just a forward grip. When you're
Because,
swinging around,
you know,
normally your hands are in the
Mustafina
grip,
can do
forward
bars in the
grip,
dark.
an over grip like Mustafina is here. But you also have to show
Do we have a live
reverse
band
grip
here?
as well. So you have
She
to show
was
two
at
different
Doha.
grips, and you have to have a full pirouette. So that
But this is
there we are,
2019 too.
she's shown us perfectly her full
Yeah,
pirouette.
so this
So
is
you have to be quite
like
versatile,
March
not
of
only
2019.
able to work in one sort of
Hey,
element.
Alex, where's Michaela? So Michaela is doing her own show now. We
real secret to success is the fact that she
We're-
gets the
we-
8
yeah,
moves
we-
done
we broke
as
up.
quick
Let's say
as
it that way. We
possible,
broke up.
links them from one to the other.
We
without-
we're
because a bit like a
exploring
men's
other
high bar,
options.
It is a difficult piece to get a
And I
good
love her.
score on for the
There's no
women, so
drama.
the
Well,
more extra
on my
swings
end, there's no
you
drama. I
the
love her,
more
support
likely to
her.
pick
You
up
know, go
deductions.
support her.
Yeah.
I have no beef with
Every
her.
move will attract some deductions. If you do the first move,
I
with a
mean,
bit bent arm,
I still
the
consider her to be
judges
one of my
will deduct
friends, but
0.1.
you know,
If your legs
she's
are
still
a
mad
bit
at me.
bent, they'll
That's what
deduct
she said last
another
we
0.1.
interacted.
So
So
you will be attracting
That's that.
deductions. So the
they split ties.
way to do it is
I mean,
only
yeah.
do the 8 moves. Don't do 18 moves, because otherwise you're giving more and more marks away.
Absolutely. And I
Michaela
think
said
that's a skill
something
we'll see a lot.
pretty
Generally, a
unacceptable
lot of
on
the
her last
inexperienced gymnasts haven't got the
thing here,
repertoire to link these
and
big
was
skills,
mad that
which means they add more
Adex cut her
and then
mic.
more deductions. So
The thing is,
interesting
I
to
didn't
see
cut her
the
mic to silence her. I cut her mic to like
construction
save her
of
from,
routine
you know,
compared to the rest.
saying
Yeah.
something else.
But like
Indeed.
what she said was pretty unacceptable, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I
You-
mean, I agree. That's why I did it.
You see the coach there allowed to
It
spot
was
the gymnast, and they're allowed
saying that
in
it
the
was a good thing
competition
that
as well. As long as they don't
a
touch the
particular gymnast got
within the
injured.
competition, that's absolutely fine. If they catch the gymnast, then the gymnast actually picks up a penalty.
Yeah.
But in
She
warm-up,
said that the best
there's
thing
absolutely no
USAG could have
problem
done
at
for
all.
the team was to send Bernie Malone to get hurt.
And then you can see the coach of Nagi Kajita just prepping the bars. She'll be the first gymnast
So
up.
so these are Gymnova bars. I know that I've read that Spieth bars are particularly
Different
bouncy.
pull on the bar. You
Yeah,
can
so
see
Riley's
now,
already
is that a
fallen on her
digital
vault.
tension
Yeah.
cable.
Yeah,
now,
it is.
Christine.
It is a digital
no, I love her
tension
too.
cable on the
You know.
actual as
So
it's set into the
are
bars.
Gymnova bars
So we've
bouncy
been
or not?
joined by Beth Treadle here. Of course,
I know the
Olympic medalist on this
Tyshawn
apparatus,
ones,
the
Tyshawn ones are
expert,
way
to join
bouncier.
us in the commentary
Gymnova,
and
I've never
give her analysis.
tried Gymnova bar. Well, I don't, guys don't do bars, but I've never.
Final
All high bars are
preparations.
kind of similar. I mean, there's different tensions, but they're kind of all
Still
similar
wait
for the most
green light
part.
from the judges.
I just remember like someone talking about Spieth bars being like super bouncy.
Adds to the grippiness of the bars.
Are those ones that they had in Tokyo? No, those are Tyshawn, right?
Be on the
Or
way.
Uh,
I'm like thinking way back. Hold on, my mind has not been working today.
I
so
think
that's why.
Tokyo was Spieth.
Okay, so if they were Speed Sport, they're really bouncy.
No,
Remember-
or was Tokyo the Japanese brand?
Tyshawn.
No, Taishan is
oh,
Chinese.
And
the,
first competitor on
that
the uneven
gymnast.
bars for Japan, it's Nagi Kajita.
Lee Nig.
No, Li Ning is a Chinese gymnast.
Oh, I don't know.
So to get
There's
this
a
bar
Japanese
rotation
brand.
started, we have the Japanese with a huge
Whoa,
release
was that-
catch, the straight catch-up,
Was that Nabiva?
going straight down into the low bar
Gag.
with the pack salto, legs
Well-
locked together,
Well, I mean,
straight back up to the high bar with the shaft.
Not credited
with
not
exactly.
credited.
turn.
Yeah. These are the Leos you don't like, right?
Just made it over in the half turn.
I don't-
Big Jaeger somersault. Gymnasts
I think
have
they're
to show
interesting.
a forward element, but just fell short on that upstart handstand. with the
So
half
Chief is
turn.
asking us to go back.
Oh, go back. Okay.
She's
Yeah.
done all the very difficult
How far
stuff
back,
there.
you?
He probably wants to see the releases.
Yeah.
So why don't you just go back to her start?
Be underway.
So as far as this Leo, like,
I like it because at least it's like speed racer, Japanese, like pop culture.
so, I don't understand. Like, is it because Speed Racer was that big of a thing for them? Like, was
Yeah.
it really that big?
And first competitor on the uneven bars for Japan, it's
Like the
Nagi
Mach 5, was that
Kajita.
actually a big thing?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, the one I hate from this era is the one that says Nippon on the front that just says Nip across their chest.
So to get this
Oh,
bar rotation
yeah.
started,
Yeah.
we have the Japanese with a huge release and
Yeah.
catch, the straight
one's-
catch-up.
Well, and that's just the language difference.
Going
Like, they don't,
straight down
you know.
into
Yeah,
the
so
low
I think
bar
that's an
with the pack
Ambieva.
salto, legs locked together.
Yeah. Well, we didn't see it from the
Straight back
side
up to
because
the
it's,
high bar
again,
with the
garbage
shaft.
angle.
With the half turn.
When we do our artistry thing, we should do like also like
Made it
include
over in
like
the half turn
this
there.
is what angle we
Big
prefer
Jaeger
to see
somersault.
gymnastics in.
Gymnasts have to show a
So
forward
what's
element.
going on with that pirouette?
Just fell short on that.
It was
upstart.
off, right?
Have to show a forward
Like-
made it
And-
over in
and
the
then
half
she's
turn
off the
there.
bars.
Big
Let's
Jaeger
see.
somersault. Gymnasts have
This
to
one right
show
here.
a forward element, but just fell short on that upstart handstand with a half
Did she just
turn.
like run out of momentum or something? No, she's kind of like
She's done
labored.
all
Here we
the
go.
very difficult stuff, Beth.
The Biva.
And then, a
Didn't see it 'cause they're zoomed in.
relatively easy
It's okay.
move. She had, and it will have been to turn her back round probably to do the dismount. So it's a shame, but you can see
That's better
the
than it.
first part of the routine was very well done. She
Remember
had
when Beth broke her
multiple
back
release
or her
and
neck?
catch
What?
elements.
It was her neck.
She has 30 seconds
Remember that?
to get back onto
Yeah.
the bar, and you can see she's
She was
now
doing like skiing with the
remounted.
stars. Of all
Ski
fucking
jumping.
things. Yeah, ski
There's
jumping with the
in-bar
stars.
work
While
with the full
pregnant.
turn. And building up towards the dismount, which has to be counted in her difficulty.
Oh,
And
that's a
full
knee.
twist in double back. I think she may have just put her hands down at the end, but I'm sure they'll
Oh, that hurt my knee.
re-show that.
As a shame, just shows how
They,
important that
Yeah, like the only reason we can watch this is because we know no
A
one
bit of
was
a
actually
hazardous
hurt here.
routine. In fact, she hadn't
Yeah.
really warmed up very
But
well.
it's all super
This
dangerous.
dismount, you can
Oh
see
my
the hands
gosh, that's-
touched at
I
the
have like
same time,
empathetic,
and she'd come
like,
in quite close to
pains,
that
I guess.
high bar.
Like, I can't watch a Rebecca
Kind of
Brosnan. Like, I
few
literally throw up.
problems
any of the operators is
with that routine, but full of promise. Great start.
Well, the first time it happened, I threw up.
Didn't have a
It's been
great
better since
vault,
then.
and then obviously to go to bars and have a bit of a hiccup there. It looked all a little bit laboured for me, a bit short on the handstand.
I think it's
When she
endurance.
did
Like,
the
she's not
pack salto, it looked a bit close to the
in
low
form,
bar
as
as
a
well.
translation would say.
That was the handstand half
Yeah, let me
turn,
look
but
at
you have to
what
have your
date
body,
this
your
was.
Centre of gravity going over
This
the
is the
bar
beginning
to
of the
half
year.
turn.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
this
the
was
first few
March
elements were great, but she
23rd.
tired,
Yeah,
and you could
it was like a month after my birthday.
really, had she
Almost, yeah.
managed to carry on there, I
Yeah,
would
so
have
this is
liked to
way
see
out
the
of
dismount.
season.
Having had
It's
a bit
crazy
of a
how,
rest
like,
here and reorganise
for like
herself, the dismount was
NCAA
still
gymnastics, this is like peak
quite
season. This is like
hazardous.
going to postseason. But like for elite, it's like this is not.
So the judges will have
It's
to
out of
take
season.
one whole mark off for the fall, possibly a whole mark for
And I'm sure that's
the
on purpose,
hands down on
so
the dismount as
gymnasts could
well.
do both.
And the score comes in
I
11.766.
don't think so, because I think NCAA was just so different than elite when that schedule was set.
Formulated. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the way back when a lot of these smaller competitions were more spaced during the year,
Uh-huh.
And on to the uneven bars for France is Caroline.
and what they would tend to do is put the unimportant ones
And
early in
this
the
is
year
her
and late in the
first
year.
as a senior.
I don't know what happened with your mic, but that scared the shit out of me.
Was a medalist
Oh, I'm sorry.
at the
No,
junior
you're fine. I was just
level,
like listening to
junior
you, and like I wasn't
Europeans
expecting
on
that.
bars, and that's a very nice early combination.
Like
the
a jump.
upright into
So I like
Stolkachev and now a
Caroline's
stoop Kachev
gymnastics.
straight
I do
into
too.
Paxalto.
I just
This
she needed
is
a better
very
federation.
difficult and impressive routine.
You can
That flight to
see
the high bar
the
with half turn is
you can see in her gymnastics the sort of pedigree that that Neymar comes from, though.
Yeah.
Pops the hands
They're from the
into
same club,
reverse
right?
grip. Lovely
Yeah.
high double front somersault. That was very good. That will be a high
I will never forget like when she
routine.
hyperextended her knee at Europeans. Was that Europeans?
That
Yeah.
routine was
Yeah.
packed with difficulty
Ugh.
right from the word go. The aim of the gymnast is to link every element, and this is one thing that she did very well. There's the low to the high bar transition straight into
no,
a
she
big
deserved
release
better.
and catch, so she builds up the connection bonuses there.
I'm just
Very
hoping she
few
can come
elements
back.
in between. Just a slight loss of leg form on that transition to the low bar, but a great shot.
I tell you, man, like gymnastics
The half
is
turn
such a
on
cruel
top bar.
mistress that it doesn't
So-
have to be.
Uses
Yeah.
the hop
So I do
into
hate
the
this
double
French
front
Leah.
and spots the landing
Yeah, I don't like
very,
the
very well.
mesh.
Just has that small
It's just
step,
too
but
pink.
a fantastic routine
It
from such a young
it's trying to be like illusion mesh, but it's pink, and so it looks really weird on her
Pretty
skin
good on
tone.
bars.
And then it looks
It's
like
one
it's
of their
rubbery.
strong
It looks like
pieces.
leathery. So like it
But
just makes it look like she's wearing a
uses the
wetsuit.
stoop action
And
well, where
like,
you don't
why
put your
is
feet on the bar,
there that
and
deep
gets a
V?
lot of
It's
marks.
like
I think this is one the young French gymnast we
It
saw last year
says-
was impressive. 13.9 for Hiduit. On
It's
the
a
uneven
Simon
bars.
Cowell
Great
deep V.
start. Great score.
Our next competitor representing the People's Republic.
I don't like a white Leo. I said it.
do you object to
Next
all
up,
white Leos?
onto the uneven bars
For
for
the most
China
part, yeah.
is Liu Jiu.
I just, as a woman, can't imagine wearing one.
This is a piece
I-
of
it just-
apparatus the Chinese are
I mean,
renowned for
aside
doing
from,
lots
you know,
of
those reasons, it's one of those,
intricate
like,
turns. Here's the
it's so
start, the
hard
shot,
to look
straight into the short clear
good
with a
in
full
one.
turn, linking it
I think
straight
you need to be
into a
ripped.
release and catch element.
and just like
Unfortunately,
nauseous. Okay,
too
I
far
just want
That
to say one
fall.
thing.
to keep hold.
I just want to say one thing.
The judges will have to make
I don't know what's going on with Nastia,
whether
and
she
hopefully there's
has
something
a
going on with her. But like
temporary
her
on the
Instagram
bar
is
as to
giving
whether
like
they
early
credit
2000s like
skill. It just looked like a left
Tumblr
hand
anorexia.
didn't quite
Like-
re-grasp.
So I'm sorry, since we're watching a fall, I
Yeah.
think she missed it because she just couldn't see the bar.
I think so too.
She restarts the routine straight
Can we go back?
away,
Let's go back.
hops into
Yeah,
the forward
yeah, let's go back.
on the bar as
Because
to whether they
I think she
Oh,
should have
yeah.
caught that.
the skill. It just the element of foot turns.
Let's see.
Here's
From the
the
other
big
angle.
start, the shaft straight into the short.
Oh, yeah,
clear
she was
with a
right
full
there. Yeah,
turn,
no,
linking
she's-
it straight
yeah.
into a release and catch element.
I think it's
Unfortunately,
it's her
too far
the light
over
being in her
bar
eye,
to be able
her
to
not
keep hold.
being able to see it, and her just like
The
trying to
judges will
rush
have
through
to
that
make
connection.
a decision
Yeah.
whether she had a temporary hold.
Yeah, no, I hope
on the
you
bar
know.
as to whether
For as
they
much crap
credit
as I talk about Nastia,
the
Nastia, I hope you're
skill.
doing
It
well,
just
and you know,
looked like a left hand
you know.
quite re-grasp.
So I think that the new Gabby ripped muscles I
Oh
think
my-
would look
Starts the
good in a
routine
white
straight
Leo,
away, hops
but
Yeah.
into
she
the forward
she
element.
looks very different than she looked before.
Well, That is
She just has something to prove.
surprising. And that Kachev that she
And not to
missed,
anybody but
she
herself, I
was
feel
right
like.
in the right position to catch, wasn't she, Beth?
And that's when your
She
best
was, it
gymnastics is
just
going to
looked
happen,
like
is when
one
you are not doing
arm
it
wasn't
not doing it for
as
anybody
stretched
but
out as the
yourself.
other one. Again, that one, her
I just
weight
hope
was
she's
just
enjoying
slightly
herself.
behind her, so
Yeah.
when she
Which is
caught
difficult
it,
at Woga,
her centre of
you know,
mass
for
was
reasons.
behind
But, like,
her.
Yeah, but she's been through a lot of
So
weird
2 whole marks
yeah.
will be
Gym
She's always been
situations.
alone. She's always been alone. That's the weird part. She's never really had, like, a training
Coaches can
partner.
stand in for the safety, so you can see a coach there. There's the pack salto.
And that does, I mean, even if it's trauma bonding, that's still, like, you having some there,
Shaft
like,
with a half turn.
going through the same things you're going through, like, that helps your
In
morale, I
forward.
guess, which is why I think
Then
Riley
builds
and
up
Jade
towards the
work so
dismount,
well.
the full twisting,
So
double back.
we're now 2 gymnasts into the bars rotation, and we've had 3 falls.
And not a traditional Chinese routine.
No, it wasn't.
And of course,
and it
Sabrina's
wasn't
going to come in
really
here
a
and just
routine
blow it
of
out
great risk.
the park.
Very surprising to see her miss. I do wonder whether the gymnasts are finding it difficult to adjust to the very bright spotlight right above them.
Yeah, they are using a very different format at this World Cup. The rest of the arena is, the lights are down and then it's just the apparatus that is lit up. But they had training in it yesterday and they all seem to get through their routines.
Yes, and actually in the warm-up they had as well. The dismount was, again, quite close to the bar.
2 years, because
So
I
she
got a
was
notification for that with
losing
my Twitter.
energy a little bit. That
We
was a
created
very
the We Love
nicely done
Gymnastics
move. It's
Twitter
called the
account 2 years ago today.
Shuttle after the first gymnast that ever did it, and it's the flight from the low bar up to the high bar.
Oh.
Well, it was full of
You know,
trouble
some shows
pretty
don't make
much
it
from the
past 2
start.
years. You know what I mean?
And,
Like, it was fine. We
unfortunately,
had a great
you know,
run.
That's what
A great
happens
run.
sometimes, you know what I mean?
You have a great future ahead, so.
I hope so.
There you go, you can see the
I hope
apparatus.
so.
Uh, Just that
My
piece
dad
of
wanted
apparatus
me
lit.
to go work in the lab, like where he
and
works at
arena full
SECA,
of
but like
darkness.
the
So
extension
great
office, and it's like, I don't want to do
spectators,
that.
Obviously
Like,
not that great.
I
for
graduated college for a
competitors.
reason.
Well, it will be directly above the heads
Not saying
of
like that's not a
the
good job.
gymnasts,
It is a
so
fantastic
that
job with great benefits and
presumably
great
when they're
pay.
doing the
It
release
just doesn't
moves,
speak to my soul.
They've got the light shining directly in their eyes as they're
Yeah,
going
look
for
at
the
that.
knee grasp.
It's just like right in your
Awesome.
eyes.
Gymnasts chalking the bar up. Every gymnast likes to have the bar slightly different, and it's quite nice.
And
to
we were
see
trying to
the
spot
gymnasts
somewhere,
helping each
specifically
other
in
out
like the
here.
air, to where
So some
we're to
gymnasts will
release,
like
where
lots
to
of
yeah,
chalk
no,
and a
that's
little
not.
bit of water. Some gymnasts will not like much
Even make
chalk
it or
at
break it
all.
was not this egregious.
But next up we do have Queen on this piece of apparatus. She's
And sometimes they were
obviously very renowned
egregious.
for picking up medals at every international level possible.
Here's another fact for you, Beth. She was the most successful Russian athlete
Oh,
in the
Catherine.
Rio Olympics.
Guess what I got in today? So
So 3
I ordered
medals
some new
tonight,
LEDs
gold,
for my
silver,
camera so I can
and
film like the
bronze.
green screen stuff for Adex Night, and they came in today, and
So
they're
pretty
fabulous.
impressive. And bars.
Yay.
Here is her
Yeah,
piece
so I
of
think I'm
apparatus.
gonna
So let's see if the
finish up the
lights
script
affect
because
her.
I'm adding a few things to it, and then I should be ready to
See the
like
judges
do it. I
there
think
just
either
taking
this
the time.
coming
And
well,
I think
Pan
the
Ams.
problem will be there is whether
I'll
they're
figure
getting
something
some
out.
of that difficulty.
I think judges have to write in the dark
hang.
too.
Well, she didn't show hang on the Kachev and the Pike.
That's something I really want to. So we're gonna do the artistry video with
Yeah.
Donatella, and we're trying to get a judge to come on
It is,
so we can
and
like
if they
ask her
don't
direct
count
questions or
the
we might have with the
Jaeger
code.
as,
And so
having
there's a
caught
lot of
the
things that
front
I
of
just want to
and
ask
she's got no
the person we're
forward element.
inviting.
So
in.
Adex has
Out of
to
the 4 requirements you have
edit
to have,
out
she would be missing
all
Yeah.
of the.
2. If they
Um,
don't give either
I'm
of those 2
advocating
releasing
to Alex
catches,
that
it's really
he actually show
a
us
very hazardous
Donatella
mistake.
talking in circles,
And the
even
score
though
comes
she
in.
can be hard to understand,
Reflects the performance,
just because it's important to hear her.
9.933.
Yeah, just her
Blue
waxing poetic about some
JU.
things.
But that video has a lot of Zoom problems, so just editing out at the Zoom problems.
I'm halfway through it. But it's, every time I start like editing it, I just keep on watching it because it's like seeing Donatella
Next up on
exist.
the uneven bars,
It's just
representing
fascinating to
Russia
me.
is Aliyah Mustafina.
She's an interesting
She
character.
she seems much more human and much less like an evil
So
villain.
he's quoted as saying that
Yeah.
Once you're watching her talk like that.
Yeah,
Success. It's
she's
the apparatus
a character,
you have
man.
to work hardest at.
And I think
I'm
you have to be,
sure
honestly.
Getting
Well, so
back
is the
into shape.
president
This
of
is
the
piece that's
Asian,
really
the,
Oh, she
the blonde lady.
loves Donatella. She
lovely
loves
handstand shape
Donatella.
at the beginning. There's the full pirouette, the stolder full.
So Mustafina is always going to be Mustafina.
Because she has done this over hot coals. She's done this in the blistering Russian winter. Like, she's always going to hit the routine no matter
Now
what.
the front somersault catches with ease, so well practiced. Half turn, we haven't had an empty element yet at all. Full pirouette, full twisting double back.
My queen.
That's how you work. Bars, that's uneven bars at their best. There was
Missing
no
Aliyah
empty
Mustafina
elements
hours
at all.
forever and ever,
Every
amen.
element she performed counted for something.
It does, and that shows why she is a double Olympic champion. You can see she just finds
Say her
a natural
name,
swing on this
Beth.
piece of apparatus.
Double
Every
Olympic
single
champion,
element is in.
yes.
Therefore, she's building up the difficulty bonus and not giving any reason for deductions to be taken. The release and catch elements are catching high above the bar, which gives her time. The full turns, they're finishing in handstand, and then obviously connecting it straight into the dismount here. You've got
Personally,
full
I
turn
don't think there's been a
straight into the
gymnast who
full
comes
twisting
close
double
to what
back.
Aliyah brought
Just
in
a
that
tiny,
debut,
tiny little hop, but
or that has
a
been able to
world-class
match her
routine.
just tenacity, honestly. I mean,
Say
of
that
course,
just
Simone.
showed all those years
But,
of
like,
experience there on those bars.
Two very
She's a
different
giant of the
That's how you
sport.
do it, as you say.
Yeah.
Connecting all the skills. No chance
Well, you know,
of
where Simone is like, you know,
deductions
definitely
there. Extra
a
swing.
titan,
Just
or like, you know, one of the great,
Well,
the greatest
And
ever.
in a different way,
This
because
work
Yeah.
for so long,
like
it's definitely stored well in the memory banks.
Mustafina carried that team too in a
On
way
her
that
fucking
Simone
back.
hasn't had to.
On her fucking back.
Brilliant first two
That also,
pieces of
like,
apparatus.
Mustafina had, you know, people like that could help her out, whereas Simone has just had to like carry the entire program of USAG on her
Well,
back.
yeah, I mean, but like
Recently,
that 2018 team,
Adjusting the tennis
Mustafina was
bars.
carrying.
Again,
Oh yeah,
some
oh yeah.
gymnasts like the chalk and the water,
But
some gymnasts like the bars to be
the other thing
really solid,
is
and some of them like the bounce a little bit more.
Simone has not had major injury.
Yeah, other than her ankle, no, she hasn't.
Next up for Germany.
Kind of like I was thinking this the other day.
Grisia.
Isn't this Robertson's only injury?
Yeah, but she's 17.
True. Yeah, true.
So there's the toe on and off with a full turn.
Have we heard
straight into the
anything
shaft.
specific about that, by the way?
No.
Another
And I've
linked
asked.
element and another
No,
one.
no one
That's
either.
that's starting to worry me.
Either no one's saying
Building up
anything
the
or no one's like.
difficulty.
I'm sure they know, but
There's
at this
the
point,
in-bar
they have to.
shoulder.
They have to know at this point.
And a big high release and
I'm
catch
hesitant
with
to ask
Jaeger.
the horse, or as close as the horse as we
Hands
can
to
get,
be
what I
able
can
to
get,
do the full
because I just don't want
giant,
to
ensure she's got that
pry. You know what I
requirement.
mean?
And there's the double front.
I think I'll start worrying if she doesn't show up
Not
to
as, obviously as
November
much
camp.
difficulty
Yeah.
as what we've seen
Yeah.
from Mustafina, but a solid performance.
But on the
Yeah,
other
it's a
hand, at least
well-constructed
she's
routine
qualified for
again, not
nationals
too
next
many
year.
empty elements.
She can take some
A
time.
little bit off the handstand position.
I wonder how Jordan's feeling
all
right
these
now.
pirouettes and that
Like
shoot
Weaver.
down are meant to finish in handstand. You can see she's just a little bit past, but no,
Uh,
not so far past.
I mean,
that she
whatever it
can't
is, it's
work
almost
into the
certainly
next
not bad
element.
enough that it's going to threaten her entire career.
No,
And
it's not. No.
Good.
Well, you
High
know.
front somersault. That's the Jaeger somersault. Just a little bit bent.
And we're
legs when
now
she
at a
straddles
point
them,
where
which she does
people
into
are recovering
handstand,
from injury and
but a very
continuing to
nice
have
routine.
careers. Like,
Yeah.
I
Quite
mean,
a nice punchy
one of the things we
routine,
didn't
that, I
talk about is
thought.
Jessica
And, a
Gadarova
nice
is
way just to
young.
finish off
I
this,
expect to see her in LA.
section of
Oh yeah, yeah. Jessica
gymnasts.
Gadarova.
She's
Hell,
looking
I
good
expect to
now.
see
And
both
over the years,
Gadarovas
Germany's
in
produced
LA.
some pretty
Both of
decent
them.
bar workers as well.
Oh yeah, quite well-renowned bar workers. It's one of their big pieces.
Both, yeah. And both D'Amatos, for sure.
It's interesting because different nations
I'm
have
not
different
sure of the
operators that they
Dupatics.
excel on, and certainly Germany
you
have
know, those-
always been strong on the uneven
There's
bars.
something to be said about the Italians' resiliency.
Yeah, but I mean, Asia has had 2 major injuries in a year.
Which obviously was in a class of its own, but
Yeah.
good routine nevertheless.
And not everybody is
Waiting
Miss
for the
Ferrari.
score, the other 4 gymnasts.
Remember
will be
Elisabetta
warming up
Prestosa?
on
Oh
the
my
bars.
God, I love her. I loved her.
In that group you can see.
I loved her.
There's Great Britain's Ellie Downey.
Like to a fault. I love Elisabetta Prestosa so much. So much.
This competition will be a big test for Ellie, actually, won't it? Having competed last weekend,
Oh,
she's
my
been out for a while through injury. There's a score, Leah Grisia.
What happened to Leah Grisia?
12.566.
I don't know. I don't recall seeing her at German nationals lately. Let me look
And so at
'Cause she's a
the
great
halfway
gymnast.
stage on the uneven bars, Alia
Maybe she's
Mustafina
retired.
is in the lead from
She might have retired. She might be at university.
Third.
Yeah.
Nagy
And she was kind of B team for them for a while too.
With that very unfortunate bar
Which is
routine
wild because, like,
in the fifth
if you think
spot.
about, historically the USS B team. Historically, some of them have risen up the ranks eventually, like Jordan Childs. For a while, there she was on every single like non-roster, but never made the team.
Canada will be Victoria Wu.
And then she had the glow up.
Ellie Downey for Great Britain. Ty Fidelis
I guess this is the
of
difference.
Brazil, and last up will be
'Cause I feel
So
like
she hasn't competed recently enough to be in Lauren's list of active athletes. And I'm gonna look through some. No, I'm gonna look at
So this is
the
still
DTL
warm-up.
results.
The gymnasts are allowed 50 seconds each.
Oh shit! I just stopped sharing. My bad. I clicked the wrong button on Restream. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, everybody.
To spray or put chalk on, make it a little bit different.
Let me actually do this.
There you can see the current leader, Alia Mustafina. Must be very pleased with the way the competition's gone so far, but big apparatus ahead. She'll be obviously having
I always wondered
fought
why
last weekend and fallen
Mustafa
off
looked
the beam,
so
and
worried all the time.
she'll want
It's like,
to
girl, you
really
did
make
fantastic.
amends for that.
I think when you've been out of competition, beam is probably the hardest piece mentally to get back. Wouldn't you say that, Beth?
Yeah, you need competition experience, and you can only get that by being in competition. You can do all of the control comps that you want in the gym, but that replication of those nerves of putting your arm up in front of that judge, having the whole arena just staring at you, you can't replicate that until you're in competition.
So you have to be prepared to have a few unsuccessful events to get back on the mark, really, don't you?
Yeah, so it was great, obviously, to see her back competing, though, because she had a tough year last year, and it's always hard to sit and watch all of your teammates competing, and all you can do is your rehab. And so it's great to see her back out there competing this weekend and last weekend.
And she's done well actually on beam. If you look in the past,
I love athletes who are like a gymnast, who are like, they're supportive of other, and I think social media has a lot to do with that, because we see the support that there is for other gymnasts internationally by the rest of their peers. I love that.
Yeah, I think Twitter has changed a whole lot of that, and Instagram.
Especially, Instagram especially. I think as far as like sharing content by gymnasts. And you know what? Shout out to all the men who are exploding on YouTube. Honestly,
Well, I know you're a bit impatient, so probably
like Ashton Coulter, Ian
They
Gunter.
haven't made it until somebody creepily says that they look like they smell good on my YouTube comments.
That sent me so far. It was so funny.
Victoria Wu.
My tweet in response to that. I was gonna actually tag Ryan Reynolds, but I don't know if
Canada's another country.
So it looks like the last time Grieser competed was 2019.
Oh, so this.
Had a very successful
2018. So European
Victoria Wu, age
Championships,
21,
the German
back in the
Championships,
national
and then
team,
she's gone.
And they're from the clear circle,
Huh.
Shaposhnikova, and
Maybe she's
full
with the college.
pirouette from the uprise.
Yeah.
Couple of easier elements there into the shoot down and shoot up. So she's changed bars, she's made those requirements. Half turn there. Oh, and she pulled that Jaeger somersault in too close. She was really swinging fast. Had to do a bit of an easy swing half turn to get into the position for a double straight dismount.
Like
Lovely
she's
dismount.
having a nightmare of a bar routine.
Not a great construction of routine there at all. Quite some very exciting work, but some quite strange connections as well, Beth.
Yeah, and it will be heavily deducted. You see here the Jaeger, she caught her feet before she caught with her hands. So
She did, like,
the tap on the bar, but also the leg split.
It's always amazing to me how someone can still catch the bar after hitting it with their feet.
At the beginning.
Yeah,
but
it's.
you can see there, she was well above the bar. She had plenty of height, but had closed.
And the fact that hitting your feet on the bar is not a fun feeling.
To finish the routine off.
I mean, Simone has famously said
Sometimes
in
you
her
have fighting routines, and that was
masterclass
definitely one of her
that
fighting
after she hit the
routines.
bar,
I
she
was
couldn't
just
walk
very
for a week.
surprised after the uprising.
I'm sure she was being
shortly fall.
overdramatic there.
I expected
Still.
then a big release straight after it,
It's
and
not
we
a fun
had a couple
feeling.
of just toe off to handstand shoot down. It just, yeah.
I thought the toe on and off might have gone into a Kachev or something, because it certainly had the height off the bar. And I think when she did the stoop half into the forward grip before the Jaeger somersault, it was a little bit late. And then obviously her action's a little bit late, and that's why she hit the feet.
Yeah.
And the score, 12.033. Victoria Wu of Canada puts her into third position.
How is YouTube doing? Let me see. I remember the Youth Olympic Games where Ellie was like 2 feet higher than everybody else, or 2 inches taller than everybody else.
There's some, I'll have to look up who it is, but the funniest Youth Olympic Games thing for height is 2014, I think. And I'll have to look up her name, but there was some poor German who is like a million feet tall
Changed the routine
compared to everybody else.
That's funny.
Unfortunately, she's just gone for the toe on and off with the full turn and come off too early for the turn, so unable to.
Those
complete
Downey
the
girls,
full
man, I
turn.
tell you,
can
so
see
talented,
here
but just
her feet
like
were just that side of the bar.
chaotic on bars.
She will
And
get
all,
to
I think
probably
not all the.
repeat the
Nah,
element.
I don't want to say
There
they're all
we
the
are,
wrong ways,
toe on and off with a full turn.
but they take a lot of risks, and like taking
Has
those
to
kind of
do
risks
the
on bars
extra
is just
upstart.
you're
There's
gambling.
the big shap into the short clear Kachev. A big combination, and here's the new element for this season. The Jaeger somersault.
She was nowhere near.
Fortunately, just didn't quite hold on long enough. I'm sure we'll see in the replay here. You can see the shoulders just drop before she goes into it.
Yeah, YouTube.
Yeah, so the person I'm thinking from the Youth Olympic Games actually went into NCAA, and her NCAA profile says she was 5'8"
Have to make the
in
decision as to
NCAA.
whether she
Oh wow.
gets the value of the
YouTube,
element
if you're
and
watching
also
YouTube, I'm
the
so
forward
sorry
grip.
that that's the quality. Like I
Gymnasts, as long as they stay on the floor, their
go to
timer
Twitch.
doesn't count.
Don't see it on
So Ellie
YouTube. I don't know about the other
knows
platforms, but yeah,
the
that's
code
not great quality. I'm so sorry.
And remounts. Here's the big Kachev straight into the pack.
Just like, and after bars, I believe is when they turn the lights up a little.
Fight to get that shap half in.
But you can
And
still
winds
see
up for
their
the
like
dismount.
shadows on the floor when
Big
they
double
go to
straight.
floor.
I would just if it were me, this is an FIG meet, right?
Yeah.
A group 2.
Those were very costly mistakes
This
for Ellie,
was,
because as we were speaking
Had to have
about
been.
I believe,
earlier,
it's group
there's
2 at the time.
4 requirements. You
Yeah,
have
no,
to have
I
full
would have
pirouette.
just nullified the
So having
results.
fallen on the full pirouette, she had to go back and do it again, and you have to have a forward
Because
element.
this is a safety hazard.
That she'll have lost the forward element
When,
requirement.
so
Each
the
imposes
reason
group
why
of
this
5,
meet came
but
up
that is
was
lovely. The
because
Pikes,
somebody asked for the
Kachev,
like weirdest
immediate
competitions
hack salto
of all
down to the low
time,
bar. The
Yeah, this is
second
and this
definitely
half
was
of
like
routine
on
was
everyone's
great.
list after
The
Sydney.
shap half.
Because it's just
And,
Sydney,
lots
Montreal,
of energy
this,
into this dismount. You can
Yeah,
really
Montreal
see
was
the whip
fucked.
of the bar lifting
and the
her up.
Aurora
It was
Games.
very impressive, that last
I
section.
don't even know what that is.
Just needs to be able
They don't
to
exist
That's
to me.
nail
No,
the
I
weird.
know what they are. I know what they are. Just like I just don't. They don't
I
exist to me.
guess this is the
I
question I
don't
posed
like to think
earlier.
they
Careful,
exist.
I will
When you
edit
get
that
back into competition,
sucker
whether
down
big
and make
competitions,
you watch it. I mean,
championships
it's
or
like
national
4 hours long,
championships,
but I
big
I've
could.
watched it.
I,
I watched
You
it.
really want to win that, and then a week later come out into
Like,
a
I
big
wasn't-
competition like this, and unfortunately,
I just don't understand,
it's
like,
just another learning
who-
curve when she realised she needs to get back in the gym, get the volume of routines
As soon as
under,
you saw
under a belt,
the ice
and then come back
being an
and to be
issue,
able to hit and
call
nail
it a
those
day.
routines.
Yeah, I mean, this
well,
routine
the
is brand
funniest
new.
thing
It's
to
brand new
me
this season, so
about that
it
meet
just needs
was
numbers in
the
general. And the good
aesthetic
thing is she's
gymnastics
still got
team, which
another
is like
few weeks
the
before
most
the European
obscure gymnastics
Championships,
discipline that
and
isn't even a
all the
big
famous
discipline.
now will be
Yeah.
on.
And
You can
I
see there
kind
how
of wonder
just
if they
the heel
thought they
release
were
wasn't
getting
there before
rhythmic
she let
group
go, so she didn't come in close
and
enough
like
to be able
contacted the
to
wrong people.
regress that bar. But it is a learning curve when you've got new skills in. How do you
Look,
cope
I love Jessica
under
O'Byrne.
pressure
She knows
when
this. She's very supportive
just so you can
of
see
me and my
that
endeavors, and
Josephine's gone
she's
through.
very nice.
She's her
Well,
biggest
I don't think
rival today.
Jessica booked the
I've
people.
been
She
watching
didn't,
on
but just
bars
like, girl,
since I've been here, and I've not seen her catch that Jaeger somersault. So that's probably
But
something
like
to do with
they
it. But she
got
scores
so
10.5
the aesthetic
on the uneven
gymnastics
bars. It
people
could have been a
were
worse
like
score.
a
And there's
kind
still
of
two
like
operators to
rhythmic
go.
Well, it
groupish,
will certainly
but
focus
without
her mind on what she
apparatus
needs to
things.
really
But
push and work on.
the American team they had
It's got the
was
potential
a
to be a
team that
fantastic routine.
was the American team because they were the
It
only ones
certainly
in the
has.
country and they asked to be.
Next up, representing
Okay.
Brazil,
And
will be
they
Ty
got a like
Vidalis.
random Ukrainian team, but that weird discipline is really Scandinavian. So like if you wanted a good team, you needed one from Scandinavia.
Very popular start, this, the
It
transfer
was very weird.
from the low to the high bar and then back down again. That's
So-
one
And the
requirement made
the
already.
parkour people were all
Then
wearing
with the half
sweatshirts
turn, so she's
because it
swinging
was so
now
cold in
on
the
the
arena.
high bar.
So aesthetic gymnastics
Good
is
pirouette.
like
There was
rhythmic
the
without
excellent
equipment.
Jaeger somersault.
Proper
the
Yeah,
attitude.
somersault,
basically.
and the
I mean,
catch, you can see how
It's just
early
dance.
she managed to see the bar.
yeah,
on
it's
that.
group dance.
Swing and turn to get around the right way for the dismount.
Okay.
The full pirouette.
I'm just like, okay.
Free
Aesthetic
swing,
group
two giants
this is
between
Wikipedia.
into a
Okay.
Aesthetic
relatively
group
simple double
gymnastics is a
tap. That looks
discipline of
like a
gymnastics
routine
developed
still in
from
the
finished
building
women's
stages.
gymnastics.
Two giants
It's
before the
reminiscent
dismount.
of
That's what
rhythmic
we call
gymnastics, but
empty
there are
elements.
some
They
significant
won't be, they're not
differences.
difficult enough to add
Um,
towards the difficulty.
It
But we'll get
emphasizes
deductions if you have
big,
tiny bent
continuous
legs.
body movements, and the teams
Yeah,
are
so you
larger.
can see a great start to the routine. Two transition elements linked together, building up the difficulty.
Wait, what?
And there are no apparatuses
But
used.
like Christine said, I think it is a work in progress with the dismount.
Scott just tweeted something.
Here we can see.
I'm blocked by whoever
they're.
they're
High pike Jaeger,
whoever
catches
started
it
this.
off
I'll look
thing.
it up.
That's what the
It
judges
says
are
the
looking
qualification
for each
in artistic
slight
gymnastics,
elbow bend.
the best
They
positioned
will
athletes
be
in the individual all-around
taking those
final
deductions, so both of those
who have not yet
releases
qualified to the
elements
Paris
were
2024 Olympic
very well
Games with other
executed.
criteria will obtain direct qualification.
The gymnasts
I wonder what that's
have
for.
to include their dismount in their top 8 elements, but it doesn't have to be a D element, and that's a big change from the code of points.
Yeah, he's just answering somebody
new
else.
cycle.
Okay.
So whether
What'd that
she's
person ask?
working on a new dismount.
They're asking about the Pan
I
Am's
think so. The score
qualifications.
comes in
Oh.
12.233 for Ty Vidalis of Brazil. Puts you into third place.
I need to change my avatar on Twitch because it's just like me. I made that because I was being spiteful. I'm not spiteful, just like poking fun, and put it on a shirt. But I haven't changed it. It's old.
Josephina leads. They do it. Of France in second and Vidalis of Brazil in third.
And Riley McCusker.
Yeah, so the question he's answering was somebody asked whether the Pan Am's all-around spot went to the highest placed eligible gymnast in qualifications or in the all-around final, and it's in qualifications.
Okay.
So there's the Stolder with a full turn, linking it straight into the connection to the top bar.
Riley had such
Big
good bars.
release and catch with the Katchev.
Man.
Nice lines in the handstand.
You know
There's
what?
another
Not for
big
nothing, but I feel
Katchev.
like she should have gotten
Release
the
element
individual
into the
specialist
low
spot.
bar.
I mean,
Linking all
she
of these
fell, so I mean, they
elements.
really
There's
couldn't.
the Shap with a half
Yeah.
turn. Very good leg form on that. Builds up, ready.
And, you know, it all worked out. You know,
And
had-
I mean, I don't think she had
Very
the D
original
in
dismount.
2021 to make a bars final anyway.
Well, I mean,
Especially with
after everything that
Suni Lee there.
happened, though, after everything that happened, how everything went down, she could have medaled with the routine she did at trials.
Stylish gymnast. Look at
Yeah.
the pointed toes,
I mean,
the straight knees.
I mean, it's
She's one
kind
of
of hard.
these gymnasts that
Yeah.
really keeps tension through the legs, whatever she's doing. Very, very good.
I just hope she
handstand
has a
line. When we
great
talk
senior
about
year
our
at Florida. That's all I want
handstand
for
line,
her.
we want to see a straight line from the fingers to the toes, no arching in the back, and locks the legs
yeah,
together
just-
for
just
the
knowing,
pirouette.
like,
I mean,
how-
I
That's a big
really
skill as
feel
well there
guilty in
from the
some
top
ways
bar, swinging
for
back and then
like
into the
introducing
Katchev.
the internet
And that
to
was another
how
big
bad
one,
that
wasn't it? The
legal
Stolder
case
into the
was.
Katchev.
Yeah.
but it was
That was
never
a super high
anything
release
where
impact,
I
wasn't it?
wanted
So
to
that
make
she could
her
then move
uncomfortable.
straight
No.
away
It's
You know,
just,
into the pack
you were just,
salto.
you know,
Unusual dismount,
providing analysis.
the front away with the half turn.
Because, I mean,
auto
that entire
back out.
trial, the whole situation is
And
fucked.
also from the inverted grip, it doesn't
yeah,
give it
I
any
mean,
more value, but it certainly looks very
Every adult in her
original.
life felt
I
her.
really like that routine.
yeah.
And she's happy as well. She's obviously
And
heard what I said. Well
it
done,
was still
Riley.
very weird
Very
to
good to
see
pick herself up.
my
She had a
own
long,
Reddit
long
post
wait after vault. She was
introduced
the
into
first
the
vaulter
court
and
evidence.
made a mistake. So
Was it really?
very pleased
Yeah.
to deal with the pressure of having
Your
to
impact.
pull herself together for the bars.
Well,
But we've
so
seen her
it
do
was
this bar routine
it was
through in training
introduced
several times.
to
She's got the numbers under her belt for
show
sure.
She
so that
has. It looked very, very comfortable during podium
when
training
Riley's
yesterday.
lawyers
That's
introduced
shown
the
with the
the
performance
request
today.
to
And the
seal
score comes in.
some of the exhibits,
14.4 puts her into second
the
position.
Reddit mod and I had gone through and systematically deleted everything that we could find that referenced those exhibits.
Yeah.
And that concludes this
And
rotation. So come on, Birmingham, let's get
the
live, ladies and
post
gentlemen.
was
There's the current leader,
introduced in
Mustafina,
evidence in that case to show
48.72.
that while it had been on the gone, so they introduced it to show our actions of deleting.
So there's confirmation. Alia Mustafina is in the lead.
Your impact.
Over a mark
Slay.
ahead of Riley McCusker.
But also,
Third
like,
place to Caroline
Maggie's
Peduit.
lawyers,
Tyus Fidelis from Brazil in fourth, with Victoria Wu in fifth, Ria
One more time.
Reza fifth, and then the three
Maggie's
gymnasts who
lawyers
made
quoting
mistakes,
me
Ellie Downey
in her
in
defense.
seventh, Nagi Kajita eighth,
One more time.
and Liu Zheyu in ninth
Oh,
position.
Maggie's lawyers did quote me saying that Riley's case wasn't good, and I kind of hate that because I wasn't talking about it in a way that I wanted to defend Maggie Haney.
Yeah. But I mean,
just
it's an
Riley's case
objective
wasn't good.
fact. Yeah, it was, and the lawyer, he was not a good lawyer for that case.
Move to the dreaded piece of apparatus
Yeah.
in my mind. That's
So,
the beam.
and I kind of feel the same way about Giga, and that, yeah, Anna and I talked about Giga, but
of China second, Mustafina
I don't think
up in
we
third,
pushed
Grisha
that
of
over
Germany
the edge.
in
We
fourth,
just
Wu from
expressed
Canada in fifth,
skepticism
Ellie
that
Downey
people should have
up in
expressed.
sixth place,
And it's
Fidalis
more
of
so just
Brazil
wanting more
in
for them.
seventh, Makusta of USA going in eighth, and last up on
Because the
beam
concept, you know,
is
who doesn't want to pro
Kajita
gymnastics league?
of
We all
Japan.
want it. But it has to be done right. And they didn't do it
Well,
right.
so
And the beam just has
So,
such small margins for
when
error.
when
You don't have to
when
be
Anna and
very
I went
offline
looking
at all
for
to fall.
the things that the people who are
Of course,
running
the
that
judging system means that
corporation
you have to take quite a lot
have
of risk.
done in the past, one of them says that they started up a tennis
The
league
elements that
and
you
a
have to
cycling
include
circuit,
here is you have to
but they
have
don't name them.
two acrobatic elements
So we went and
involved.
tried to
You
find
have to have
what
a backflip and a layout somersault
what
or a full
tennis
cartwheel
league
and a
and what
backflip.
cycling
You have to
circuit
take the
existed
risk
in the
of
time frame
linking two
that she
elements, two
mentions,
acrobatic elements.
and
You
there's
also have
really
to
only
move
one
forwards and
candidate
either
for each
forwards
of
and
those,
sideways. You can't just do
and
everything
both of
forwards
them
or
failed
everything
for lack of
backwards.
sponsorship.
Yeah. And you know what it is? I think it's because they try so hard to be like, or at least that person tries to go into this being like a separate entity as opposed to having backing from the national governing body.
Which, like, I understand not wanting to, like, USAG has never covered
Yeah,
itself
and
in
the more
glory,
months they will have
but
kind of decided
the
with
problem
the coaches,
is
what
that
do I need to do in that 30
there's never a
seconds.
case where the
For some of them,
national
they've been
governing
sat
body
around for
is
quite a long time. Obviously, if
a
they were first
well-loved
up or second
institution
up on bars,
Yeah.
it
in
was a
any
good
sport,
half
anywhere,
hour,
ever.
40 minutes ago. So
But
they may feel that
they know
need
how to
to do a
run
little bit
meets.
more
They
to
know how to get
themselves warmed
insurance.
up,
They know
especially
how to
because the
contact
rest of the
equipment
arena is obviously
manufacturers.
pitch black.
There's a whole
Once
bunch
they're
of
up on that
things that
podium,
national
they need to
governing
make
bodies
use of
just know how
the
to do.
lighting.
Yes, it's not
Yeah.
And
like in some
um,
competitions where you can go out the back to
and
the
the
warm-up
sponsors
hall
know that.
and keep yourself ticking over.
And that's why they
There's no
sponsor it.
possibility
That's
of
what
that
they
here.
put their name on things. That's why, you know.
Absolutely, we need to keep
But there's
on.
also
It's
a
really
reading the room
interesting.
thing.
I've seen what I can
Like,
only describe as Mustafina
if it was
wearing a sleeping bag
2018 saying
around
we're
the
not
arena. It's
associated with
like pretty much head to
USAG,
toe a sleeping
was
bag, and
would have been a
obviously
good
coach brings
thing.
around and keep her warm.
But
I mean, that's really important. Like, we have a
Lily
bit of a laugh, but
is
you've really got to keep your body
a
warm.
marketing
Yeah, it's
person,
actually
and she's been
down on
working really
the
hard
arena
for
floor.
years.
It is a bit
Yeah.
chilly down
And
there, so the
USAG is
gymnasts
no
will be
longer
keeping
nuclear with
warm in
sponsors.
between
No, and I
each
mean, you have to.
apparatus, and obviously she's third up,
I've
so
been hard on Lily
she doesn't want to do
because
too much to tire
of
herself
certain
out
things she's
before
done
she has to get up
that
and
have come out, like the doctor
perform.
that they hired for a while, like that whole debacle, how she handled that was poorly, and the fact she comes kind of from the same pedigree that Steve, what's his face, came from. Like he's an industry kind
Yeah,
of
but I mean,
person.
she has more gymnastics background than Steve Penny.
Yeah, of course, yeah, she does. But and the things she's done with the NFL, great things in the NFL. But just like some of the things she's done, it
And
may
we
have
are
been
gonna see
just her
the
being at the
young
job just weren't great.
French girl first.
And right now as it stands, I feel
her
like
coach
she
is
is
with
much
her there
more
on the
focused
floor,
on
used to
being
coach
FIG chair than she is
Dufresne, who was
USAG
one of
So
president.
I
a
don't think
very
she's trying to be FIG
successful French
president. I
gymnast
think
No, not
that
president, but like a
a
chair.
few years ago. So
now,
it's great to see
so
he's got a
that's
youngster
a
coming
position
through
the
to the
USAG
senior
person has
ranks.
always held,
Okay.
the one she has
Well,
at
she was
FIG,
fantastic on
and
the
it's really
uneven bars,
something that
and as I was trying to say earlier,
a head of a
in the
federation the
Europeans
size
this year,
of
Christine, we sat and
USAG is
watched the
expected to
French team in the
hold.
Europeans, and we
It's
thought that
really
the
part of
standard
her
was good
job.
enough for the seniors.
It would
Well,
be
she this
weird
year will be
if
16. You have to
She
be
did it.
16 in the
if she
year of the
didn't.
competition to be a
Like
senior.
there's
So
a
this year
Russian
will be
in the
her
same
16th
position,
year, and
Representing France,
and I believe that there's
very
a
exciting
British,
debut for
the
her
head
here.
of British gymnastics
So
is
off we go.
sort
First
of in the
up
same
on
position
the
at
beam for
FIG.
France
So I
is
wouldn't read too
Caroline
much into that. If she
Hedu.
was trying to run for like
And she
FIG
starts with
president,
a
I would,
difficult
or vice
backflip
president, I would
onto the
worry,
beam.
but
Okay.
not where she
8
is now.
elements have to be
Maybe I'm just being
added
too hard
up
on
to
her,
give you
or
your
maybe.
difficulty score.
And
So
am
I
She'll be
think that
using
she made
that.
mistakes,
And there's
but
her
Yeah.
acrobatic series,
Who
I
wouldn't
the
mean,
free
though?
cartwheel and the layout somersault.
and she was trying to put
So
out
she's
a
done
major
3
fire.
difficult
One thing though,
But
acrobatic
like,
elements
I will never forgive
and
them for, and
2
this is I
very
think just
nice
FIG across
jumps.
the board.
Oh,
So they
there's extra marks.
I was
for a
approached to
series
apply
of
for a
3
job at
so
moves,
FIG.
and she
there
went for
she
the
goes.
2
Like,
jumps and then a
look at
back
the shadows.
somersault.
They've turned up the lights
Just a
and they
little
still have
misadjustment.
like,
Hold on, let me go
look
back
at
on
the
that. Actually.
shadows.
Let me go back on that.
Onto the beam. 8 elements have to be added
Sorry,
up to
I'm
give
just
you your
like,
difficulty
No, you're fine. You're fine.
score.
I was just.
So she'll be
I don't know if I
using
should
that.
reveal that or not,
And
but I
there's
mean
her
it's part of the.
acrobatic series, the free
I was explaining
cartwheel and
why
the
I
layout
have vices or whatever.
somersault.
That
So she's done 3 difficult
see.
acrobatic elements and
and I
2
think
very
that
nice jumps.
Oh
there are
yeah.
lots of good signs coming out of USAG
There's extra
that I don't
marks
think a
for
lot
a
of people
series
pay
of
attention
3
to because
moves,
they're
and she
not
went for the 2
flashy.
jumps and then a
But
back
for instance,
somersault.
they're apparently doing
Just a
some
little
major
misedging.
reforming of judging, not just in elite, but all the
This
way
spin
through
very
all of their
popular
levels.
and difficult. You have to keep your body still.
And NCAA
Your
definitely
centre of
needs that.
gravity over that 1
Well,
foot.
they're not
She made
they're
the
not
double spin, but she
judging
had
NCAA.
quite a big wobble on the
Oh.
That
way.
needs, like, NCAA needs to reform itself, unfortunately.
They need Dakota
Easier on
points. Is what it
beam if you
needs.
can get a bit of a rhythm, and you can see
So
she's
what they're
very
using a
apprehensive.
modified version
A
of
move, a
USAG's
stop,
code of
a move,
points,
a
but
stop.
the problem is still
Quite
that the head
understandable
coaches
because
are
this
in
is a
control.
very intimidating arena.
And too many
And I
people.
don't
Nicely
think that's going to
performed.
change
The free
until there's some
walkover
kind
and
of
then the split
cheating scandal.
into the back flip again, going for some extra points for joining those 3 elements.
Look, you can barely see Caroline.
She's a
And like
powerful
you
gymnast.
can see like the shadow
We
from the
saw a
beam
big
like
display
right underneath you.
yesterday.
That's
Are we
gonna fuck
going
you up
to
every
today?
time.
Here, the round off, the back flip, the double pike, very well performed that dismount.
You know who would have done really well here?
Potential
Rebecca.
team, but she was definitely very
Yes.
edgy at the start.
Cancel the beam anyway. Fuck it. Doesn't
It
matter.
is difficult. You're first up on the piece of
That's
apparatus.
so wild.
Yeah, so they must not have
Here
turned up the
using
lights yet.
round off with the flick. But she
Wait,
lost
so
a
what I was saying earlier is
bit at the beginning.
one
There's a
major
nice
problem I had with
acro
FIG,
series, the free
it is
cartwheel
a me
into
personal
the
problem,
layout.
was I got approached to apply for a
Here's
position,
the top
which was
part
the,
where
the
she
content
was
creator
just
position,
offline.
but
And
the job
unfortunately, the
posting would
feed is
close
not very
literally
forgiving
like
if
2
you
days
are
before
offline.
Worlds.
Here's the double
And I'm like,
spin.
the problem I had,
Just
I
let
presented
her
them was like, you were
shoulder
literally asking someone to
go
apply
forward.
and then like expect them to
Very
go
well
straight
to
to Worlds
save
and
that,
start creating
but
content.
This is a huge dismount for such
Like
a
that's
young
not how that
gymnast.
works
Round off
because you have to have like a whole like
into the double
at least
pike.
in
So
positions that
definitely
are
a routine for the
remotely
future.
similar.
she's got
I
all
have to
the
present like
content in there
proposals
and
and like
just
these are the
needs a bit of
graphics that
time
I'm
to
using.
consolidate it.
This is gonna
Well,
how it's gonna
another
look.
gymnast that
And
was
you need to do
called
all that
the
before you can
11th
send someone
hour to
to
replace
Worlds
Dos
and just
Santos.
let them do whatever.
into the
I
French
mean,
team. And
FIG
you
is
can really
clearly
see
just
the
like
potential
living
there, actually,
in
because the bars was
the 19th
phenomenal. She's
century.
got loads of stuff on the beam as well. It's really, she's a dynamic gymnast, probably a bit more confidence.
And like
Kristen,
I
we
was
talked about,
appreciative
it
of
was a
the
little bit
approach, but like
stop-start.
that
Well,
just seemed like
that would
no.
come from experience
And
and
after talking
practice and
about it with my
performing.
parents, you have to
It
move
would.
to Switzerland,
If
by the
you
way.
can manage
And I'm like,
to keep that
it's just
rhythm,
there was no
you
time.
stop and then start again, the more
I'm not.
you
My French
lose
is not
the
that great at
impetus
all.
of the
So
routine. On the floor, you've got the music to keep you going, but on beam, it's
Doing another
quite difficult.
Switzerland
You
bit.
have to make your own rhythm, and when you're nervous, it's very easy to lose that rhythm.
I was going to say, in a bit like riding a bike, you know, you need to keep the momentum, and there's the score.
yeah, I agree. There's a lot of good things
11.666
happening.
for Headway
The bones
on
are starting to
France, so
become
that
polished
fall
and
in a
good again.
12.666.
But
Would,
it's still
and it was always going to
Beam
take
is
about this
a
much
hard
time.
piece
Yeah.
to
Like,
pick up the scores
they
on
were
as
never
well.
going to be able to fix everything immediately.
well, it's like with every presidency, like even just like you know, the new president has to deal with everything the former president did, and it takes about 4 years to get that done. And so that's why they give them 2 terms.
how
And then like
she
the
can
first 4 years are you fixing
regain a
everything the
focus
previous
after
president
her
might have fucked
bars
up,
routine.
and then the
So
next 4
the-
years.
Will mount.
The way I always wanted to explain it to people is USAG was basically still actively setting itself on fire through 2018.
Yeah.
And so
Change leg ring has to
the
release
people
that head.
who went in
Look
like
for the foot behind
2019 when they were bankrupt and had no credibility, those were people who were there to try and put out fires.
Carrie Perry.
Well, no, Carrie Perry was still there in 2018, so that's why I'm counting it as they were still setting themselves on fire.
There's the free walk over into
So
the
even
jumps.
Tom Forrester, as much as I don't like him, he was trying to put out a fire.
And I mean, he was like the
Nice little
coach's
spin.
pick, so.
Just has to take a couple of steps forward to
I think they
regain the
needed to
balance.
pick. I think they needed to try a coach's pick,
Yeah.
just to prove that they
A lot of
needed
gymnasts have started
more
to
change
introduce
than
the
that.
split jump with a half turn, but
No, I don't
sideways
know
across
if
the beam, it's a lot more
choosing
difficult to
Chelsea
jump
and Alicia were
that
was
way.
the best choice, but I'm hoping that
Change leg into the W
We will
jump
see.
to make sure
I
she
was
gets her
rewatching the
two
episode we did
loops linked
about
together.
about Paris, and I kind of really agree with what I said. You know, Chelsea needs to put a foot down.
And then finishes her routine,
And
uses
she
a
said, like, if
round
you're not going to comply, then I'm not putting you on the
Into the
team
double
because you're not going
twist.
to score well. Period.
Well, she'll have been very happy to put the bars behind
Well,
her
in
and
some
stay
ways,
on
I
the
think that's
beam,
happening
but it was
because
a
the
little
worst
bit
offenders
tentative,
didn't end up on the
understandably
team.
so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
you're right.
sure the judges will find some deductions.
And I mean,
there. This is a
Chelsea's still
people
human,
mount.
and she's
It's very
nice, and she's always going to be
popular,
nice. But like,
but very impressive.
I hope she does start like just being like cutthroat, not like abusive, but just like being like, you know, there are rules, and this is what we're going to do it. And if you can't comply, then I'm
This
sorry, I can't
takes
choose
the
you.
head back well.
Well,
The foot
I
wasn't
think
quite
that
to the height of the head.
you could
but
see
it
that in
was-
that
and she wasn't
interview
quite
with
at splits, but it was a very good try.
at Classic where they were talking about
This is quite
Suni's
unusual,
qualifications
backflip
to
into
nationals,
tuck back.
where she
And
was
it
just
was
not
quite
willing
low. She didn't
to
really
say that
lift
they
the
were going to
arms up,
bend the
and it was
rules.
secure.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's good.
she might not have not wanted the rules to be that
And
strict, but
again,
she
the
was
free
going to
walk
enforce
over,
them.
You have to immediately
And that's the whole thing. Like,
join
look, I don't make the rules, but I
element
have to enforce
to the
them
next move to
because
get
it's a
given
fair
the
process,
bonus.
or as fair
She
as
did
can
very
be, at
well with
least.
the double spin.
Yeah,
And punches nice and high, very clean double twist dismount. Not as difficult as many, but clean.
It's a difficult thing.
And one of the pieces of
The
apparatus
difficult
if you
sport.
were to-
really does show the
if you
nerves,
were
can
to
tell
bet,
there. It did look a little bit edgy
put
for
money
me,
on it.
and certainly
When
some
do of you
the leaps,
think
the flexibility
we
looked
will
a bit
see
short, didn't
Gabby
really show
Douglas?
the split. But obviously, if you've had a bit of a disaster on
Winter
the previous
Cup?
piece of apparatus, you've got to really try and wipe that from your memory and start
I want to
afresh and
say,
really
look, if
attack a piece of
I'm not a
apparatus,
betting
but
person because
beam
every
is
time
such a
I've
difficult
gambled,
piece
it
of
doesn't
apparatus
end
to
well.
attack.
But
Great
if I'm
finish
just going
there,
based off
double twist,
intuition,
plenty of
I think
time.
we're going to see her in November camp.
She'll be
And
a
she
lot
has to kind
happier
of to
than
be
she
to
was
get a
after-
score. She's going to
after
be like
bars.
go to Winter Cup.
But I would be
Right?
surprised if that
Yeah.
score goes very
So-
high.
I mean, she could get it at January camp.
Judges are
But
taking their time
Oh, the January camp.
to
Well,
decide
then there's
what
that.
elements to credit.
I think
mean,
it'd be
judges
best for her to go to November
Decide on
camp.
the difficulty of
yeah,
the routine, and they could confer on what that
So,
difficulty is going to be.
Mustafana's last beam.
You've got a panel
It's just
of
whatever
execution judges,
Valerian's
which are
doing,
obviously
'cause- and
deducting from 10.
For some reason, Valerian's the
Well,
kind of
there's
person.
also the chance that she shows up at World Classic.
Two on the beam. Puts her
True.
up into second place.
True.
which would light the internet on fire since no one ever gets video of Roger Classic.
All eyes
You know what?
focus
Not for nothing, but shout out to
the
Valeria for at
leader.
least like investing in Weller
She
Springs.
steps up to the beam.
Because they have a
Yeah.
Weller Spring floor for
Mustafina.
the Lucan Invitational, or wait for the World Classic. Those are two different meets, aren't they?
I believe so.
The Valeria Lucan
Places
Invitational and the
herself,
World Classic, yeah,
Mustafina
they're two
is
different
a
things.
beautifully
But the Valeria Lucan
elegant
Invitational, they use a
gymnast.
Weller Spring floor.
Spent years at the ballet bar training all these elements. Good change leg, leap with a half turn, very nice, and good.
She wouldn't get
jump
credit for that now,
to touch
would
the
she?
head with the foot.
Nope.
Yeah, crazy.
First of her acrobatic elements, the side somersault.
Once again, after you see that
Strong
4-hour
on the
video,
landing, and now this,
you
the
start noticing
acrobatic
things like
series.
that would not get credit.
Flip, layout, somersault,
Especially,
nicely
like,
performed.
with connection.
There were
Beam
many
always
years when she struggled
had weird
with
connection
that, so it's
issues,
good to
though.
see her perform it.
Remember when she tried doing like forward, front walkover, front
Double
walkover to
spin.
like
It is
free
such
cartwheel?
a difficult skill to be
I'm like, for what?
consistent on. And
And
I've
so-
seen her perform
and
it
there's
so
Mustafina
many
off.
times.
Yeah.
But it's something you can't really
The traditional
see
Russian
if
beam
it's
fall.
offline.
Man, and I don't even know if that's just like they just
Nice split
they don't
leap
fight
into the
for
free
it. They,
cartwheel.
like, I don't know. It's a weird Russian thing. There you go, front walkover and front walkover.
Well elevated on the free walkover,
It's so crazy.
but she's hesitant and a little bit slow. At her best, Mustafina works with
Yeah,
great
I mean,
pace.
this would get murdered
She's made
for
two
artistry
jumps there. You have
deductions
to
too.
leap 2 jumps, and she hadn't managed that so far.
My
so she
favorite
put the
part was,
change
like,
leg into the double jump.
Donatella
That was good.
trying to choreo for everybody and her like
Now
not being on
she's got
screen.
10 seconds to get off
My
the beam now.
one of my favorite parts of that video
Compose
is
herself
when
before
she's
the big
trying to
dismount. The
explain
dismount has to be
sideways
linked.
beam
And
choreography.
Yeah,
here's
that's
the
it, that's it,
round
that's it.
off double back,
It's just like
beautifully done.
doing the choreo and
Beautifully done,
doing
but
counts, but she's
one
not on the
more
screen at all, so no one
fall
can see
in
her.
the middle.
There
She's
was,
like,
but the
you
rest
must
of the
travel
routine,
from A
the
to
class of
B
the
to
elements that
C.
she does show.
And I
so
think
most
you
of
actually
the
only see her
elements
do it
very
once on screen, and the rest
different,
she's just
and
like you
there's
just
the
hear her in the
change leg
background. It's like
with a
we
half
can't see you,
turn.
Donatella.
Fully into the
I'm sure they could
splits.
like on the
There's another
Zoom
But
thing.
on the other hand,
showing
like she really
the
explains it well
flexibility
for
of. You can see her toes
what they
are
mean by
gripping
that.
on to ensure she
Like
stays on
It's so
that
funny,
piece
just
of
like
apparatus. And the
they
macro
you
series,
to get the
the flip
sideways
into
beam
the layout,
choreography in the
just
artistry
to step
code, you
back
have to
to
go not
regain a
from
balance.
point A on the beam to point B on the
So you
beam.
see it from a different angle.
You have to travel through your
The
elements.
double spin
And actually, like,
looked
complex choreography
nice
means
right
complex
until that
choreography. It's
last
not
bit,
just
but
like from
Christine said
A to B
once
to
that skill's
C.
off, it's very difficult to rescue
And they
it.
show Alexa Moreno, and I'm like,
Built
no,
up to the double tuck.
Alexa.
Unfortunately, she did take longer than
No,
the
not you,
couple
Alexa.
seconds to get off, so she'll have not only that full mark deduction for the fall, but she'll have a time
You did
penalty
hear
as
it.
well.
And I guess that just what you picked up, Christine.
Oh, it's
that
so
was a little
funny.
bit short
She
on
goes from
pace
A
in the
to
routine,
B.
and obviously
Alexa
if you
goes,
fall off and then you take your time, then you're going to fall out at the time.
call her
and pick
out.
up another
I don't
penalty.
like
And
that
the
though.
score
That's one
comes
thing
in
I'm glad they're changing is using current
11.866
gymnasts, for
for
example.
Mustafina
I don't
on the
know that
beam.
they'll change that
Still
because
keeps her in
they've
first
been
place.
asking them not to use current gymnasts forever. But
I thought they. Where did I hear that?
A little
Someone said they were going to do that
disappointed with
anymore.
that.
Oh, I think Jessica said that.
I mean, yeah, but like I said, the athlete rep has been asking that for like 5 years.
Because it's just not nice.
Next up on
I
the
mean,
beam for
I can see
Germany,
how it would be
Leah
helpful, and I would
Leisure.
take it as helpful. I'm like, oh, okay, change that.
Yeah, but I mean, you also I
There's
think the judges are
straight
perfectly
into the
capable of
splits.
Spotting.
not
Very elegant
like
mount, although
not
very
judging
difficult to
a future
time
performance based on
perfectly.
a lesson plan.
Yeah.
But
Build straight up.
But
for
you
the
kind of
big
do have to
macro
like judge
series.
a future
Here it
performance
is,
based on the
flip
less plan.
into the layout.
It's like,
Unfortunately,
it's right
so
there.
let's see if she has the
just off,
German landing
so,
position.
has to take the
Well,
mark
she's
with
off the
Yeah.
beam,
fall.
so that is not the German landing
Gets
position.
straight back onto the beam though. There's the change
I'm not
leg
gonna touch
into
that.
the change leg half.
But let's see. Oh, by the way, I just so you guys know,
There's a
what was
split
that?
Into a free walkover. The judges will
I have
decide
big
whether
lips,
they felt that that
clearly,
connection was
And
fluid
around this time of the year,
connection.
my lips just are forever chapped. I've tried every
Cartwheel
single
has to regain her
lip balm,
balance.
lip whatever. They
Packing
just they're
lots
chapped.
into this routine.
So having big lips is a lie. Like, don't do it. Like, you see, I have like scabs right now. It sucks. So I
sign
have
for me.
leprosy. I hate it.
That is like the weirdest landing on a side semi I've ever seen.
And then her, you know what? I can see why you said she was B
We have
team
to
now.
show a low element onto the beam. So you can see that she's incorporating it into her
I mean, she was a
dance.
solid B team person, but she was just.
Builds up.
I believe Tabia
Valdez
Alt
into the
was
flick, into the 1.5
the
twist.
18
A relatively
like
simple
star at
dismount,
this
but
point,
since the code of
and
points
then she
We
got
love
changed,
injured
you
and
Tabia.
have to
retired.
have the
We love
D.
Tabia.
But
I
quite
mean, it's a cool
unusual,
name.
I mean,
quite nice to see a
she
dismount
had
come off
injuries and
elite.
retired, but she also wanted to
This is
do
a
other
super
things with her
mount.
life.
Yeah.
Gymnasts have
And we
to
shouldn't fault gymnasts for doing that at
include
all.
at least 3
Yeah,
Like,
dance moves, and that mount counts as one of your
I think
dance moves. Dance
she's
move
one of
being
those
a
ones
leap
where
or a
I
jump
want to,
or a spin.
like, people
So you
say,
can't
"Oh,
only do
she retired because
acrobatics.
she was injured," and I'm like, she retired
You
when she was
saw
injured,
then
but
the backflip and layout somersault. She just
there's life
couldn't
outside
make enough
gymnastics.
power out of
right.
the flip. You have to sort
And
of
that's one thing
use the
I want
flip to
people,
get
because,
your
we
foot
see
into
it time
the
and again,
air.
like, there's a lot of girlies that after
Very
that NCAA
elegant
career is
work
over,
here.
like, they're
This
literally,
is
like,
the
forced
dismount,
into,
the
like, identity
Valdez,
crisis because they don't,
backflip to one
they haven't
leg
had
and
time to
1.5 twist dismount.
realize or really internalize that gymnastics is what you do. It's not who you are.
Quite a difficult dismount actually from such a
And
slope with the Valdez
I
almost
know I'm
standing
like
flick
the
into the
super fan for
1.5.
the German
And
program,
quite
but it's
unusual,
one of the
and
reasons why I
nice
really
to see
like
actually,
the
quite good.
German
Nice to see
club
she did
league
particularly well because she barely got her foot
because
on
they can,
actually, the second
like,
foot.
Yeah, she
Janine
was lucky
Berger
to
of
obviously done
London
it a few times,
vault
knew how
final
to
fame
still
was
get that
still
1.5
competing in that
twist
German
round.
club league last year.
Really?
Looks
Yeah,
quite pleased
because
considering
like
she has
you
to be
could
steady
just be a
early on in the
weekend
routine.
gymnast
And the score comes
and
in.
do a couple
Maria
of
Grieger
routines
of Germany,
a couple of times a year.
11.3.
And you know what? I mean, for all intents and purposes, gymnastics is
Well,
great
this really
for,
is becoming a
even just
battle of the
getting in
nerves
shape.
and
Yeah, you get to tumble, but like
stability.
it's a full body
Well,
workout.
4
It's
routines, and we've had
conditioning.
3 falls
So
from the apparatus so
it's great
far.
exercise, even if you're not
So
competing.
yeah, it does pile the pressure.
I have no
The rest
intentions
of
of
the
competing.
gymnasts.
Our next competitor
Our
on
next
B,
competitor
representing Canada,
for Canada
Yeah, so let me
will
look
be
and see when
Victoria Wu.
Berger's last competition was because it was last year.
But, while you look for that, I think there's a lot to be said about the benefits of NIL and how NIL has like literally reshaped the trajectory of NCAA gymnastics. And I'm only speaking to NCAA gymnastics because it's just,
Beth said earlier, the
we're
gymnasts
talking
have
about.
to do some work low
But
to
like,
the beam. So
and
it's
for
quite
them
a good
to
idea
be able to find
start
opportunities
low
outside
to
the
the beam
sport
and
to be
get
able to
that
support themselves, and like, I mean, look
multiple
at Aaliyah
range.
Clapper made a whole board game. Yeah, it's changed into related to gymnastics, but it's still like she's learning things about herself that she can apply
You could see she had
for the rest of her
plenty of
life.
flight to
Darion
take into
Goulburn,
the layout
hey Darion,
somersault.
a great example. Like
Elegant
she's
gymnast.
one of those girls that internalized the fact that it's just what she does. It's not who she
Now
is.
that was well
And so
done.
now
Yeah,
she's
so
going
The
up.
free walk over into
let
the
me
split
just give
jump.
you because this is one of my favorite facts about, like, you can do this as a long-lived thing in other countries and not in the
Double
U.S.
spin.
So
Particular technique there of turning back on
Janine
herself.
Berger was 4th in the vault final in London. Her last
Good,
international
strong side
competition was
somersault. So we've seen forward, sideways,
Europeans in
backward elements. Now we've
2014,
got another difficult jump
and
coming
she
up.
was still putting up
Split
a
with the half
12.9
turn.
on uneven bars last year in the German club league.
That's nothing to be ashamed of.
So she will have
That's a good score.
done
And
her
she put up a
difficult acrobatic elements. Here comes the lip
13.9 on
series.
vault in
Changed leg leap into the
2021.
C-zone.
That's not shabby.
The dismount has to be added into the difficulty
How old was she
score.
in 2021?
So she'll want a big,
So
strong dismount. 2.5 twist. Very good routine.
So she
there
was
from Victoria Wu.
26
Elegant, solid.
in 2021 when she put up an almost
Routines we've
14
seen.
vault.
Yeah,
Good for
definitely
her.
a very classy routine. I'm not sure whether
Good
she
for her.
just ran out of time at the
Anyway,
end. They
so
hit the second
sorry, I
buzzer,
just like,
but
No, you're fine.
there's
but if
the
you could,
nice mount
if
she started
there
the routine
existed,
with.
I don't think that
Builds up
the
for
current
her
attempt at a
connection
pro league in the U.S. is going to
the
go
après.
anywhere.
It's
But
not.
You know what
uses the
might
popular
go somewhere
layout.
is if USAG organized
No problems with that
a
whatsoever.
club championship,
There we can see the free
maybe like
walkover into the jump,
the
getting
week
a
before
connection.
US Nationals. Like everyone doesn't have to compete, so
Very
you
good,
don't have to have like
solid
someone like
routine
Simone over
from
competing,
this gymnast.
but have like Woga and
WCC.
Change leg.
WCC and Gage and all of those people put up a team.
Quite have the leg bend
Or even just do
after
the
the
Texas
change
Classic,
leg, so it'll be
you know,
debatable whether she
Texas
had
Nightmares, WCC,
the connection, and there's the 2.5.
Right,
When the
like
gymnasts do get the
that
four,
first
like put up a
bell to
team.
say they've got
4
10
routines
seconds to
count.
get off, just like Mustafila, some gymnasts will take the
they
time.
have it
to
in cheer. They have a thing
take
called Texas versus the Nation.
the time, take the 0.1 deduction rather
I
than
mean, that'd be a
taking
cool
the
meet.
full
You know,
mark.
it's
If you
what they
then
do is they
rush
have
into your dismount.
cheer teams from all across the
Yeah, we've seen
USA
so many
essentially
gymnasts
compete
having
against Texas
rushed
teams, and
to
they have
in
one
time
Texas
and
team
then
and
end
like
up
a
falling
few
over,
smaller
lose a
ones.
mark. It's better off
But that'd be
losing a
cool.
tenth than a mark.
But like
Sometimes,
USAG could do this
gymnasts have to
because
really think on the
that's
feet up
really
there,
what
and
the
probably a
the
good
It's
the
their
French
decision
and the
to
jurisdiction.
Italian
score.
and the German and
12.6
the
for
Spanish
Victoria
leagues,
Wu on the beam.
those are all,
Pushes her up into
they're not
third place.
necessarily run by
Particularly
the
like Mustafila, she
the
was dismounting with a double
national
back.
governing
She
body,
needed
but they're
full
running
concentration
in
for
like
that, so she wasn't going to
association
take
with them.
herself about.
Yeah,
I mean, the
it's a
problem,
jurisdiction.
and none of those leagues, even except for the
So there's
Italians
the
because they're
standings.
crazy, none
The
of them
first
are
5
asking
gymnasts have
for full
competed on
difficulty.
the beam. Mustafina leads.
So you could
Debut
have
of
like
France in
an
second.
NCAA
Great beam
gymnast
there by Wu.
do
Puts her up into
a
third
like
spot. Grisia in fourth.
European-style
And
club
Liu
league routine.
Zhu of China in
Yeah.
fifth.
You just need USAG to be involved, and you need it not to be.
You
You
can
need it
see the
to be
gymnasts
team
having their
focused
30 seconds
if you
warm up.
want it to
And
be
this is
to work
the
and
order
not
we're going to
like
see them in next.
individual
We're going to
star
see Ellie
focus.
Downey as the
Well, did you
first
see what they're
person
doing at
on
the
the
Vegas meet
beam.
they're doing next
Then
year?
Teus Fidelis, followed by
I haven't
Riley
looked at it.
McCusker and Nagy
So
I
from what I
know it's
Pajic up
L10.
the final position.
From what I understand, because they're doing the big the Super 16 meet they had, but now they're doing the
I
Future
think this
16,
will
I
be a
think it's
real
what it's
test
called,
for
and
Ellie
they
actually
I think they're
after the
having like
disappointment on the
juniors
bars,
compete at it.
and it's a real test of any character in any sport. You
Interesting.
can have a bit of a
Let me look it
disappointment.
up just to make sure I'm
How
not
well
throwing on
can
my
you
ass.
build yourself back up? What we've seen from the
And one of the
Americans, she
things
had
that
a
I
pretty poor
thought
vault, but then
was
she came back really
a
strong on bars, and
tragedy
that's what we
about
really need to
the
see from Ellie now.
Giga
When
proposal
she attacks
was
this piece of apparatus,
that they
you
were
know, and
trying
it
to
is
build
such
on
a difficult piece of,
NCAA,
you
but
know, we've
not
seen
realizing
Mustafina
that
fall
a
about
big part of
3/4 of the first
NCAA
group
is
on there,
teams.
so it'd be a real
Yeah.
test.
And for Ellie,
And I
she's a
never
big,
understood why they didn't
powerful
realize
gymnast. Floor and vault are
that
her
they
real
needed to do
powerful
teams.
pieces, and she's had to work very, very hard
I think
on
it's because they just didn't
beam.
have enough
You know, when you're
gymnasts that
very
were interested, or
tiny
she
and the
wasn't in.
feet are very tiny, the
But I do
beam
know that
seats
Amy
relatively wide.
went
The
about
bigger you
this
are,
as a very
the
individual
smaller the beam
mentality. Like
seems.
she never
And for
approached anybody to
Becky,
be like,
she's
part of a
really
team aspect. There's not that here.
had to work very
I
hard
mean,
to become an accomplished
there
beam
is
worker, which
no
she most
place
certainly
in the
is.
world where that works that way.
Yeah, it's not.
Everyone does teams
And we can hear the crowd in
because
the
you can
background getting
spread out
ready for
routines.
their home
You
You
favourite.
aren't
have to,
demanding
yeah.
everyone do the all around. You're
I
like,
just caught over the top of the monitor.
Oh, here we
She
go.
fell off this
So,
first move in the warm-up, so
the
hopefully
Future
she's got one
16
behind her.
Representing
is open
Great
to
Britain
USAG
is
development
Ellie
program
Downey.
levels 2 through 10, USAG XL Bronze
Next up,
Sapphire.
to the beam for Great Britain.
And it has a $150
Ellie Downey.
entry fee for athletes, $70 per team, which is 3 gymnasts, and includes Super 16 VIP passes for registered athletes. And it
that's
is
cool.
it's ran by
Build
the
to composure.
WCGA.
There's the change leg.
And honestly, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I am
Puts her first acro element
just
in, the
because
free
I just like
cartwheel.
to be whatever. I'm doing this
Safely through
intro
that
for
first
the Vegas
couple of
meet
elements.
just so they they might like it and hire me for it because
There's
last year
the
was just
change
sad.
leg. Great height and amplitude in those first leaps.
Great meet.
Yeah,
It-
so she's
learn
not
more.
going to get credit for that too
There's
No.
the front
if it was
somersault
this code.
just off to
It's
the
so weird
side.
once you know
What to look
these
for.
changes.
Time to
And it's
And
wild.
she's off.
composure and
It's
jump
you
back up.
just it's you are looking at things that you're supposed to be looking for as opposed to what you think you're supposed to be looking for. And that itself is like the biggest lesson that I learned. It's just like I have my own biases and like what I think This is they're looking for.
Builds up for
When in
the double
reality,
spin.
they're looking for this.
And there it
And
is.
it's a whole list of things.
Manages to
And
save
and
that.
I like that you sort of learned how technical they are.
Yeah. There's
Here she goes for the flick into the
Really
layout.
there's really not
Very
room
solid
for
combination.
looking
nuance.
for
Shows
preference.
the down
Yeah.
part to the routine.
And I mean, you know, for all intents and purposes, that the way they phrase the code and the way it's like the directions are
See, she's trying to
phrased. It
build up for the dismount.
really
There's
removes
the
all
2.5
of the
to
bias
it.
from it.
Or as much as they can.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just landed
I
a little
honestly
bit
think
short
the
on that,
Russians
but
will have
had to,
problems
take the steps
Yeah.
once
to
they come back.
regain a balance.
Yeah.
And they are the most like
That was a real
ballet
shame
classical
for
like
Ellie
thing that
because
people think
she
of.
started
And I think they're just
with
going to have
great,
lots of
rhythm.
problems.
She really did.
Because once again, I
go
think
for
they,
that mount.
one
Lovely
thing
split
that
on the mount.
their
And then once she got
verbiage
going, she got
did
going with
was
good speed.
eliminate
She didn't hang
the
about. She worked with style
notion that they're looking for that.
and with confidence.
Well, one of the
And
things
this
I
is
really
usually
like
a good
is,
element for her,
so
the
have you
front
gotten to the
somersault.
point where she talks
She
about
was very
work on
surprised. If there was
releve?
something she was going
Yes.
fall off
Well, I mean,
on,
I
that
finished the whole
wasn't
thing.
what she expected
So
to
like
be the problem.
one of the things I really
But
love
this
is
foot was completely
that
off
the
at the
code
side, you
no
could
longer
see.
requires you to work on releve. But if you work on releve,
So
It
really
has to be
cross
on
with herself,
releve.
but she got back on
Full
right.
extension.
and
It can't just be
nailed the
like, oh,
rest.
kind of
Lovely
releve. No, it has to be
backflip
And
and
I
layout
like that
somersault.
because that's
Good double
saying it
spin. She
doesn't
had to
have to
fight
be
for that,
ballet, but if you're going to do the
but she
ballet,
certainly did.
you have to do the ballet. And that's one
Choreography
thing
was
that I think
really
is expressed
good.
through the entire code is like,
And
if you're
here
gonna
the
do something,
dismount,
commit
she
to it.
usually lands this very easily,
yeah,
but
Don't
that was
half-ass
quite
it.
a
I
big
really think that
rebend.
that's the
But
definition
doing a
of the
lot of that
Donatella
routine was
codes
lovely.
Yeah.
is um,
Yeah, it certainly
if you
was. You
do
can
it,
see the
do it
potential
well, or
actually,
don't
and
do it at all.
this is a gymnast getting back to form.
And,
And
you have
That's
to
the
commit
thing
to it.
we
You have
can
to
take
commit
from
to the
this
movement. You have to
is,
commit to
you
position. You
know,
have to commit to
she
the
had a great
character,
competition
the
last week
music. You have
in
to
the British
commit. You have to
Championships, and she just
not
needs
just do
to
the bare
finish
minimum. And she
strong
hates
today
the bare
to get
minimum.
fit for
Donatella
the
is not here for your
European
bare minimum.
Worlds, and
but
Tokyo. That
it's one of the things
unfortunately, this is the sport,
I
and
like
she's just
about
gonna have to get back to
gymnastics
the
is
gym
it's
and
about
bang out a few more routines.
absolute fine control of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
so I
started
like
well,
the
that
idea of
routine, actually, just a shame,
demanding
like you say,
the
it fell
highest
off
standards
from the
of
front somersault.
control.
Score comes in,
Because you're
11
doing
point.
Now,
things
I
are
might not
Ellie
like
down
all of
there
the
puts her
choices
into
they
flip
made about,
position.
say, where turns have to be.
or
But
skill evaluations, skill level evaluations or whatever, like
but
turn like degree difficulty.
yeah,
Next competitor on
But
but
like,
like
representing Brazil,
give me
Maias
control.
Vidales.
yeah,
Next up,
they're not here
And
for your
15
messy
for
like
Brazil
skills anymore.
is Ty
You know, they don't want you to just chuck a
Vidales.
skill because they're gonna deduct you to hell.
and I really like that.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's headed in the right direction.
Gymnasts don't have to have a difficult mount.
I mean,
They
No,
can
I
just get on the
still,
beam
I
quite
mean, I'm a
quietly.
sucker for a kind of beam
This is
routine
good movement.
that this
So for
code doesn't
marches.
allow for.
yeah,
But
Fast moving.
my like dream thing in the
On
beam
two
code
very
would
good
be
layout somersaults,
a
lifting the level of the routine,
non-acro hold requirement that
going for two
where
ambitious leaps,
during the
tiny
course
bit
of the
off
hold they
full
stop the
split,
clock.
but the join was very good.
So if you
Okay.
do a
This is the free
planche,
walkover into the
the
split jump,
point of
into
your
the flip.
when you start the planche to the point where you end it isn't part of the timer.
But I think that's a little wishful.
So
I
like
don't think
we
the
could
foot was
have
as high as the head on
one
that.
arm
And
handstands
that's where
again
the judges
and
have to make a
Christy
judgment.
Phillip planches again.
Nice free cartwheel.
But you can't right now because the time like they take too much time.
yeah.
Solid on the front
And I just feel
somersault.
like a minute and a half is not long enough to like really give you what
But if it's a little bit low,
you're
the judges
asking me
take
to give
quite
you.
a few
You know what I
marks
mean?
off. But this has been
And
a sparkly
it
routine.
like
Good strong double
like I said,
dismount.
I think it would bring back
That
variety,
was a very
Yeah.
but you really
experienced
need to deal with the
performance.
time limit.
It was,
And I
and she's
don't
had
think
a
you want to
very long
extend the
wait
time limit in general.
to be able to get up and do that routine, and
But
that's probably the
there are
most
some
confident
beam
routine
elements that are just
we've
not being done
seen
now because they
during
take too
this
much time.
competition.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm sure the
if they're
score will reflect that.
if you rush
Here
it,
you can see a great
they're so easy to
somersault
just go
series at the
wrong.
beginning, the flick into
Like
the
you have to take your
layout
patience
layout.
with like
So not only
any
building
hold
the
like that,
difficulty,
or
but
any
the
what is it
series
called,
bonus as well. We can see it there.
any skills that lands in
Lovely
handstand from
straight
a
legs
back,
and
whatever. It's like
not a flicker on the
it
landing.
takes time, you know.
But like the fact
There's
that
the split leap with
we live in a
the
world
big
where
bend.
Natalia
Judges will have to debate
Shapovalnikovas amazing
Whether
one-arm
to
handstand
credit
would
that
not fit
skill.
in a modern beam routine, I think is
Nice
a
free
shame.
cartwheel.
Yeah.
And then
I think it's
the
a shame that
big double pike and just a small hop.
I
That's
think
definitely
what's really
the
stagnating
best
the
routine
innovations
we've seen
in terms of dance
so
is
far.
the caps.
I could see that.
Yes, Brazil are a
Do you
strong
think
team on beam,
the same
actually.
thing about the
I'm going to
ECAP?
say
Oh,
the best
do you think
beam
that
routine we've
applies
seen
to the
so far has
ECAP
been
on bars too?
12.6 from
On
Victoria
transitions?
Wu of Canada. And you're right there,
Yeah,
Beth.
absolutely.
The score comes in 12.933 for
Like,
Dallas of Brazil.
I
Puts her
just
into
don't.
third
I don't understand
spot.
why cap it. I mean, we've seen Simone do a septuple wolf turn. Was it great and fantastic? But you know what? If a gymnast can throw it within reason, like not a triple front vault, like sir, but there's certain things I'm just like, well, if they can do it, let them compete it, you know?
Next up on the beam for the US of A is
I
Riley
mean, we already saw how hard it was to get a triple L credited.
And it still
Beautifully
hasn't.
extended gymnast, very supple.
Another year,
Look
another.
at the heel.
Oh, Riley is
there.
supple according to Christine.
1, 2.
See, sometimes I use that word, but it just feels dirty.
Along the way, but
I think it's just
enough to do
a
double
Britishism that
after
it doesn't have the same
So
connotations.
gymnasts can do that. They
Yeah.
can get an E
to
for the
her.
triple and a D.
Oh, I'm
for the
so
double
glad that we
spin.
are out of the era of the
split.
double and triple wolf turn in the same routine.
Same. So for you, those of you who are like keeping record, Klaus has gone belly up. It's over. He was asleep on his
Now
back,
here's
and
the
when he does, I'm
acrobatic
just like, it's over.
Layout. Oh, and that surprised me a great deal.
Isn't this really so Maggie?
She looked very
Yeah, so like
confident, very
she's
well
now at
rehearsed.
2 falls in this competition. Mustafana's at 1.
Beautiful extension
like-
through the whole of the body. Hits the splits very
The
easily on those
Glacier
leaps,
is
but
at
she's
1.
quite rattled.
The Chinese gymnast is at like
Properly at the end of that
2.
change leg half. Much better
So
with those
many
3
falls.
elements in a row. Free
And
cartwheel,
it's just
split
off
jump,
the
tuck
lighting.
back. A little bit of
Like
sideways
this is
dance
not
that has to be
Riley on
included.
beam.
No, Riley on beam is fantastic. One thing I do want to
Although-
shut up, Riley. Go ahead.
Expressing
Although there was
her
that like
work well,
American
use of
Cup,
head
or
as
was
well
it
as arms.
American
we
Cup
come,
where
one
she almost
flip,
hit her head on the
2.
beam?
Double
Yeah, it was
tuck.
Oregon Cup.
A good strong
Anyway, go ahead.
I just,
Very
And she's really close to the beam here.
unusual
yeah, and one thing people need
Error.
to realize, like,
for an American
Riley had
gymnast
to
in
have
the
her
middle
whole
of that
ankle
beam
reconstructed.
routine.
Certainly was
And that's
Christine, actually, because up
that's
until
something that
then, she looked like she was
Jerry
so in
Miranda
control.
told
Just
Tiki.
look at the flexibility there.
You know,
You
it's
can see the extension when she got
they
into
have to
split.
reconstruct the entire
The
ankle.
extension there. Heel
Yeah,
comes off the
I
beam.
keep wanting to
Did
bring that
really
up every
well,
time
actually, on
someone
this
has
triple
delusions
spin.
that she'll try to
Took
do a
two
lead
turns
again.
round
She
Christine.
won't.
Looked like
She
was gonna
won't.
fall
Like,
off and
her
then
ankle
pulled it
is
back.
She
like
wants to walk.
I mean, just
she wants to
superb
walk, and that
control.
ankle is physically impossible. I'm surprised she's still doing NCAA. Honestly,
And again, the double.
I thought she was gonna medically retire.
Look at the extension in
I
legs.
think Morgan will.
There's a free walk over.
Yeah.
Or Morgan will be medically retired, I mean.
Leg definition as well.
It's one of those things like,
Christine's such a powerful gymnast. There you go.
you know,
Flip,
you
layout.
don't, you yourself don't quit
Off to one
gymnastics.
side
Your
with the
body
shoulders,
quits
and it's
for
a
you.
bit like what we saw on the
Most of the
spin
time.
earlier. If your shoulders aren't just directly over your feet, over
And once your
that
body
beam,
quits on you, it's a wash.
You're off.
It's not gonna happen.
I will
And the
always
gymnast has to get back on and compose themselves. Flick to
I
one,
will
flick to two,
like
into
Morgan
the
Hurd is
double back
always going to
dismount.
be like the example of that to
Plenty of
me.
difficulty in that routine. Had she managed to stay on, it would have been a
'Cause, I
big
mean,
score.
she can't control like her
But
elbow
one
growing
whole mark
cartilage. You know
off,
what I mean?
And then she
But
got a
on the
little
other
jittery
hand,
after
like
that.
I would have thought that was Rebecca.
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah.
that Rebecca
Well, I think she just shrugged it
had
off as
started winning
just
a
one of those
haul
days.
of world
Bill's one of
medals
those
and
best
Olympic medals
operators, isn't it,
after
Christine, where you can
her
be so
third
brilliant in
ACL.
training and the nerves can easily
And
get
think
the
you know,
best
I
of you.
think
We've had 5 falls.
it's just
out
the
of the,
resiliency.
8
It's
gymnasts
knowing,
so
it's
far, so
trusting
it
your
is
body. Be
really
like, you know,
such a
I've done this
difficult
before.
piece of
I know the
apparatus.
rehab. I know the process.
Score comes
I,
in,
you know, I'm gonna do this.
12.166.
Because I'm sure the first time you
Makuska
start
of the
rehabbing,
United
you're just not taking it
States.
seriously. But that's
Good
like what
score,
happens a
Although-
lot.
fall.
So
Well, it was a classy routine. Every element she performed, she did very well with.
I'm still sort of mulling over
Pushes her up into second place,
Simone
and now
talking
the
about
final
retiring
competitor
to Rebecca
in
at
this piece of
Worlds,
apparatus on the beam
because it's
for
really the first
Japan
time
is
Simone has
Nagi
talked that we know for sure
Fujita.
that Simone has talked about retiring.
I
And
mean,
I
she
know
talks.
it's LA, and I know it's like on American soil,
And
but
no sooner on than off.
Simone might
I
not care.
always feel the very difficult mounts
she
are
might not care.
quite
But like I said, it's
risky,
the first time that
but I've
that
seen her warm that
Simone
up
has said the R
excellently
word
today already.
Yeah.
that we know of.
I really
So,
want. I'm interested in knowing what she's told Rebecca on the dance floor.
so I really love Japanese beam work, and I think that we like, given that they won like
The free
4 of
walkover, but then a
6
little
beam
pause
medals in
before the
2
two
years,
jumps. She would have
we
been
don't talk
hoping to
enough about
join those
Japanese beam
two.
work.
Well, I mean, they've cracked the code. You know,
The good acrobatic element. She had a
they're
little
literally
fight,
just
but
like
she
applying the
saved
code
it.
correctly,
Backflip and layout
and that's
somersault.
something that a lot of programs just don't do. Is this a little clarification for what I said about Simone in our or whenever it was about like her getting the book thrown at her? She did.
Another big
Her
leap
difficulty
with
score
the
is
head
6-7.
back.
She should be scoring in like the 15-2s, 15-3s,
And a
15-5s
swim
every
with the
single
leg
time.
up.
And the
There's
fact that she's
extra points
not
given for all
is a
these
clear
difficult
indication that
moves,
she
and
doesn't give a fuck
these
about the
gymnasts are
artistry and
chasing
that they're asking
difficult
for. She doesn't.
scores, like
She
their
doesn't.
difficulty score. They're chasing
She
the high
cares more about
score
it this
and
year than
trying
she did
to link lots of
in the
elements, but
Tokyo Quad.
really it's not
I
working
agree.
But
tonight, that's for sure.
but
There's
I
some
think that that's more about her own perfectionism. I don't think she was
So
happy
difficult when you've fallen off the first
in the
element to
kind of
compose yourself, but she's
bouncing
done
out of
very well.
bounds,
Now,
um,
no.
the 2.5
not
dismount,
investing in
step to
things.
the
Like
side.
she talked
She
about
gave the
how
judges plenty of
demotivating
opportunity
it
to
was
deduct
for
in that
her to
routine.
win the all around with 2 falls.
And the beam
I mean,
takes another
sure. I'm
victim
sure
again.
for any athlete at her level, like,
6
it's like,
falls
ah, damn,
in
you
this
really can't keep up.
rotation. Unbelievable.
And the thing is, like,
There
And
you can see the round
I
off.
was
think Rebecca is good for Simone.
Somersault to
yo,
start
yeah,
with such a
they are good
difficult
for each
skill. You
other,
can see why
honestly.
some gymnasts will opt for
And I
quite
love the fact that
a
Simone
simple
didn't
mount
seem like
because,
bothered by
you
not
know,
winning
there's
vaults.
no
She was happy for
stipulation that you
Rebecca,
have
and
to do a
I
difficult
love that.
start.
Because for all intents and
And
purposes,
obviously
for all
once you've
that
had
we
a
said about
fall from
Simone,
the
for all that
apparatus,
she
whichever
may be,
apparatus is it does
there is
knock you.
a sense
Certainly
of
she did
her
well there on that flip
maturing
layout, the acrobatic
and
series.
becoming the person that
Just to
she will
fight to
be
stay
for the rest of her
back
life
on the apparatus.
that I'm enjoying. But there's still some things I'm just like, oh, girl.
So I
As I said,
loved
various points
watching
there, Christine,
Simone
opportunity to
discover the
judge tech
Brazilians,
deductions as
Yeah.
well.
because I don't think she's had a whole lot of contact with either of them.
The thing as well, they
Nope.
have
Um,
what they
We
call
talked about this. Yeah.
mastery. For
She
you're
never has. I
looking
mean, she knows who
totally
they
in
are, but she
control,
never
and
interacted with them at
they won't be
long.
awarding
at
any
the
of
level
those, I
she did
don't
this
think.
this Worlds.
Yeah. And I think
No,
it's one of the things like
absolutely.
Simone just
And
allows
it
her to
needs
be
to
in the
flow
moment.
routine as well, with rhythm as well,
and
interpretation.
they're so vivacious, and they don't need to defer
11.366
to her.
for
So
Nagi
I
Kajita
think
of
it almost
Japan.
felt like it was the first
Victory in
time
8th position.
she ran into equals.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. And sure, there's some people like a Sonny Weathers. There's like people like
She
I'm
was like
sure
that
some.
with Melanikova too.
Yeah.
And here we go.
And that's the part
With
that
one
makes me
rotation
sad
to
more,
go.
more than anything
Mustafina
is the
still
fact that
leads the field.
the Russians would be a good addition
Makuska
to this
of the
field.
United
They would. I'm not
States.
gonna lie to you and say they wouldn't. They would,
Of France
and they
in
would push the
third.
Americans. But
Dallas
like,
of Brazil in
you
fourth.
can't really
I
support.
don't know that they pushed them as a
Germany
team
6 down 8.
No, not as
because
a team, but
based on
individually. Yeah.
because I've
in
watched the
8th
Russian
and
competitions, and like
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the
of
scoring,
China in 9th.
but Listanova is one of the best
So
gymnasts in the world
Mustafina
right
will
now.
wait
You
till the
can't
end,
deny
and
that.
here
But
she is,
also,
all wrapped up to
there
keep
are
warm. I
issues
thought
Homegirl is
there.
the
not
description
getting.
was
She's
sleeping
not
bag
getting
was
a
pretty
16 on floor. I'm
accurate.
sorry.
You know what?
Well,
I
no
love
one.
a jacket like
No
that.
one is.
She's obviously
Oh,
heard about the
I
weather
love
in
this.
the
Like,
UK, but to be fair, I don't think it'd be that warm in Russia at this moment. But that is absolutely fantastic jacket. Love it. And
I love
she
this
looks
jacket.
every
A
bit
great
of a
jacket, isn't it?
champion, actually. Very calm
she
and
is just
relaxed.
like
And knowing
she's
that you've
like
had a
doing
fall
her
from the
best Chinese gymnast
apparatus and you're
imitation
still
there.
out in
I love a
front,
good. Is that her husband?
must
No,
make her feel quite
I
relaxed.
don't think so.
no.
Makes her
I
feel
love a
very
I love
confident
a good
indeed.
trench, a bubble
And she
trench,
knows
please. I
that
live.
she's in the lead at the moment, so she will be the final competitor on
I had
the
someone ask
floor.
me one time,
And,
this is about a year ago. They're like, "Why do they compete in the trench coats?" And I was like, "Because you have to keep your body warm, and
You
it's
can
probably
see
cold in the arena.
gymnasts, that's where they congregate. They call it the kiss and cry area. Well, after that beam, I imagine
Nausea
there's
and
not a
Tim
lot
did
of
not
kissing,
like
and
that
there'll be
name.
certainly a lot of crying. And that's where they
And this is
congregate
like
and then go out.
what
So the first person up
Look,
on this
they're
route
sitting
will be
there.
Lu
It's normal.
Zhiyu
It's not
of
new.
China.
Representing Russian Federation is Alia Mustafina.
I know to me it seemed like it was this new brand concept that they had just like pioneered for this. I'm like, Tim, this has been around. I'm like, what are you talking about? I do want them. I really, more than anything in my life, like I will give up my left testicle for this. I
Interesting,
want
Christine,
the
actually,
lifts
it's
back.
totally, pitch
I
black in
want to
your
lift the
bar in
podium back,
apparatus,
please, like
and they've
that.
actually lifted the house lights
Oh
a
my
bit.
At some
god!
point,
I think they
at some
maybe
point,
did
one
that
of
for the
these
gymnasts on the beam.
mystery
I suspect
competitions, I'm going to make you
there
watch
would
one of
have been
those
We
start
have
meets.
complete
to.
bars that the
I
gymnasts
just
were
there's something
finding the
like
lights blinding.
hilarious about like this.
So now this is the order the gymnasts will work
Like who
in on
thought?
the
Who
floor.
thought that would be a good idea?
Yo will go
Let's put
first,
gymnasts on
followed by
forklifts.
Nagi Kachita.
You know what I mean?
Ellie Downey
On
will be
literal
third,
forklifts.
Leah
That's
Grisler
what those
fourth,
were.
and
Yeah,
Victoria
and
will
fuck greasing
that
it up.
will be when
They'll
the
be
second
fine.
warm-up takes place.
Man.
So first 5 gymnasts will warm up and compete, and then the last 4.
It reminds me of this
Thea
girl.
Skedalis,
Come
Caroline
on.
Hedowit, Riley McCusker, and
This
finishing
girl
with
at one of our
Alia
school's talent
Mustafina.
show did Defying Gravity, and they used cherry picker to put her up, and it's just like, nee.
You can see the gymnasts in the first group.
I couldn't hear her
Yeah,
sing.
I know exactly which one of those competitions I'm going to make you watch.
So they
Oh
go
my
out,
god, it's so
3-minute
fucking
warm-up.
funny.
Yes.
Four
And what can you
gymnasts
do?
will
What
wait.
can you do? Can you turn up the volume so we can hear the floor music? Yes, I'm so sorry. So sorry. I was just
It's still quite dark for the audience, as
Kind
you
of
can
laugh.
see. The beam is still the lit area.
Oh shit, that was funny.
You haven't had the floor area lit yet.
Sorry. Okay, I'm done. I'm nothing. It's just, you had to have been here, been there. It just you couldn't even hear her sing. It was just like. It's like, you know, good way to circumvent. You wanted to sing Defying Gravity. You wanted to be lifted. That's not how you do it.
Christine? I mean, you see her train quite a bit at Little Show with the team, and the preparation that's gone into this, and you know, what's she going to be thinking now?
Well, she'll be just hoping, I think, that she can get through and prove herself on the floor. I mean, she's had a long time out, and last weekend at the British Championships was the first time she's competed on all apparatus for a long time. And although she did absolutely great, she no doubt used a lot of adrenaline, and it was a tall order to ask to come straight back off that performance to come and work and do it all again this week. She needs more work under her belt. We know that.
Hold on, real quick.
She's been recovering from injury, and the medical people have been very careful with her comeback. But she'll be pleased.
One thing I will
to
say is that
have been able to get
I've
through
for the life of me, I don't understand why people haven't figured out that, you know, you don't have to have both the in-mic,
You know, I don't want to keep
the
going
atmosphere
about it.
mics you have up
Mustafina last
and the
weekend
sound
in
feed
Germany, she
on
fell
the
off
same
beam
like track.
3 times
You
and
can
fell off the
have
beam.
both
So it's not
on
just,
separate tracks,
you know,
and then have the commentators on another track and just raise the commentators, so you're not running into them like, you know, the in-house arena guy being so loud that you can't understand these people. And there's
And
maybe
look at the shadows on that floor.
dangerous.
So I really hope that she lifts the game onto this last piece.
Yeah, like there's this. That's, you know, but that's one thing. I having done live sound and like production and all that several times, like from the time I was 15, like I'm good at it. So I know like there are certain things you can do for streaming competitions that I'm just like, dude, like I have this wealth of like information, like when
I will never understand why they insist on putting mics on the beam and on the bars.
I understand the need for atmospheric sound, and I understand the need, you know, I guess for like, you know, sound effects.
Yeah, but
it's not necessary. It's not
on the
necessary.
beam and on the bars,
It's not necessary.
like atmospheric in the arena is not the same thing as like making sure everyone hears the thud of every footstep on the
Yeah.
beam.
It just makes it that never made sense to me. You know, I will say, admittedly, I am a fan of like Beam ASMR, but like it's just not. Like, it's not the serve you think it is, sister. You know what I mean?
Well, like there's that. If you ever go back and listen to Gymnastics Rio coverage, Jessica is rightly outraged because at some point they put a mic directly under the beam.
I remember that.
With a wait, with bated breath.
One thing I did want to do, and I was going to suggest this to you, I kind of wanted to do. So I asked. I'll just be like transparent with everybody. I reached out to Darion's sister, Derica, and she's going to be. You know, Darion's going off to WWE. She actually starts on Monday. She started yesterday, and you know. I wanted to see if she would be interested in, like, you know, being a correspondent of sorts.
39
and she said yes.
in total.
And so what I wanted to do is kind of
world level.
Do
Games, European Championships, Eurogames, World Championships, Olympic Games.
So stick around if you want to know where we're
representing People's Republic of China, Liu Jiayu.
We never saw her again, did we? This gymnast.
Let me look her up.
First up on the floor for China is Liu Jiayu.
Super triple twist to start. This is the opportunity for the gymnasts to show their expressive dance. Very nice. 2.5 twist into punch front.
So she was still competing at Chinese championships in 2021.
Okay.
Her last international assignment was Asian championships in 2019.
Okay.
So this was not her last international assignment, but it was close. Oh, no. No, she was at that weird Friendship and Solidarity meet in 2020.
She needs a double back somersault. Here it comes. Double tuck.
So, I think I did
low
an
on the landing.
I was just looking at my sound sources, and I think I don't think I had it muted the whole time.
In for a fourth tumble. Just a double twist, but very, very clean.
I may have had that muted the entire time. No, I don't think so.
Nice, elegant, smooth work. Not the most
For a Chinese sport, that's pretty good.
Very pretty routine.
Well, I'm sure she'll be happy with her finish to that competition.
Because now that I realize that Urza's comment makes sense. Sorry, Urza.
You can see the round off leg into the triple twist.
Oh no, it wasn't off.
Very good leg extension there throughout the air. Completing the 3 turns.
Oh,
She was really hampered by the beam, the bar falls here because she got a 9.933 on bars.
Oh shit.
And that was just not a hole she could get out of.
Story of my life.
Important as well.
Oh, not like that, not like that, not like that.
Choreography.
That's not really wrong. My bad. I did not mean it like that at all. But chat, has that been muted the whole time?
Finally into the double twist as well. You can see there the legs are jammed together throughout the flick.
Because if so, I'm so sorry.
Actually, as the gymnasts sometimes have a little bit of a leg split, but very precise with her tumbling.
I hate the delay that there's on Twitch.
There you
But
go.
like,
Same tumbling again in the.
I think you're okay.
Sideways angle.
yeah,
You can
that's
see
fine. That's fine. It's
nailed
whatever.
the double
Par for the
twist
course.
there.
It's fine.
No steps needed.
It's all good. Yeah, it was muted the whole time. It's okay.
Good way to finish off her competition here in
I'm doing my
Birmingham.
best. I'm doing my best.
Difficult to come back from 2 falls on an apparatus.
Okay,
so
let's turn this up
good,
again.
clean performance to finish the competition.
There we go.
But a little bit too late, unfortunately.
Which one is this one? Hold on.
Shouldn't give the judges too much to think about, Christine. I think it was a pretty straightforward routine.
Yes, they have to set their eye in. Remember, it's international judges and every country has slightly different
And the
level.
score comes in for Liu Jiayu. 12.7 on the floor.
Well, Catherine in the commentary, she removed the whole, oh, see, that's what happened. Catherine removed the whole time.
Representing Japan.
But I mean,
Oh.
Restream could hear you. People on Restream could hear you, but
So-
not Twitch.
Nagi Kajita for
Lovely.
Japan.
I'll upload
Takes
this
to the floor.
broadcast again, and I'll like splice them together so they can hear you on this version.
That's
Oh,
okay.
Well, I mean, and it'll stay because then you start doing that again because that way these videos will stay on Twitch as opposed to just being like video on demand saved
As well as
broadcasts.
tumble. That was good. The 1.5 twist connected into
Because that's why
front
the
somersault
event
with a
finals
1.5
from
twist.
PTSU are still on there because I uploaded those.
Oh, nice on the spin there.
You know, this being someone else doing this music kind of like makes me like it.
Into
I
the
don't know what it says
2.5
in my
twist.
hatred pronounce, yeah. Riley was going to be on the world team over Grace, but she was tired from you.
She was she was not going to be on the world's team here. She had rolled her ankle 2 weeks before the world trials in 2019. That's something we know from the court case. She could not tumble before worlds.
Oh. And isn't that when she like the rhabdo came out too?
It was not rhabdo, but yeah. So she was.
Needs a strong tumble.
She never had rhabdo, according to the court case. But
well, that
the
was one of her best performances
the thing, and she probably did think she had rhabdo. But the thing is that she rolled her ankle 2 weeks before Worlds. She was not tumbling, and she had she was not in good shape. But I think it was simply overcompeting. Because you have to remember, they had the stupidest competition schedule that summer. In that they had
went to Pan Am's, they went to Pacific Rings.
So they went to U.S. Classic 1 week. They left immediately from U.S. Classic to Pan Am's. And then a week after they got back from Pan Am's, they were at U.S. Championships.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I think it like destroyed Riley and Morgan Hurd.
Yeah.
You just can't compete on that schedule, and that's entirely the fault of USAG for scheduling it like that.
The judges obviously would have spotted that.
Yeah.
But good, strong finish to her.
No, I mean, you can trace back the. Yeah.
Yes, it hasn't been the happiest of days.
I mean, Riley was not in good shape before that, and I think she was probably heading
for burnout.
for exhaustion at that point. But she's having issues before then. She rolls her ankles 2 weeks before World's Camp. She's not tumbling. And at least according to the emails submitted in the court case, Maggie essentially realizes she's not going to make the world's team and suggests they pull her out. And it's weirdly the doctor who comes up with the idea of calling it mild rhabdo, and Maggie, according to the emails, Maggie looks it up on the internet and is really worried about the rhabdo because she's not a doctor, and so she looks up what rhabdo means, and she starts freaking out. So, like, people have blamed, like, when we found out that she didn't have rhabdo, people blamed Maggie for this lie. But Maggie didn't come up with that lie. That was part of why it was so weird.
For Great Britain will be Ellie Downey.
And the thing is, like,
I mean, Maggie is many horrible things. I'm not defending Maggie as a good person or a good coach, but there are a lot of hands in ruining that. promising
1.5
gymnast career,
twist.
and they
Into
weren't
the
all
double
Maggie.
Arabian. Excellent work.
Which is why, honestly, I think the best thing for Riley would be to have added her parents to the lawsuit. She should have sued her parents.
Very expressive routine.
I think it was just really, it was just going to be painful.
Good,
There was
strong
just no
double
way
back
to
in the
resolve
second
that.
tumble.
Because every adult failed her. Every single adult in her life failed her. From the
The
doctors.
court documents say that that
Lovely leaps,
Maggie was
right round
consulting
back
with
to
Tom
Jete.
Forrester, with other coaches, with medical staff, with Riley's mother repeatedly. Like,
She did what
whatever
she
you think of Maggie, and I don't, as I want to stress, I don't think she's a good coach. And I think she's a terrible person.
And he really sells
When
this routine
Riley
well.
started going
She needs a
downhill,
big final
it's
tumble.
very
There
clear
it
from the
comes, lovely
documents in the
double
court
pike.
case that Maggie was trying to find a solution desperately.
I mean, that kind
Well
of
done, Ellie. She gets right back up, given a great
they kind of give context to her New York Times article of like, I care too much.
Yeah, like I think that was a delusional article,
Yeah.
but you can see through the emails and through the text messages she's trying to solve this problem.
And just like, I mean, the problems that, well, I guess the main source of Riley's problems can be traced back to her mom knowing about Riley lived with a girl that fractured her skull with Maggie, and her mom
Yeah.
still sent her to her. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah,
was
I mean, I think that so for the chat, I read all the documents in the court case. And I think the thing that is ultimately what I think damned that lawsuit was that Riley was still being sent to Maggie Haney up until a week before she was suspended.
Yeah.
So Riley's mother was blaming Maggie for things and campaigning to have her be suspended and still dropping her off at that gym.
And it's kind of like the Lori situation. Like, Lori's mom can say what she wants, but Lori's mom was very active in the gym.
Well, she'll be very
Like,
pleased to have walked away.
I'll give you an example. You can, at least, I don't think you can anymore because I think those things were sealed because they weren't in, like, I'm going to reference some text messages that were themselves not sealed, but I don't think you can find them because I think they were in the same batch of documents that were sealed for other reasons, and I'm deliberately not talking about the things they sealed.
And just for context, if you didn't, I guess you couldn't hear Catherine earlier, Twitch. Catherine, like, her posts and her stuff were included in the case. So she's
like, yeah, they did show up in the case, and I feel very weird about that. And I don't want my involvement in that to speak to. I think Riley was harmed. I hate that Maggie's lawyers used my words to defend her, but like that case was never good.
No, and that was Riley's lawyer's fault. And I mean, I hate saying this word, but it was his incompetence as far as the law he was practicing and the law he was then.
Her lawyers were incompetent, and the case should never have been brought. And the way that a lawyer once told me, not all harms have remedy in the law.
Yeah, they don't.
I don't think that she could ever have sued to be made whole from this. But let me give you an example of one of the things that. So Riley's mother sent a text message to Maggie asking her what she wanted in her coffee order in the same week that she was in conversation with USAG's counsel trying to get them to ban her.
And you know, like,
Like,
I mean,
and I don't blame Maggie for thinking that Riley's mother was evil, because what kind of person is like having that kind of
interaction
human
with you and then suing
exchange
you.
with
Yeah.
you while trying to take you down?
A manipulative
And
one.
Absolutely, I think
and I
she
see a
definitely
lot
had a
of people
unique
be like,
also
oh,
dismount and mount as well,
you
I
know,
believe. So
escaping
obviously,
an abusive
been working
relationship
on
is
how she can
hard.
make
And
her
I have no
gymnastics
doubt,
stand out that little
like,
bit more,
I have no
be a bit
doubt
more
Maggie
creative
was a
on her
piece of
approach
shit.
to her gymnastics.
But
And then also back it up with the tumbles as well.
Riley's
There's the
mother
2.5
did some
twist, step
really
forward.
weird things.
And
Really
honestly,
weird.
But obviously helping
and
to
this
control
doesn't
the
sound
landing.
bad, but it's kind. It seemed like a money grab.
And then also her spin as well.
I don't think it was a money grab. My
In
impression
gymnastics, it's a
is
requirement, actually, Christine,
that
they have to sell the routine to the judges, and
once
that was so
Riley's
expressive.
mother figured out that things were
Yes,
going really
certainly. And,
badly,
you know, a
I
lot of
think she
gymnasts
was
do an
looking for
awful lot
someone
of
to
work
blame
on
who
the
wasn't
dance
her.
side, and the
And
leaps
that's
and the spins
sometimes
do
the
count for
hard.
an awful lot.
Honestly,
We tend to
it is the hardest thing as an
think
adult
about the wonderful
to
tumbling, but the
admit,
dance and the
sometimes to admit
expressive
is that
side
you were the
count for
problem.
an awful lot as well.
So one of the reasons why that case was so terrible, ultimately, is that when at least in U.S. courts, the court does not want you to
Last year we saw on a
sue
few
one person
occasions,
who causes
particularly
you
when the judges
harm
don't see her scoring tremendously
when there's a
highly.
group of people
In
who
fairness
caused
to
you
the
harm.
routines, 12.8, that was a very
And
good score.
the ultimate problem was that you can find bits and pieces of the adults who caused Riley's suffering in the hands of multiple people. And so Tom Forrester is observing all of these things and giving advice, but isn't actually
Very elegant
invested in
on the beam, and
her.
I'd expect to
So
see
his
a
advice is kind of weird, and he's
similarly
signing off
beautiful routine here.
on like Maggie was sending
Oh, a lovely high double
PTs
straight
and doctors
somersault.
and Tom Forrester training plans. So you can't sue Maggie for her training plans
Loss of control on the spin,
if
though.
but not Tom Forrester or the PTs.
And then you can't sue Maggie if you're not going to sue
The
Riley's mom
doctors
for
and
negligence.
her mom and
Tight on the
Tom,
leaps.
and so like I'll give you an example of one of the things I found completely bizarre. The doctor was
Cleanly round
Riley's
the triple
doctor
spin.
was asking Riley to participate in helping her make an act
Somersault into 2.5 twists.
for
Gymnasts have to include a
athletes
front somersault
in the
a
middle
tumbling
of her
pass.
treatments. Like,
isn't that malpractice?
Like, it was a weird conflict of interest, and I'll say this because Riley has said it publicly. Like, Riley has talked about the eating disorder she had, and I'm just going to say the eating disorder was like red flags all over the email exchanges between multiple people, between the doctors, the techs, the
very impressive.
mom.
Lots of helpful tumbling going
Like,
on there as well.
mm,
Also some exceptional landings.
the fact that she had an eating disorder should have been obvious to everybody.
Yeah, and then most gymnasts do.
But like
it's unfortunate.
the extreme, I don't want to say details because
because they're sealed. Yeah,
they're sealed. But like the extremity of that eating disorder people should have stopped her from doing gymnastics.
I mean, someone who developed an eating disorder as a result of gymnastics training, like when I read all that, it was triggering.
And you did not eat, like, there are things that Anna and I did not publish that were in those files, and we kind of, it was public record for a while but we
Good
kind of
landing,
went
great way to
by
finish off her
the
routine
fact that it was
and
not easy to
competition.
navigate the New Jersey court system,
Well-constructed
Yeah.
routine
and
there
we
as
did
well
not help
with,
people find them
it was a
because
good
there were
mix,
things that
actually, because
just did not need to
it
be
had some of the
public.
big tumbles.
Yeah.
She was very
And
precise
and
on
I
the big
wish I
tumbles
didn't
on the
know them,
landings, the double
but
layout and the
like
double pipe back somersault.
I mean, as someone who has suffered, who had to go for rehab for eating disorder, like the extent that that disorder does see, like bulimia itself, like
Oh yeah, the high 12s, I would think.
I suspect that
The
Riley
hopping
had an
the
eating
spin
disorder
will have
before she came to Maggie
lost her
Haney.
a little bit. Plus
I
the
don't
yeah.
think
value of the spin.
Maggie helped her.
But I think
No,
she
not at all.
might have
That
progressed
that
to
seems like one of those, like
13.
it starts in the home.
And 12.8 for
But
Victoria Wu of Canada. Move over judges.
I will say there are text exchanges where her mother talks about Riley eating lettuce for dinner.
Yeah.
So the first 5
Um,
gymnasts have finished their competition,
but
and this is how they stand at the moment. Victoria Wu
I mean,
leads
coming from
them
something like, again,
with
like
Leah
but if
having had
I
Grieser
was gonna
second,
pick
Ellie
the
Downey
person I
third,
thought was
Maggie Kajita
most
fourth,
irresponsible in
and
that whole
Yu
batch,
Zhihu
it's
bringing
not
mom.
Maggie,
the
it's not
fifth
her mom,
position.
Oh,
it's
really?
that fucking doctor.
Who
We
suggests
see our
like
final 4
rhabdo as an
gymnasts warming
excuse?
up on the floor. It's likely that the winners will
Who
come from this group.
you know, if it's outside, you know, if it's okay
Today
like tonight.
I don't
start
want,
Caroline
because
Haduit
it
will
is
be
explicitly
second,
one of
followed
the
by
things
Riley
sealed. I
McCusker,
don't
and
want
our
to
final
explain why
gymnast of
we
the
know the
day will be
rhabdo didn't
Alea
exist,
Mustafina.
but the like
I think I
it,
remember
re-
that.
Coming back to
it
fitness,
really did not
actually, the floor
exist.
routine is
Yeah.
a piece of apparatus that really does
Um,
take that muscular
in
endurance to
a
get
very
through. So
unambiguous way.
it's not a foregone conclusion
And just
And
that
like
Mustafina's
it's
going
malpractice, like
to
to
walk
suggest
away as the
that, like
champion
just even to
today.
like be
She's
like,
still
oh,
got to put a routine
it's this,
together.
and it was
I
careless.
don't know
It's
if
tactless.
Riley even knew she didn't have it. So like,
And our next competitor on
imagine
the
if
floor representing Brazil,
you are told that you have
Adex.
rhabdo and you go and look it up on
So
Google.
Thais
It's a
Fidalis
scary diagnosis.
starts
Right.
this final subdivision,
I'm not
and
Like
at all
she's
convinced that she
shown
didn't
us some
know that she
excellent work.
didn't have it.
I want to know if she, like, well, I'm sure now she knows she didn't, but like,
Yeah, and like I'm sorry that she had to find it out from me saying her lawsuit didn't have merit, but
yeah, but someone had to tell her. Someone had to tell her
Walk
because,
out into the double Arabian.
oh wow,
Oh, just little foot out
but it's
there.
one of those
That'll be
things
point
that's like,
one.
I mean you can see. But by the way, since we're talking, like you can see why people thought that Fidelis was going to be the
oh,
next big
absolutely,
thing.
absolutely.
Let me
She has
see
such
when
promise.
she last competed.
And the thing
So
is,
she
like,
got.
go ahead.
So she was at the South American Games last year.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
Second tumble, full twisting double back.
So there's probably just nursing injuries, something.
Yeah, she's a 2001 birthday though, so she might have just retired this year.
Maybe.
But anyway,
No, and just like, I mean,
Stands
just
up
to give some
easily into the
insight,
double
like
toe.
bulimia in itself, well, and anorexia, they go hand in hand, are so insidious
Good in the
because
lead
you
there.
are, it's, and body dysmorphia goes along with those too. Like, the reflection in the mirror isn't what you see at all. At
but
all.
like, but going back to like
It's a good solid tumble.
the
Come
a
on.
gymnast at MG Elite
Up into the
cracked her
double pike. Well, that
skull
was well
open
spotted.
when she fell off bars
That was a
and
great
hit her head
routine
on a
to finish
concrete
a
floor.
competition.
And that case was settled, and it's very clear, and I think that was the very strongest case to be
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
And it's a gymnast now at Pitt. But Riley was staying with that family when that accident happened.
Like, she was there. She knew firsthand. She witnessed firsthand, like,
And
that didn't deter her mom or her, like, from going to the gym. 'Cause that would
yeah,
have been it for me.
and Riley had not been there long when that happened.
She'd been
So
like 3 months,
you
right?
can't, yeah, so you
Yeah.
can't say, oh, she was, used to that relationship. They were there for a reason.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
That's why everyone's like Hazley Rivera's dad being like, if I wanted her to like, have fun and play around, I would send her to clown school.
Nothing to take away from the
In
judges on the
part of
ruling on that one.
I think part of my sympathy for Riley's mom is that I think she was looking for someone to be responsible for the pain her daughter was going through.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I think was going on.
Which
but-
is, admirable for a parent to do, but sometimes the call is coming from inside the house.
Or at least there was a party in the house and, he was part of it.
Yeah.
Maggie is a terrible person.
Yeah. I mean, she's a cunt. Did I tell you about the dream I had once?
I mean, that was the funniest thing about when Maggie's lawyers quoted me in their filing, because they quoted me saying she was a terrible person. Because one of the things they quoted, they were trying to, when they quoted me, they were saying that even someone who disliked Maggie didn't think the case was strong, which was true.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was the case had no foundation.
The case had
after.
no merit, unfortunately.
Yeah,
no. But it was kind of weird kind of thing of like, oh, I'm in this case being quoted by the defense attorneys saying the defendant is terrible.
I can only imagine, like, it coming up and you reading your name.
Smooth spin.
Like,
it was like the whole Reddit thread was in the court filings.
That's insane. That reminds me of. Go ahead.
It was just so weird. Anyway.
Well, no, it was weird. Like, so I've been trying to do Adex at night for like
2.5 punch front.
Since probably around after Rio-ish. So it's like what now? That's for 7 years now. No, 5 years.
Loss of control.
And then to see myself in Lainey Matson's video that she made recently, that tripped me the fuck out.
Was quite high enough.
So a gymnast mother keeps liking my tweets.
Yeah.
Like a junior gymnast mother keeps liking my tweets about her daughter. I'm like, I don't want you to know that I'm talking this much about your 15-year-old. But anyway,
Helen Kever's amazing.
It just felt a bit
Helen Kever's mother has not done anything wrong. It's just it's a very weird to see her mother in my likes.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway,
the
thing about that court case that
extremely difficult actually to get your feet in the
that is really hard to wrap my head around is
an impressive opening tumble.
I'm not convinced that anyone in that court case didn't know she didn't have rhabdo until Reddit told them that she didn't have rhabdo. Because what happened was the court documents had certain medical test results in them that I'm not going to detail.
Yeah. And once you read the results,
the results were definitive. They established she did not have rhabdo by a lot. And
that was on the doctor.
But the thing is that the rhabdo was one of the things Riley's lawyers were suing over.
Yeah.
So if Maggie's lawyers knew that she didn't have rhabdo, they would have said it immediately.
Yeah.
But they didn't say she didn't have rhabdo as a matter of medical fact until Reddit found it.
And honestly, I think that shows the power that can come from like citizen journalism. Honestly, because I mean,
So I mean, what basically happened is a bunch of doctors on Reddit in the thread where we were talking about that lawsuit looked at those test results and said that can't be rhabdo. It just can't.
Isn't that amazing? Just like being able to like field your own little like thing group.
She was probably overtrained. I will point that out. She was certainly overtrained. She had an eating disorder. Maggie, we know, is an abusive fuck.
Yeah.
So.
Let's just enjoy the floor.
Yeah. Let's celebrate Riley.
There's a forward pass. Nice combination. Straight front with a double twist. Punch front.
And I hated the fucking lingerie Leos. Please. Ew. Sylvia Plath, right? Ugh. Can't do it. Can't do it.
Wasn't this supposed to be like the Survivor
Easily
tribute,
round
Leo?
in the double pike. This gymnast has got beautiful extension in the legs.
Wasn't it?
It's the teal, Leo.
Stretch right
Yeah.
through to the toes.
Jesus.
Like,
Double spin.
Simone wore this
Controlled with
at
ease.
Worlds, the previous Worlds.
Yeah. The irony. And you know, that's a fucked up part about
In
this
there.
entire
Good
thing, man. Like,
execution on that leap combination.
I'll wait till she finishes. Two.
Yeah.
Must compose herself.
Let's
for
not
this
talk
big
to her
tumble.
or
Stands
Mustafa.
up into the double back in the tuck position. Well, that was a measured performance from the young American. Just what she needed. And after that,
You know, to those of you who like music, you know, and follow, you know, other things other than gymnastics, Britney Spears' tell-all book, written by her in her words, comes out this week. And there's excerpts that have, like, you know, leaked and have come out. In part of the book, it says Britney details the fact that at 19, her and Justin got pregnant, and she was forced to get an abortion. She doesn't say exactly who forced her to get an abortion, but she kind of alludes to being forced. In which, then if you look back, you realize, oh, the song "Every Time" isn't about Justin; it's about the baby that they almost had together. And so when you look back on things like that, and if you look at it like from gymnastics point of view, it's like the more you find out, and then you look back on these competitions, and like you realize what the person's going through at the time. It's like, how the fuck did you survive that?
Yeah, like, this is not the worst that Riley's body is going to portray her the year of this competition, but it's the start of it.
Yeah, and everything can be traced back to it.
Like, Riley's body is going to start objecting to its literal starvation and overtraining at this competition.
Yeah. And that paired with like psychological trauma, emotional
And, like,
trauma, it all just comes.
One of the things that I will never forgive Tom Forster for
The
is
ice cream post.
the ice cream post. Like, he posts a picture of him and Riley eating ice cream after Pan Am's and talking about it as changed culture. And her body is like absolutely
all-around competition
destroying itself at that point.
Yeah. And he knew.
Anyway,
And he knew.
let's watch Mustafina and then we'll talk a little more.
Yeah.
Another exceptionally beautiful gymnast.
Speaking of Survivor, ironic.
With ease, the full twisting double back. And the triple spin. Sky high double tuck. She didn't quite finish that spin.
We were watching the 2019 Birmingham World Cup.
Yes.
And
for Pan Am's that starts this weekend, which we can talk about here in a second. We're just getting Mustafina. This is Mustafina's last flow routine of her career.
The full twisting front.
Yeah, no, she would get hammered in this code.
Super extension up on her toes.
she wins this because she falls the least.
herself enough in the locker for this final tumble. Here we go.
And she puts up an amazing bars routine. But
wow, what a performance and what a treat to see Ali.
Yeah, so that's Mustafina's last ever floor routine. This is her last competition.
Good for her, but yeah, that would not score well this code.
So this is the second of, I guess, what we're going to call a series where I pick a random competition. I don't tell Adex what it is. And he just has to, like, go into it cold.
Yeah.
So we
I felt-
watched 1981 Worlds, and this is the 2019 Birmingham World Cup.
So okay, Pan Am's. Pan Am's start this weekend. They start on the 21st. It'll be. You don't have to watch it here. I'm not forcing you to. You're free to watch it on the Pagu website.
She's really
Yes.
looked as if she's
On the
The
Pagu
Pan Am
website.
Sports, Pan Am Sports.
Yeah, they'll be streaming it live for y'all if you want to watch it over there. But if you want to watch it with your friends, your fellow gymnastics gym nerds here, you can in the chat. We'll be streaming the entire competition from beginning to end, just gymnastics. Oh, and I'll do rhythmic too, just for the one time. That starts on the 21st and then ends on the 24th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
The Olympic qualification will be decided in the qualification round.
Yes.
So
That'll
just
be-
so you,
That'll be like the
you
most
know.
important part of it. Like that will be like
Yeah, the on the schedule it's going to be listed as qualification and team final.
Yeah. Yeah, it ends on the 25th. My bad. That's the last day of the finals. So yeah, so tune in for that. That'll start at 4:15 p.m. That's when I'll go live here on Twitch. It starts at 5, so 4:30. My bad. Starts at 4:30 Central. Around there.
So I want to, as we're watching them wrap up, I do want to talk a little bit more about the lawsuit in Riley and Maggie. According to the court documents, what happened was, so the rest of this year is she goes to Pan Am's. Her body is basically starting to shut down. There are issues that are showing up in her doctor. Her doctor is the USAG national team doctor, but she has a person, but she's also Riley's personal doctor.
Yeah.
One of the
PCD.
things that makes me so angry about her treatment was that this woman was an expert on the female athlete triad of overtraining, the eating disorders. Like, Riley was exhibiting all of these symptoms, and this was supposedly a woman.
Oh, that's not. Oh, okay. Should be one. Yeah, go ahead.
So Riley's doctor was also the national team doctor at the time. She was an expert in the female athlete triad. The idea that she was looking at this patient and not just stopping everything is unconscionable. So when we say everyone in Riley's life failed her,
Everybody in her life failed her. Period.
everyone did. And the US court system does not want people to sue one person in a group of people who hurt you. And so when we say her case wasn't good, it's not because Riley didn't suffer or that Riley shouldn't have gotten some justice. Just that according to US law and really the law of most countries in the world, you needed to hold everyone who caused Riley harm responsible. And that, yes, that included Maggie, but it also included her parents, and particularly her mother, who was in communication with Maggie every step of the way.
Tom Forrester.
The PTs, because like a thing I think got lost with a lot of people is Maggie was sending training plans to Tom Forrester and to doctors and to physical therapists. Like, at no point in the court case was there ever any evidence that Maggie was violating the training plans approved by all these other people. And the case basically died when correctly the judge said or when Maggie's lawyers correctly insisted that all these other people be added to the lawsuit.
Because they had
And
been originally added to the lawsuit, but then they like were removed, right?
well, no. So what happened was a bunch of people got added, and a few people got removed.
Okay.
So basically, the way this happens in lawsuits is a shotgun of everyone gets added, and then they petition themselves to be removed. So, like, there was a sports psychologist who only talked to Riley on the phone, and he got removed. But like, it's pretty clear he didn't see a lot of her. Like a PT who barely saw her got removed, but the doctors, the hospitals that she went to, like they were all deeply involved. But the other thing I just want to stress though is the level of very obviousness of her eating disorder is something that is going to haunt me from all of those text messages. Like, you had her mother sending text messages back and forth with Maggie where they're talking about like 8th grade school after school special eating disorder, like Saved by the Bell level things you tell people to look for in an eating disorder, like red flags up the wazoo. And you have these adults who are talking about these issues, and they're not saying she needs to be in a hospital.
Yeah, I mean that's
And
ultimately
and so, like, I just want to stress, since I feel somewhat responsible for the Gymternet knowing that court case wasn't good, I just want to stress it wasn't that the court case wasn't good because Riley wasn't hurt.
It was that it was presented by competent lawyers who were used to class action suits. If I'm right.
Yeah, her lawyers had never handled a suit like this.
Workers' comp. They did workers' comp.
No, they did asbestos cases.
Oh, asbestos claim. Yes.
Like, so she had bad lawyers. Maggie had good lawyers.
Very good.
Maggie's lawyers had a better case.
Yeah.
I will say the other thing to know is that when Maggie's suspension was reduced, one of the things that was thrown out was Riley's case in that suspension, because essentially they didn't give Maggie any chance to defend it. Like, they suspended her based on the evidence from a bunch of things.
It was a knee-jerk reaction.
Well, they gave Maggie like 3 days to prepare the defense against the Riley part of that case.
That's not
in the safe sport case, which is why the suspension was reduced. Yeah. There were 3 gymnasts whose testimony was given to Maggie too late for Maggie to respond. And I hate defending Maggie Haney's rights.
But sometimes you have to look at it objectively and be like, this isn't how you do things.
Yeah, this wasn't fair.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to emphasize is Maggie Haney's suspension will be up in 2 years, and she will be back.
She's still coaching.
She's still coaching now, and there will be parents who bring their children to her. We will be seeing Maggie Haney at competitions in 2025, I assure you.
But I mean, we see Al Fong now. We see Al Fong has more blood on his hands than Maggie Haney does.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said. Like, as much as that New York Times article where she was woe is me and saying she was a scapegoat, I think there's merit to saying that she was a scapegoat.
She was. They try to make an example out of her without.
She's an unlikable person.
And that's on her. That's on her own fault.
Yeah, that's on her. But like,
you
she
also
was
can't.
she was a perfect scapegoat for the coaching establishment to
I
say
mean, Rhonda Fain,
she is the
a
bad one.
casualty of the entire NASCAR thing. Rhonda Fain, a great coach, did what
Yeah,
she
Rhonda
thought
Fain
was
made
right.
mistakes, but also like Sarah Jancy did the same thing Rhonda Fain did.
Sarah Jancy like wrote letters of support for Maggie Haney.
Yeah, that too.
So like, no one wins here.
I mean, the only person, the only coach in the country that I trust is Cassie Rice.
Yeah. One thing like about Maggie Haney, which I just find fascinating, is the story of like when she was in college and someone was murdered.
I haven't heard this story.
Oh, you don't, girl. Hold on, you don't know this story?
No.
Okay, so the year is like 19, whatever the fuck. You know, when she was in college, she went to I believe UNC. I could be that could
No, she went to NC State.
NC State. There you go. There was a party. There were football players, and there was her and like the gymnast, and they had a party. They were drinking, whatever. Apparently, there was someone wasn't invited to the party or wasn't let into the party, and they were across the street, and hold on, because I don't know if there was a gunshot from the party to the individual or the individual was shot at the party, but the football players went into the house. There was a struggle, and then ended up with the individual who had, I guess, shot at the party dying. And then the police showed up, and they took in Maggie Haney and some of the people for questioning, and yeah, that's what happened.
Like as much as I've sort of been not excusing Maggie, but like talking about Maggie this way, I think it's worth pointing out something that Lori said about Maggie. She talked about how the neighbors of the gym called the police for noise violations because you could hear Maggie Haney yelling at gymnasts in the parking lot. Like,
She's a terrible person.
She was in the building. And one of the things I really want to have people think about is that Maggie wasn't subtle. And it's not just that Riley's parents should have seen it, or that the parents of Paisley Rivera should have seen it. Everyone in those arenas knew Maggie Heaney was trouble.
Yeah. I mean,
and I'm not going to name them, but like lots of our favorite gym correspondent people didn't say anything.
Scott Bregman was one of the people that did. Like he tells a story about like how in the mixed zone or whatever they did after Lori won her medal, that Maggie just was acting out.
But like there were lots of those people who will say things after the fact.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not going to name them, but this is one of the problems I have with people who want inside sources or to be inside within the gym world is that they don't say things.
And I think that's like the biggest thing that like
we have just let me finish for a second. We have stories of Maggie going off and screaming at her gymnasts on the floor of US Nationals. And you go back to looking at the gymnastics reporting from those US Nationals and no one says anything about it.
Like, and I don't know if like that's one thing that like, because I, as someone who grew up with the family of journalists and like, you know, my grandparents owned a publishing press and all that. Journalism has always been a big part of my upbringing, and so someone who kind of like understands having taken journalism in college, just like having to like, you know, make sure you have sources and all that, and protect your sources, and also cover your ass. There's also another part of me that's like, you know, if I see an injustice, I'm gonna speak up about it. So like I'm to a fault, because you know sometimes I have been known to be unhinged. Sorry, it's just, you know, if I see something being done, I'm not just gonna sit there and like, you know, just allow it to be done. I'm gonna speak up, and sometimes especially recently, I've had to like learn that you know,
I mean, you can't set everyone on fire.
you
And
can't. You
and
can't.
I have more sympathy for people who did not see Kim Zemeskel and Chris Burdett as a problem,
Yeah.
because I think they were better at hiding it.
Yeah. But at the same time,
Maggie was not good at hiding it.
she wasn't. And the thing is that at the same time, it's like, it's a very difficult dichotomy to exist within, to be a fan of gymnastics and someone who makes content and, has been able to.
And needs sources. I mean, this
Yeah.
is why NBC quotes coaches so much, is because they have no other source for what is going on with a gymnast than their coach.
And having like broken the Fisk story, and sometimes I have to protect sources. I have to protect, people who tell me things, because they don't want to be like, either face repercussions or whatever it may be. I don't give a fuck. When it comes to things like that, I don't give a fuck, because I've lost everything because of the internet. So I have nothing. I'm like, I'm the most dangerous person because I have nothing to lose.
Do you know how terrified I was when I wrote that first Riley court case?
I can only imagine.
Thread.
I can only imagine.
Riley was the darling of the gymternet, and Maggie was the devil, and I was writing a long post about how Riley should not win that court case.
But you were being
I
objective.
was terrified.
And people just sometimes don't understand that yes, you can support the gymnast.
People were and I should say, people were supportive of it of that thread, and as I was writing updates. But there was a point when I posted some of those screenshots of of Riley's mother's texts that people were deeply angry at me and said it was about my ego. And I was like, you don't understand this case if you don't see how deeply involved your mother was.
And the thing is, like,
anyway,
it's just like her mom. I think the entire thing with the young lady who cracked her head, like, it's as a parent, I don't care how many gold medals your gym has won. Like, I'm not gonna send my kid to you if someone's cracked their skull in your pit because of your senseless coaching methods. Like, forcing someone to do a skill that they're not comfortable doing,
and having your bar set up so that you could crack your head on a concrete floor,
and then laughing about it.
Like, I think there were ultimately two things that lost me all respect for Riley's parents. And I don't want to, and when I say Riley's mother, I really do mean her mother, because her father does not show up in any of this.
Is he like present?
I don't know where he was or what he was doing. He was just not in the documents.
Yeah.
But the two things that I thought were basically fatal to Riley's case was that she was living with Emily's family when that injury happened, and that she was still going to the MG Elite gym a week before before Maggie was suspended.
And like you said, like the fact that Riley's mom like asked for a drink order, and it's like, ma'am.
Yeah, the drink order I don't think was going to have any legal bearing, but the idea that like she was getting Maggie Haney coffee from Wawa. At the same time, she was trying to destroy Maggie
What a
Haney's life.
Wawa.
Yeah, it was a Wawa order.
Oh
Um,
no.
like she literally texts Maggie Haney asking her what she wants from Wawa. Like I somewhere on my computer I have Maggie Haney's coffee order. But which is such a weird thing. Um,
And the thing is, like,
and
that's an example of like how small this community is.
in fact, give me a second. I can actually read that exchange to you.
Please, but yeah, like
I
that's
just have to find it.
yeah, go for it. Just I'll say, that's why it's very. I really want to bring this up, but it's been on my mind honestly. There's a creator or was a creator called Inquisitor 3. He was a streamer. He streamed video games. Um, the situation that happened was that people, I guess, just didn't like him or something for some reason. And essentially, the group of I think it was a couple, or maybe 3 people. I forgot the details right now, but essentially they tried to set him up. They had this one young lady who this young lady said she was an adult. She was a minor, and she started flirting with him. He was having none of it, but she kept on egging it on. These people. Go ahead.
Sorry, this is not what I was going to read, but I want to read this one. So
Yeah.
this is Maggie Haney talking in a text message to Riley's mother. 1 second, let me read this whole thing. Okay, so this is a text exchange from October of 2019. Hi again. I was kind of hanging out with David last night. Yes, you told me about the calorie deficit. Could be why recovering was hard for her, but maybe not. She is 18, so I totally get she looks amazing because this is Maggie. Sorry. As always, she's just not as strong as normal. She is a little softer and she can feel it. Might be from too much time off, skipping conditioning before Worlds, or could be from the slight diet change. That's what I was trying to say last night. Like I said before, typically I would do more conditioning to get her more of her strength back, but I want to make sure that that's right for the situation. She asked me if she was too heavy to tumble. She asked me, am I too heavy, and is that why I can't tumble? I said no. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just still an after effect of your recovery, and you're just slower. It's part of the comeback process. That's Maggie Haney. That's not how we think of Maggie Haney.
No.
But like, imagine Riley is going, am I too heavy to tumble? When you know what Riley looked like at that time.
That is so triggering. Because like I went through that. Like
it's just, how do you?
And that's like that's insidious. That's like
So like, I have no doubt that Maggie was encouraging this at other points, but she's also like, she's complicated.
it's a very nuanced situation. I mean, like I was saying earlier, like let me finish the story. Goddamn, let me finish the
Go
story.
ahead. Sorry,
So let me finish,
that was just one that came up to my.
no, you're fine. Look for a drink order. Let me finish the Inquisitor 3 thing. So
Yeah.
they essentially set him up and like they started all these rumors about him and called him a pedophile, a groomer, and all these things. After people started like spreading that like wildfire, he took his own life.
Okay, so sorry, Maggie Heaney's coffee order.
Yeah.
I would love so this is Jessica. This is Riley's mother. Hi, I'm at a Wawa. Do you want anything? I don't know if Riley told you, but her ankle is still a little sore on hard landings. Maybe do some soft landing stuff today since Arena has all that stuff, rather let it rest and heal another day and be ready for the next week. It's definitely getting better. So this is the level of involved that Riley's mother was.
Yeah.
So she's at Wawa. She's suggesting that she do soft landings, whatever, you know. Maggie responds with, "Hi, I would love coffee." It's that's always a yes. 16-ounce hazelnut coffee with hazelnut cream and half and half.
Of course, she would be a hazelnut girly.
Anyway, so now
Yes.
you know what Maggie Heaney's coffee order was.
Mine's always gonna be pumpkin spice latte, please. But yeah, so he took his own life,
Yeah.
and as someone who went through that, had people like lie on my name and spread all these rumors, and it and you know, with this whole thing we've been talking about the entire time about, like, you know, appearing in court cases, it's like we have to remember, like, people see these things, okay? Like, you know, the lawyers and the Maggie and Bradley case saw Catherine's posts, and rightfully so, because they were very detailed and very, you know, they were excellent. But you have to remember that, you know, gymnasts see your posts and what you put on Twitter and what you say about them and all this and the third. But also, even if they're not athletes, even if they're, you know, just streamers like I am, like, it doesn't matter if I'm 32. It doesn't matter if you're 21 like the guy was, or 24 like the guy was. We're still people. You at home, who have, like, you who get to hide behind your keyboard and have anonymity, get to just go about your life like it's nothing. And after all the damage you did, like, I went from making $3,500 a month to bringing less than $650, all because someone started a lie and because they just felt the need to, for clout or whatever it may have been. And just to know that someone else went through that and he took his own life, I thought about it. I'm not gonna lie, I thought about it.
I think you have to be careful about what you say about real people, and this is the problem of being in a sports fandom where these are not fictional characters.
Yeah.
But also, the athletes need to do some curating of their internet experience, and they also need to understand that saying things like, "I do not like this routine for this reason," or "her twisting form is garbage," or, like, that's not a character judgment.
No.
And I think that some of it is, like, do I like the idea that Suni Lee might see me questioning whether she can make it back to the Olympics? No. I'd rather she never know anything about anybody questioning that. But it's also, you can't expect people not to talk about it.
And also, like with my situation, it kind of relates. Just don't search your name. Just don't search your name.
And you need to know that the algorithm might serve up people talking about you to you.
Yeah,
So,
it does.
like, I don't think that Suni was searching her name. I think Twitter was just handing her those posts.
Yeah, and the way that the algorithm works now, having, like, seen some of the back and someone posted about it, you don't even have to use hashtags anymore. Like, certain words just pop up, like, and the algorithm is very good about filtering out things. And even if you use a hashtag, that's not gonna get it to whoever you're trying to shoot it at, or, like, have feed it. Like, what really ramps up, like, your appearance in the algorithm now is engagement and building a community that engages with you. Also, like, not linking to videos outside the platform and all this, but all that is just, like, if you're interactive within the platform, you'll pop up more. And so that's why you see some people get the, like, you know, the hit tweets that they get. It's because they even without them trying, because now many people don't know how the algorithm works, but just like certain interactions and certain behaviors on there will make you pop up. And regardless, I've learned to just not search my name because it's not good. It's not good. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
how many times I try to dispel it. It doesn't matter how many times I provide proof or like ask for proof. Like it's a wash, you know. But I'm thankful that I was mentally strong enough and had the support in real life and was able to get therapy and all that to withstand that, because it really pains me to know that that creator, you know, ended his life because of what other people said about him.
The other thing I want to also emphasize is there are people who are in this community who are operating anonymously, who are insiders.
Yeah.
And they are some of the worst members of the Chimternet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to name who this is, and I don't know who they are in real life, but there was somebody associated with Gage,
I remember
who
that.
was I'm pretty sure some kind of USA brevet judge, who got themselves banned from the gym subreddit during Worlds because they couldn't help themselves but trash Leanne Wong in like deeply personal ways. And like, I am absolutely convinced there is some parent of some British gymnast who goes through and downvotes anything that questions British gymnastics.
I'm banned. I'm blocked by them. And I'm blocked by
Well,
the OU gymnastics team. But that's for saying that Kelly Garrison was sounded like a squeaker toy.
but like there are like one
You
of the
never know who's
problems.
behind the username. Is
Yeah,
what we're
you
getting
never
at.
know who's behind internet handles. I mean,
Throwaway account.
but one of the things that happened when the Utah accusations came out was this subreddit moderator had to block a bunch of people who created new Reddit accounts just to trash the accusers.
Yeah.
And like, this is a small niche fandom where the principles in the fandom are crossing in a way that I never have experienced in my previous fandom life, because I was
It's
in like
far removed.
fictional show fandoms
And it was kind of far
where
removed
there
from the
was
actors.
where like actors did not interact with fans in that way, and so it's very weird to me when gymnasts interact with fans in that way. And yeah, you have a responsibility as a fan, and yes, a lot of these are young people, and but
There's a lot behind the scenes of gymnastics as a whole. If you only knew, like, and there's some things
like,
that like I will literally never talk about because of like morality and just like, you know, because whatever. But there's so much shit that goes behind the scenes that it would blow your mind.
yeah, I want to stress that the stuff I know about the court case is literally reading public records, and some of them are no longer public, which is why I'm vague in some senses. And I'm
There's
trying to respect Riley's privacy because they were sealed.
like there are some things that I have done for other like platforms or whatever that either they use or haven't used or like, or it's just it's wild, man. Like for example, and I can talk about this now because it's so far removed or whatever. I designed. I think I talked about this publicly about I designed Fisk's first leotards for the first season.
Yeah.
They were altered or whatever. But then I'm not sure many people at like College Gym News who hired the person who started all the rumors about me. But that's another thing. I don't think they knew that because they named 3 or 4 designs from the Fist collection as their best of the year. And so it's things like that. And it's things like, God, there's a lot of examples, but I know that term I can't talk about. Just other, like several other things that I'm just like
Tiki is public about who she is.
Yeah.
And that's rare.
Yeah.
Like, so many regulars on the Gymternet are parents, are gymnasts.
Coaches or judges. I mean, these people aren't just like on TV. Like they're people. They're people. Like just like you, like me, like our viewers.
And
And so
they're as obsessed with the sport as you are.
yeah, more so
So like,
some, you know.
you know, when
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 I can't say, when we say we can't talk about some things, it's because either the person doesn't want us to talk about it, or it's not the right time, or we've been asked to like not speak on it yet. And some things, I mean, I'm human. I slip up and like I'll say some shit and I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But like when
yeah, I
people are
mean
like,
the thing I would be tempted to say now is that everything about the Giga Gymnastics League thing, they look incompetent.
yeah, that's a wash. That's a wash. Sorry, Amy.
And
Sorry,
and
but it's truth.
I want to point out, Amy Borman does not have a good history with things like picking good sponsors. She was involved with multi-level marketing, weight loss nonsense.
Shakes or whatever the fuck it was.
Um,
And you know what? That's not just Amy Borman. Look at
well,
the
I mean, that's a
Finnegan.
lot of people, but like, think about that when you think about when they were trying to find sponsors.
Yeah, and like
But I mean, I guess one of the weird things about me and about Anna, who is Gretchen Stripes
I love
on
her. I love
is the name on Reddit, is both of us came into this not as gym nerds and not initially as gymnastics fans. Both of us came into this whole fandom weirdly because we were interested in the mess, the legal mess.
because it's fascinating how
And
incompetent people are.
so like, she and I have both read all the pages of all of the abuse reports, including the like dense motherfucker from the British gymnastics one that is like
God,
impenetrable. Like, I've read that whole thing, and so has she. And,
I
and like, I don't think that gym fandom is used to reading things like that. Just like I don't think gym fandom was used to listening to that 4 hours of Donatella talking through Zoom meeting problems.
and the thing is like if you don't sit through it, if you don't read through these things, there are things that you will never understand, and then therefore like when you talk out of your ass online and you get ate up, it's because like oh you just don't know because you didn't take the time to actually sit there and read or watch or whatever it may be, and therefore
And
you're like ill informed.
but also, like, you also have to understand that sometimes the people involved in this don't know either.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely not. Yeah, they're incompetent. Like the level of
like
incompetence is staggering sometimes.
the person I'm pretty sure was a USA Brevet judge who got banned from Twitter, from Reddit. Um, I'm pretty sure that one of their big things online was arguing against things they hate about the code currently. And so they knew what the actual code said, they just didn't like it.
And you run into that all the time. Like it's
And the I'm trying to figure
yeah,
out how to say this without.
tiptoe. You're like it's eggshells. We are walking on eggshells a lot of the time
And I don't
because
have, like, I didn't seek out having inside information, and there's still like some details of some safe sport stuff that I know that I kind of wish I didn't know, and I'm waiting for bombs to drop.
for me it's like there was never I was never going to be a streamer. That was never the goal ever. And I kind of fell into all this just by I guess chance. And
But
the relationship with Tiki I've been building for like she was I interviewed what's her name the head of the Casey Joe McGee. They're in college at Texas Tech like in 2011 like Tiki I started talking to back in 2019, so it's like these relationships I've been like fostering for the longest time. And so when people like want to come for certain things I do or whatever. It's like, dude, you don't know me. Like, you don't know. And I wish people would just get to know me before they make
Did I
assumptions.
ever tell you what sent Anna and I went through to look at the McCusker court case documents?
No, but I'm fascinated.
So do you remember when Riley posted that weird Instagram last year, right around nationals, that said she would not be silenced?
Yeah.
So we couldn't figure out what that was about because it didn't make sense. It wasn't something that any lawyer should have let her post.
Right.
And so we wondered if there was some movement in the case because no one was reporting anything about those documents. And it happened to be that so the New Jersey courts document system is Byzantine. It's really hard to navigate. And neither of us knew how to navigate it, but we knew who to ask for how to navigate it. And so she and I figured out how to find these documents that no one was reading. So like Jessica from Gymnastic is a former paralegal. So she would, if she had read those documents, I think she would have been reporting on that case differently. But I just don't think she was reading them. No. And so we read these documents and they just weren't what we all thought they were. I mean, we didn't know she didn't have rhabdo at the point when we were still reading the documents because neither she or I had the medical expertise to see what was obvious in those lab results. Yeah. But we read this document and there were a ton of places where Riley's lawyers were clearly incompetent.
Yeah, glaringly incompetent.
And they're probably fine in their own field, but the worst thing you can do is hire a lawyer outside of their specialty.
Yeah, because they're not. It's just they train their almost entirely collegiate life or whatever higher education life
for something else. Yeah,
specific. Yeah, you gotta have question in the chat, by the way.
You would. No. I don't know anything about WADA. There is a safe sport investigation in the U.S. system now where I know a gymnast's name, and I wish I didn't. Yeah. And Adex knows it too. Yeah. And we're waiting for the bombshell to drop.
Yeah. There's a lot.
So the thing that, yeah, like I'm really waiting for that safe sport investigation to drop because it's gonna destroy people. You know which one I mean, right?
I think so.
The one that involves families cooperating. So the thing that, so we read through these documents. Riley's lawyers were making some weird arguments
that you wouldn't in an asbestos case if you kind of think about it that way.
Or they were making some arguments that were just
asinine.
Well, there were some typos. There were some typos in their depositions.
And that's the last thing you want to do in a deposition. I'm sorry.
Well,
that's the last thing.
Or in their depositions and their arguments, and what the typos told us was that when lawyers do a lot of a certain kind of work, they have templates in their computer systems. They're not writing the document anew. They're saying, oh, I did this document the same way last time. Let me pull that document up and I'll just change what the internal text is. And in Riley's case, her lawyers had typos in the sort of bulk text that if they were using these kinds of documents regularly would have been in their templates.
Yeah.
So that's when we started looking into what kind of lawyers they were. And when we figured out that they were primarily product recalls and asbestos cases. So her lawyers had generally not taken cases that involved individual victims.
They're class action suits.
Right. So their causes of action were the things that the Gymternet knew of that case, like the rhabdo, the emotional abuse, the encouraging eating disorder stuff. The gymnast who had her head split open after falling off the bars was a case that was filed at the same time. One of the things is that Riley's case had to be filed within a few months of when it was filed, or else she was going to age out of the system. Lori, I kind of think Lori and her family were probably happy that she was too old to be roped into the lawsuit, because my impression is from the brief appearances of Lori's lawyers is that Lori's lawyers, who were experienced in this kind of case, knew that this was a loser.
Yeah.
So there were all sorts of weirdnesses in Riley's filings, and Riley's filings were not detailed.
No.
They were very vague in ways that you would not expect.
And when it comes to a case like this, you have to be as detailed as you can.
Right, and then we read Maggie's filings, and Maggie's lawyers were on it. And Maggie's lawyers were scummy.
Yeah.
They give you the impression of the worst kind of lawyers that you know, but also the kind of lawyers you want defending you.
Yeah.
And Maggie was a digital pack rat. She had all of the email chains, and she had all of the texts. And what they basically did was, in their response, they attached all of these email chains and all of these texts. And they were in the court system for something like 4 months before Anna and I found them. And so they were in the public record, and they had all of this incredibly damning information about Riley's case. Yeah. But no one had been paying attention to them. So I post my first, guys, we've got to reset our expectations about this case because she's going to lose it, was essentially what my first Reddit post was about, in more detail, where I tried to explain the nature of this kind of case
objectively, and it was fantastic.
And then the next filings were Riley's lawyers being pissed that her personal information was in the filings from Maggie's lawyers. So I'm going to give you a bit of inside baseball.
Yeah.
So they sued Maggie, and they also sued the owner of the gym, who is a friend of Maggie's.
It's at hold on, it's
I don't remember her name, honestly.
It's like Lisa, Karen, or something like that.
So those are two sets of defense attorneys for both women, and the documents were in both sets of responses, the same sets of email chains. But one of them had more information than the other, and one of the many examples of Riley's attorneys being incompetent was when they discovered that we were talking about this case publicly. They asked for the first set to be sealed, but they never asked for the second one until the very end of the case. But it turned out, when we lined up the timeline for when that post from Riley about not being silenced was when they were adding her parents to the case. And when she had when they had failed to stop Maggie adding her parents to the case.
But I mean, Maggie
And
was in
that's
the
when the
right.
case was dead. Like, the case was dead as soon as her parents were added. But people interpreted that post from Riley as that they were demanding a settlement or a non-disclosure agreement or something like would be
order.
interpreted as a gag order or a silencing of Riley, when, as far as we can see, there was never that case, because essentially the case was settled because Riley withdrew it because she was not going to win it.
Yeah.
But the thing that I want to emphasize is that the last sort of arguments in that case around the sealing of those records was that Maggie's lawyers opposed the sealing of those medical records, and it's very easy for you to sit back and say, oh, what a shitty thing for them not to want to respect Riley's privacy. But I want to introduce this idea to you that Riley had been saying, and lots of people had been saying about Maggie for years at this point, that Maggie gave her rhabdo.
That wasn't
And
the case.
the only proof that existed that told people that she didn't have rhabdo was in the information that Riley's lawyers wanted sealed for her privacy. And what Maggie's lawyers, I think, were rightly concerned about was that the records would be sealed and that Riley would go back to claiming to have rhabdo and trash Maggie's reputation even more. And
Which Maggie herself ruined already. So
Maggie's like I said, I'm stressing I don't think Maggie is a good person, but I think that this was a legitimate thing for her lawyers to be worried about.
Yeah.
And
because I mean, your goal as a lawyer is to protect your client at all costs.
Right. And I think that this was not a crazy thing for them to be worried about. So what the end result ended up being, I guess the way I want to explain it is that these records were sealed and Maggie can't invoke them on her own in the future. However,
do that, right?
Well, no, if Riley opens the door, then Maggie can use this information to defend herself publicly.
Yeah. Which she has the right to.
So, which I think is probably the just answer to that.
Yeah.
Like, if Riley ever says, I had rhabdo again, which I don't think she will, because I don't think Riley, I think Riley thought she had rhabdo, and she has not said so since we figured she didn't. So I don't think she was doing that disingenuously.
And I mean, and that was like, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that.
Yeah. So anyway, what I'm saying is that I think the court case ended up the way it probably should have under the law, and as much as we don't like it, I think it's probably right.
The law is not perfect.
The law is not perfect. It's not meant for something like Riley's case, and Riley was ill-served by her lawyers, who should never have brought the case to start with. But the other thing I want to emphasize in all of this is I think the reduction of Maggie's safe sport suspension was also probably the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because as much as I don't think that Maggie is a good person, I do think that she was being used as a scapegoat.
Yeah. Because they're trying to get an example out of her.
She can be a bad person and they could have been screwing her at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the takeaway I want everyone to have is Riley was betrayed by every adult in her life, like every adult in her life, and Maggie can be a terrible person and have been a scapegoat in all of this as well. I would never send a gymnast to her.
No.
But
you have to remember, these medals speak for themselves. And if a coach has an athlete that earns a medal, regardless of who they may be, regardless of how they may act, let me look at Steve Nuno.
And I hate to say this, but Maggie appears to be a very good technical gymnastics coach.
Yeah. No, is she good, in terms of, athletes first and all that? No. I mean, certain coaches or certain gymnasts become coaches, like in her case, she's applying things that these are learned behaviors, and these are things that she grew up with and that she applied in her own coaching that she may have thought was okay because that's how she learned. But it goes without saying that coaching methods need to be revised every so often, just so you don't perpetuate things that you may have not been able to deal with on your own as an athlete.
And she had, in some ways, Maggie didn't have good people to reach out to. She had Tom Forrester, and she was reaching out to MLT for advice. So she was looking for advice from mentors. The problem was her mentors were Mary Lee Tracy and Tom Forrester.
Trash. And these are people who themselves haven't dealt with their own trauma, and they're passing it on to gymnasts that they're coaching now. MLT, weighing athletes, weight shaming, using dietitians, and then having them report to her, or counselors, and then them reporting to her. It's just
so she reaches out to MLT for advice on a therapist, and MLT responds with the name of the therapist and the name of 3 unrelated gymnasts who this therapist had helped. And that was in the court documents. And that was one of the first things I was trying to hide. And people got real mad at me when I was not telling them where they could find the documents to read for themselves. And my first priority when I was trying to not help anybody find those documents was those 3 gymnasts from MLT's gym. Who were named in this as needing this psychologist or therapist.
Not that therapy's bad, but just it's
no, but they did
they didn't need to be put out there like that.
Yeah, they did not need to be out there like that. So there were a bunch of things in that where just because I could find it didn't mean I wanted other people to find it.
And the thing
if that makes sense.
It does, and that's your moral responsibility as a human being. So, and when people ask me, when I say certain things, and people ask me well, where'd you hear this? Do you have a source? It's girl, if I could tell you, or if I wanted to tell you, and if I wanted, if they were on the same position as I am, where they don't care anymore, I would tell you. But the fact of the matter is, there's certain situations in which I'm sounding the alarm on something, because these people are too scared of the repercussions in my face, or because this, that, and the other. And so when I tell you, I can't give you a source, it doesn't give you a right to just be oh, well, then it's fake. It's no, it's not fake. It's just it does, I can't. You have to trust me, bro.
At some point, I posted the screenshots of some text messages, and I blacked out. The lawyers had used a marker to black out some information, and you could read the text through their blackout because of the scanner. And so I went and manually blacked out more of it because it was really not something that anyone needed to be seeing. And I got roasted by some people who were really mad and wanted to know what I had blacked out. And I'm you do not need to know that.
And that's part of the reason why. It's part of the reason why when I posted all the interactions between me and the individual, I didn't touch them. I didn't alter them because I knew if I did, it would open another can of worms. And people can accuse me of this and the third, but just I presented the proof that I had. And if it wasn't good,
I just know that I'm sure Riley is aware of at least what went on in Reddit in that situation, because it was entered into her court case, and I'm sure I'm not her favorite person.
And I mean, I think with time she'll understand. Like it was, you're working out of objectiveness, not out of bias.
But like in a similar sense, I'm kind of weird when I interact with, say, Missy Marlowe, because I've made this argument that the medal should have been like that they shouldn't have gotten that bronze medal, and it's not against any of the wonderful gymnasts on that team, but I can imagine if like I think they rightly feel like that medal was stolen from them. I just don't think it was.
And once you look at things objectively and not with bias, you can kind of make those deductions. Kind of like the whole code thing. Like once I sat there and like kind of removed my own like ego from it, I'm like, oh, I started to actually learn as opposed to just like listen.
But like I completely understand why I might not be Riley's favorite person, and so I try not actually to talk about her on Twitter in a way. Like I don't use her name because I don't want Riley to like find anything that I say on Twitter.
And the thing is, even like using asterisks, like that doesn't do anything.
Oh, that doesn't do anything. I
they're
just
still gonna
try
find
not to talk about her,
in general,
honestly.
yeah.
But mostly because I think I didn't say anything wrong, but I think I caused her pain, and there are too many people in her life who caused her pain.
Yeah, and that's the last thing. That's the last thing any of us want to do. Like with the fish situation, I wasn't trying to cause the gymnasts any pain. Well, it was more so like, again, the adults in that situation failed the gymnasts. Like it's like a constant thing that just it happens again and again. It's always the adults in charge that fail these athletes.
It's one of the reasons why I desperately need the IOC to raise the age of competition to 18.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like great gymnasts that are great before 18, but there are too many instances where you need these girls to be adults.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, and part of the reason is because you cannot manipulate an adult as easy as you can a child.
Like, since I know all this information about the German cases, one of the things that I bring up is when I talk about Sophie Schader and Pauline Schaefer-Betts and the issues of their coaches, I hold Schader responsible because she was an adult when she said the things she said. Emma Molesky and her mother have said the same things, but Molesky was a junior and she's still a high school student.
Yeah.
And I don't want, and Molesky's mother has had more about this to say than Molesky herself has said. Yeah. So I there's like holding some gymnasts responsible for what they say versus others because they're not adults or they're not they're still living at home. It's really complicated, and it all makes things so much simpler if they are adults that you can hold responsible for what
you can't
their
use
own
the excuse
actions.
of like, oh, she was young, she doesn't know what she was saying. It's like, well, I mean, you can't hold her accountable even if she's a minor, but you can't. But like, as an adult, you're an adult. You know what you're saying, even if you talk out of your ass. Like, you know what you're doing, you know what you're saying, and it's difficult to hold someone accountable, like you said, when they're a minor because they're a minor. Like,
yeah, and you know, it goes as far as things like the Russians. Like,
yeah.
I think the Russians should be banned. I'm just going to say that, but I don't think that Listinova should be held responsible for going to that rally when she was a minor.
Yeah. She's doing what she's doing what she's being told to do. And
Like,
and honestly, like that
and
entire. Go ahead.
and they might be doing that in, when they're over 18, but I just don't think that she should be legally held responsible for that rally when
And
she was a minor.
the thing is, like, as much as that person who I forget who it was on Jim Internet who like was making excuses for the Russians, some of the things she said were correct. Like, I can only imagine how difficult of a dichotomy must be to be someone who is morally like, against what's going on with the government, but still have to present as though they support the government, because if not, they're going to run into very serious and life-threatening like repercussions because Putin is fucking crazy. So it's just,
But like, you also have to like consider.
the source.
You have to consider the source, and you also have to use a skeptical mind. And I'll give
Discernment
you
is everything.
another example of this with the Russians right now. Early in the war, Melnikova had posted some calls for charity for some refugees, and from an outside perspective, it looked like it was a call for peace and a good thing, and she wanted to support refugees. But when you looked at the details of it, it was very clearly state propaganda that was meant to appeal to certain Western sensibilities.
The same thing goes with like the Finnegan's brooms. Like, on surface, oh my god, they're doing that's amazing. Look what they're doing. But then you look into it, and it's like it's supporting anti-abortion like legislation and like in foundations, and it's just like you're literally like buying brooms to silence or to like, at the detriment of victims of whatever.
So I think that you have to be willing to look at the actions of adults as if they're responsible. You have to be willing to look at information that you may not want to see. Like, I did not want to find the information on the McCusker court case that I found.
But you don't go into that like hoping to find that or like thinking you'll find that. It's just you end up finding.
But you also have to be responsible with the information you find. So I have to be responsible for not spreading the things that were sealed, and you and I both have to be responsible for letting that safe sport case play out the way it plays out.
Because it's none of my business.
Yeah, it's not our story to tell.
No.
And
when it comes to, because it will come to, it's then I will talk about it. But like as it stands, like it's morally it would be corrupt for me to.
So anyway, this was not why we watched this competition. I wanted to watch a competition in the dark and make fun of the British for holding a competition in the dark.
Yeah.
But Riley is a beautiful gymnast. She's a strong young woman who has come out of this whole and happy and seemingly well adjusted. And she has
flourished.
Said some amazing things about being healthier and happier on the other side of this. And I'm glad for that. And I think that instead of celebrating the gymnast she wasn't as an elite when she was unhappy and not in a good place, let's all celebrate Florida Riley.
Yeah, the woman she's becoming, and she will be.
And I have good feelings for her, even if maybe I'm never going to be her favorite person.
And sometimes that's just like, that's the cross you have to carry. Like,
anyway, so we should let everybody go. This was not our intended discussion. But anyway, you have a good night.
Thank you, Catherine.
And I'm gonna bow out.
I really appreciate for everything you do, Catherine. Thank you so much for your insight and your knowledge and just your experiences and everything you bring to this. There's a lot of things, that I don't go out searching for like information or whatever. I don't think anyone really does. But it's like when you start, I guess you can kind of relate to Icarus, in the sun and like the melting of the wings or whatever. Is there a schedule for your session? Yes, there is. Yes. So, okay, I'm gonna post it on Twitch after we get off. So okay, so it'll start on Saturday. That'll be look for the stream to start around like 4:15 a.m. 4:15 p.m. Then that's for the men's qualification team final. Then on Sunday the 22nd at noon. I'll probably go live around noon 15. Then the men's all-around final is on Monday as well as the women's all-around final. But the men's all-around final is at 10:55 a.m. That's when I'll go live. For the women's all-around final, I'll go live at 3:55 p.m. And then the last 2 days of event finals, I will go live at 2:55 p.m. Now, once again, those are when I'm going live. You can look on the Pan American Games website itself. They'll be streaming the competition as well. So if you want to watch it on there, you can. If you want to watch with friends here, you can. Trying to make it as accessible as possible, and because it's just like watching competitions with y'all. But we live in a really difficult world. Not everything's gonna be kumbaya. Not everything's gonna be easy. Not everybody's perfect. I'm not perfect. But things happen the way they did for a reason, right? And it hurts my heart to know that people like Inquisitor 3, and I guess myself to an extent, like have to deal with really shitty things. Just because, when I have time to watch, I like to watch with Jim Pence alone. You're welcome. You're always welcome. But just to finish this out, like, I don't know what would have happened to me had like I not been like mentally strong enough to deal with what was done to me. Now I'm not doing this as like, oh, I'm pitying addicts and whatever. Like, some of the shit has been said to me, and like I'm working on an episode of Adex tonight, which I'm gonna go through the entire thing and like present you objective, like the timeline of what happened. I'm a digital pack rat as well. Some of the things that were like said to me or about me or done to me, and just like, we're not okay, But I also know that I was at fault to an extent, and that was on me. But like, I don't think people realize the far-reaching effects that their actions had. But something that I've dealt with, a process I've gone through therapy for, and I've come out their side much stronger and like a better individual for. And I can't say that I'm not thankful for those lessons, or I'm not thankful for like the progress I've made as an individual. But there's a lot of really shitty people in this fucking community, and that's that. A lot of people act like they're great people, but they're really not. They're really not. And I don't know. It's one of the things like I will continue to do what I do, because this is my lane. This is what I do. I've learned that I don't have to attend every argument, and I've learned that I don't need there's a lot of things that I don't need because I can do it on my own. And I will continue to do what I do, stay in my lane, and just be undeniable. Because the things that are coming, I'm really excited about, and especially people that support me. I don't do anything to prove anybody wrong, and neither should you. Okay? Because proving people wrong is inherently negative. What I do is I do things to prove to people that support me and believe in me and have been there for me right. And if you just shift your perspective that much and you look at things from a different way, things start getting better. And you start just realizing that if you do good things with good intentions, your whole life changes because no one else can say anything to like deter that. And so that's the moral of the story here. Stop doing things to prove people wrong. You're never gonna get out of that like negativity stage if you keep working in that manner. I promise you. I'm old as fuck. Oh, I hate saying that, but I am. A fine wine cheats your spirit. I get better with age, and that's so true. So I've learned that in my 32 years of life that shifting my perspective helps a lot. So you should, if ever you feel trapped or like something's going on in your life that you can't seem to get out of, shift your perspective. You'd be surprised how things just get better. So with that in mind, I love you. If no one's told you this today, know that I think you're important. I think your voice is important, and I think whatever you're going through, if it's bad, it sucks. If it's good, awesome. But we're here. Just know that I'm here for you. I'm a message away. If you talk about anything you want to talk about, reach out to me. I'm always here, and that no matter what it is that you're going through, you can do it because you have done it. You will do it. You must do it, and you will achieve it. That's not what I meant to say, but whatever. It worked out. Have a great night, and have a great flipping Tuesday. We'll see you back here. Maybe I'll put it on the schedule. How about that? Have a great night, and yeah. Tell someone you care about that you love them today. Okay? It's important. Bye.